Hey everyone, I sincerely appreciate your support. If you enjoy my audiobooks, I would be truly grateful if you could subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to support even further, you're welcome to become a Patreon member, where you can access audiobooks of novels as long as they are freely available on the internet. Your kindness and support mean so much. Thank you.
Despite having perfectly functioning hands and feet, Fang Zhou inexplicably found himself voluntarily being fed. He let out a dry laugh. Hee. Actually, I can really feed myself. You don't need to do that for me. Besides, having two beautiful ladies come and visit me, and then troubling you with such trivial matters, that's really embarrassing, right? His polite words were perfectly crafted, leaving no room for criticism. Fang Zhou believed his reasoning was quite solid, thinking it would surely dissuade these two. However, when Han Shi and Chu Xinran both turned to him with expressionless faces and said, "No, you can't feed yourself," he fell silent. What's going on? It's one thing for Han Shi's gaze to be cold, that was just her demeanor. But why did Chu Xinran's eyes also feel like they were shooting cold arrows? In his heart, Fang Zhou was already picturing a crying cat meme. What kind of arrangement did the production team make? If it were just one person, it would be fine, but why did they send both his ex-girlfriends over? Anyone would think the production team was being considerate by sending people to take care of him, but those who didn't know better might think they were sent to dismember him. Mom, he wanted to go home. Don't be stubborn, Fang Zhou. You just said your hands are weak. If you spill the food later, wasting food is a shameful act. Chu Xinran quickly reverted to her gentle expression, her eyes twinkling as if she hadn't just been shooting cold arrows. Useless masculinity has no place in a hospital room. Han Shi's words were concise and to the point, turning Fang Zhou's refusal into another meaning, leaving him no room to argue. Fine, Han Shi was still the same, sharp-tongued but effective. Forget it, it's a matter of facing the inevitable. A man must be adaptable. Fang Zhou silently turned his head to look out the window, where birds were already chirping on the branches. Strangely enough, there were 3 birds sitting together, chirping harmoniously. The lunchbox was placed on the bedside table, and both Han Shi and Chu Xinran glanced at it before looking back at each other. Great, back to the question of who would feed him. How about I feed him? Sister Han Shi didn't rest well last night, so she can take this time to relax. Chu Xinran smiled brightly, looking pure and beautiful, like a freshly bloomed white lily. Her reasoning was quite adequate, making people think she was very considerate, noticing even the smallest details. If Han Shi had no interest in Fang Zhou, she might have agreed. Unfortunately, Han Shi's interest in Fang Zhou was clearly more than a little. The usually emotionless woman had a rare smile on her lips. If I'm not mistaken, Xinran, your hand is injured. It might not be convenient for you either, right? Her gaze fell on Chu Xinran's left arm, which was still bandaged. With the weather getting warmer, long sleeves were no longer an option on the island. Most female guests wore short sleeves and dresses. Chu Xinran was no exception. She wore an avocado green dress today, with her black hair tied into a high ponytail, adorned with a matching ribbon. She looked fresh and sweet, except for the bandage on her hand. Everything was harmonious. Caught off guard by her injury being pointed out, Chu Xinran showed a trace of panic. Her eyes flashed with a hint of confusion, and she instinctively touched her left hand with her right, trying to cover the bandage, but quickly realized it was futile. So, she calmly raised her head again. It's just a scratch from accidentally hitting a reef in the sea, nothing serious. Don't worry, Sister Han Shi. She tried to regain the conversation's upper hand, unwilling to lose to another woman, especially in front of Fang Zhou. Come on, this would make her look useless. Fang Zhou, following their conversation, noticed the bandage on Chu Xinran's hand. That night, Qin Yun brought her some medicine. He wondered if she had been diligent in using it these past few days. A wound, no matter how small, cut by a sharp object, couldn't be painless. Fang Zhou couldn't figure out what Chu Xinran's body was made of. How about? Ouch. Sensing what Fang Zhou was about to say, Chu Xinran slipped her hand under the blanket and quietly pinched his waist, her gaze filled with a blatant warning. Shut up. Fang Zhou, already halfway through his sentence, swallowed the rest. Ouch, why did the sweet girl pinch so hard? What's wrong? Hearing Fang Zhou's sudden intake of breath, Han Shi asked, concerned. Nothing. Fang Zhou, enduring the pain in his waist, gritted his teeth and answered. Han Shi's suspicious gaze lingered on both of their faces for a moment but didn't pursue it further. Successfully silencing Fang Zhou, Chu Xinran withdrew her hand and smiled at Han Shi. There's a soft seat over there, you can go rest for a while. It seemed she had declared her victory in this silent competition. Han Shi slowly stood up from her seat, gently touching the flowers she had brought, then replied, Fang Zhou ended up in the hospital because of my mistake. Her hand paused on a white lily, a shadow passing through her eyes before she mercilessly snapped its stem. If I missed the chance to make it up to him, I would feel very guilty. Han Shi straightened up, took the lily, and handed it to Fang Zhou. I think Fang Zhou would be happy to give me this chance, right? After all, you wouldn't want me to see you every day with guilt, would you? The usually decisive female CEO now looked at Fang Zhou with sincere, even slightly soft eyes. This strong contrast left Fang Zhou speechless again. Chu Xinran's heart tightened, her hand resting on Fang Zhou's blanket, her little face showing a touch of stubbornness, her gaze burning into Fang Zhou. Brother, I can do it. The sweet girl's soft voice was like a mix of a plea and a threat. The white lily in front of him seemed to carry two meanings. One was Han Shi's sincere apology, and the other symbolized Chu Xinran being easily broken by her. As for whether to accept it or not, it was up to Fang Zhou. Fang Zhou felt as if facing a great enemy, cursing the director countless times in his heart. You're really something. The atmosphere in the room grew increasingly tense, with both girls staring intently at Fang Zhou as if they could see through him. Sweating under the invisible pressure from both sides, Fang Zhou lifted the blanket and fanned himself, trying to change the subject. Why is it so hot today? He glanced around, his mind racing for a solution. Who should he choose? If he chose Chu Xinran, Han Shi might get upset and suffer a stomachache, causing trouble later on. If he chose Han Shi, Chu Xinran, a fragile yet possessive girl, might harm herself and possibly do something even more drastic than before. He couldn't possibly let both of them feed him half each, could he? This sounds impossible. Han Shi might just dump the food on his head if she gets angry. Hot? It doesn't seem that bad. Chu Xinran found his actions odd. Looking out the window, although the sun was out, it wasn't summer yet. It shouldn't be so hot that one would sweat indoors. Han Shi seemed to see through Fang Zhou's hesitation, a cold smile forming on her lips. A calm heart keeps you cool. You're too restless. Caught off guard, Fang Zhou's actions froze, and he awkwardly lowered his hand. He lamented internally, help, what is this hellish situation? Chu Xinran and Han Shi both fell silent, waiting for Fang Zhou to decide. Fang Zhou hesitated, then, how about? Knock, knock. The sudden knock on the door interrupted Fang Zhou's words and broke the tense silence in the room. Oh, great, you're all here. I don't have to look for you everywhere. It was the assistant to the chief director, who walked in cheerfully, oblivious to the room's tension. Fang Zhou's eyes lit up, a savior had arrived. What's up, Brother Li? He quickly shifted the conversation, swallowing his previous words, and asked the assistant what was going on. The production team originally arranged for someone to take care of Fang Zhou, but due to other tasks, they switched to 2 female guests today. Unless it was urgent, the production team usually didn't send anyone over. The assistant smiled mysteriously. A new guest arrived today. Director Liu asked me to gather everyone to meet them. Oh, right, you don't need to go. It's fine to meet them once you're better. The assistant emphasized that Fang Zhou didn't need to go, patting his shoulder reassuringly, as if to say, don't be sad, you can meet them soon. So he was here to call Han Shi and Chu Xinran. Fang Zhou wasn't sad at all, he was overjoyed and barely able to contain it. Quickly, take them both away, I can't handle this any longer. Han Shi and Chu Xinran, both annoyed by the interruption, reluctantly followed the assistant out. Let's go, I'll take you there. The meeting spot is outdoors, not far from here. The assistant urged Han Shi and Chu Xinran. We'll come back to see you later, save the food. Both girls gave Fang Zhou a resentful look before following the assistant out. Relieved to be out of the hellish situation, Fang Zhou lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling, and sighed in relief. That was close. Wait, he needed to eat the food quickly while they were gone. Otherwise, they'd continue the terrifying topic when they returned. Fang Zhou hurriedly grabbed the lunchbox from the bedside table, opened it, and started wolfing down the food. Eating quickly wasn't the worst, being devoured was terrifying. Although his hands were weak, he managed to finish the meal in a few minutes. He didn't savor the taste, just like Zhu Beiji eating ginseng fruit, he simply got it over with. TLN, Journey to the West reference. Sealing the lunchbox, he tossed it and the chopsticks into the trash. Perfect. Feeling thirsty after eating, Fang Zhou eyed the water beside the bed, reaching out but missing it. Deciding to get out of bed, he was interrupted by another knock on the door. Knock, knock, may I come in? A cute, polite lowly voice sounded outside. Fang Zhou stood up and casually replied. Come in. Maybe it was someone who had the wrong room, he was the only one here, after all. Who could be looking for him? Oh, do you need water? How about I help you? The lowly voice got closer as Fang Zhou picked up the water, drinking while observing the newcomer. A cute girl in a JK uniform with twin tails stood beside him. No need, no need. Who are you looking for? Did you get the wrong room? Fang Zhou took a sip, feeling his parched throat soothed. I'm here to see you. The lowly, adorable and speaking sweetly, instantly gained Fang Zhou's favor. Me. Fang Zhou finished his water, puzzled. I don't know you. The voice was familiar, but he had played games with so many girls that he was immune to recognizing them by voice alone. Unless it was someone particularly memorable. The lowly smiled, showing 2 small fangs. My name is Mei Chuan, a fan arranged by the show to visit you. I'm your gaming fan, hehe. We played games together in your live stream. Fang Zhou thought for a moment. Mei Chuan? Ah, could it be the second-ranked rich fan, Mei Chuan Ku Cha Zi? Are you Mei Chuan Ku Cha Zi? He asked in surprise. The voice did indeed sound like hers. Mei Chuan smiled and nodded, finally finding time to set down the fruit basket she was carrying. Yes, it's me, streamer brother. This familiar term, streamer brother, immediately brought Fang Zhou back to the gaming interface. That little rich girl always called him that? Fang Zhou was overjoyed, barely believing his eyes. Why did you come to see me? The director mentioned this morning that fans would visit. But Fang Zhou didn't think they would come to see him, a washed-up streamer who ate poisonous mushrooms and was hospitalized. I came specifically to see you, to check on your recovery. Little rich girl Mei Chuan answered while unpacking the fruit basket. She took out a huge banana and handed it to Fang Zhou, happily saying, "You look even more handsome in person than in the live stream. I'm so satisfied. Have one." Mei Chuan's caring demeanor reminded him of his sister Wenjing. She also liked to make him eat more bananas. Fang Zhou took the banana, feeling a heavy weight of gratitude. He never expected to have such loyal fans. It felt more rewarding than winning first place in a game. "Thank you, Mei Chuan. It's really nice of you to visit me." Fang Zhou was truly moved by the fact that a fan had come all this way to see him. He quickly invited Mei Chuan to sit down, telling her there was no need to unpack the fruit. "Have you eaten yet?" It was lunchtime, and if she hadn't eaten, Fang Zhou would need to contact the production team. Mei Chuan nodded lightly and gave Fang Zhou a playful smile. "I've eaten, don't worry. Food is essential, skipping a meal makes one feel starved. If I get hungry, I can be quite the troublemaker." Fang Zhou, amused by her expression, relaxed and joked, "What a coincidence, I'm the same, can't miss a single meal." Following the big brother, 3 days of hunger 9 times. Ha 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 ha. Mei Chuan laughed heartily, her small fangs making her look even cuter. "I knew I wasn't wrong about you, you're a funny guy. Honestly, if live streaming doesn't work out one day, you should try making comedy videos. You'd definitely make a lot of money." Fang Zhou immediately felt troubled and protested, "No way, funny guys don't find love. I don't want to be a funny guy." Ha 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 ha, "Then you better stick to live streaming." Talking about food, Mei Chuan couldn't help but complain. "The noodles I had this morning were really awful. I should have chosen snail noodles." But she was afraid of the smell of snail noodles early in the morning, fearing how others might perceive her. So she reluctantly switched to beef noodles, which turned out to be really bad. Thinking about it, though, she had just met her idol, so it seemed like a wise choice after all. But that didn't stop her from complaining about the bad noodles. Fang Zhou's eyes widened in surprise. "You eat snail noodles too?" "Of course, snail noodles are so delicious. Who doesn't like them? But I thought you were so rich, you wouldn't eat stuff like that?" After all, the little rich girl was really wealthy, probably frequenting high-end restaurants. Snail noodles seemed out of place for her. Mei Chuan pouted and said, "I don't just eat snail noodles, I even eat cilantro. Rich people are still people, they can't always eat gourmet food." Mentioning cilantro, Fang Zhou's eyes lit up. "A kindred spirit? I love cilantro too. All those who don't eat cilantro should be made to grow cilantro." The two chatted for a long time, finding more and more in common, like long-lost siblings. Fang Zhou even wondered if Mei Chuan was another sister of his, otherwise how could they be so in sync? Oh no, so like-minded? Mei Chuan, though young, just starting college, spoke in a way that bridged any generational gap, making her easy to understand. Talking to her was relaxing, especially for Fang Zhou, who had just endured a tense situation. He felt much better in Mei Chuan's presence. They started talking about the visit. "Did you come alone? Where are you from?" If she came alone, she might need to be careful on her way back. Mei Chuan grinned and made a hand gesture. "No, there are 10 of us, we came through a lottery." Fang Zhou was surprised and asked, "You won the lottery with such low odds?" Someone like him, always unlucky, never won anything. Just like in Truth or Dare, no matter how he tried to avoid it, he was always the one chosen the most. Fang Zhou often thought that maybe God had given him many windows but sealed the door with cement. Hearing Fang Zhou's question, Mei Chuan glanced outside the door and whispered, "Actually, I didn't win the lottery, but I used money to buy the opportunity." She chuckled, a rare moment of embarrassment. After all, it wasn't her own win, so it was best to keep a low profile. Those who flaunted their wealth often found others plotting against them. Fang Zhou suddenly understood, so it was her financial power. He thought as much, how could she have won with such low odds? "I just wanted to see you. If something happened to you, no one would be there to play games with me. That would be too sad." Mei Chuan was straightforward and cheerful, a very likable sister. Fang Zhou couldn't help but chuckle, "Don't worry, with all the gifts you've sent in my live stream, even if I were dying, I'd find someone to play games with you." Ha 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 ha, really? Mei Chuan knew he was joking and laughed. Really, really. Fang Zhou was sincere, this sister was too interesting. If his sister Wenjing hadn't been ill, she would have been a cheerful and optimistic child like Mei Chuan. Mei Chuan successfully reminded him of his sister again. They chatted and laughed, the room filled with harmony. However, they didn't notice someone standing outside, holding a bouquet of flowers, listening for a long time. The water droplets on the flowers had gradually fallen, slightly wetting the floor. The person's small yellow flower earrings shone brightly under the light. "Hey, are you here to visit a patient? Why not go in?" A nurse passing by the corridor looked at Zhang Xian curiously and asked casually. Zhang Xian finally smiled and began to knock on the door. "Going in now." Knock, knock. Just as Fang Zhou and Mei Chuan were debating whether hot pot should be clear broth or spicy, their conversation was interrupted, and they both looked towards the door. There stood Zhang Xian, holding a bouquet of flowers, wearing a simple white t-shirt, exuding elegance. Fang Zhou was stunned, his gaze fixed on her, unable to move. He felt all the blood in his body freeze, pinning him to the bed, unable to move. "Ah, my idol? Why are you here?" Mei Chuan was the first to speak, jumping up excitedly to greet Zhang Ziyan. They had parted ways quickly after arriving on the island, without even getting an autograph, which had upset her for a while. Zhang Ziyan, holding the flowers, took a few steps forward, looking Fang Zhou up and down with a smile. Her voice was melodious, like a sweet songbird, echoing in the room. "I came to see my ex-boyfriend." The lively hospital room fell silent. Mei Chuan glanced at Zhang Ziyan beside her, then turned to look at Fang Zhou on the bed, blinking in disbelief. OMG, did she hear that right? What did her idol just say? Ex-boyfriend? Are you saying Fang Zhou is your ex-boyfriend? She swallowed, asking in shock. No way, could it be such a coincidence? Her favorite female writer had once dated her most admired game streamer. Zhang Ziyan nodded slightly, confirming it again. You heard right, we used to date. She looked around the room, searching for a suitable place to put the flowers. Sweeping her gaze over the existing flowers and fruit baskets on the table, Zhang Ziyan raised her eyebrows slightly. So many people had already come to see him, unexpected. Ignoring the shocked gazes around her, she walked over and placed the flowers on the table. She brought red flowers, which complemented the white flowers already there. From the moment Zhang Ziyan appeared until she placed the flowers, Fang Zhou hadn't said a word, his gaze following her every move, almost turning him into a puppet. She glanced at Fang Zhou mockingly and said harshly, "What? Lost your voice after a few years?" Even when speaking harshly, a beauty remains a beauty. Fang Zhou couldn't help comparing her current face with the one in his memory, finding little change. If there was a change, it was that her face had matured, losing some of its roundness and gaining more defined lines of a mature woman. The biggest change was her temperament. When she wasn't speaking harshly, she looked like a painting. It's just that I'm too surprised. Fang Zhou finally came to his senses and quickly looked away, but once he did, he didn't know where to look. In front of Zhang Ziyan, he always felt exposed. Heh, ending up in the hospital over some soup, how weak. Zhang Ziyan started mocking, her gaze sweeping over Fang Zhou's pale face, a hint of darkness in her eyes. Fang Zhou tried to explain, but the truth was exactly as she said, leaving no room for explanation. He could only stay silent. Forget it, she was right about everything. Mei Chuan, still in shock, suddenly realized something was wrong. It seemed like her idol was mocking Fang Zhou. Her idol's aura was a bit intimidating. Should she not stay here? Well, you two chat, there's a fan activity with the production team, I should go. Fang Zhou, take care, bye. Mei Chuan spoke while backing towards the door. Fang Zhou turned and only saw Mei Chuan's hurried departure, unable to voice his plea for her to stay. Swallow, don't leave, swallow. Facing her alone was too much pressure. It seems I came at a bad time. Zhang Ziyan found a seat, the same one Mei Chuan had just vacated. Her teasing eyes made it hard for Fang Zhou to pretend not to understand. He frowned and finally said his first retort to Zhang Ziyan. It's not what you think, I see her as a sister. Oh, a sister? Did your sister say purple is elegant? Zhang Ziyan recalled a song, using its lyrics to mock Fang Zhou. Every younger girlfriend he had, weren't they all called sisters? Don't go too far, I'm not a beast. Fang Zhou indeed saw Mei Chuan as a sister, similar to his real sister, a familial bond. It wasn't the kind of romantic affection Zhang Ziyan was insinuating. Zhang Ziyan's words had crossed Fang Zhou's line, and he finally hardened his expression and asked, "Why are you here?" Though Mei Chuan had already asked, he wanted to hear it again. After their breakup, Zhang Ziyan had gone abroad for studies, rarely appearing in the country. He'd last seen her in a short video clip where she received an award. If you can be here, why can't I? Can't I look for inspiration? Zhang Ziyan's reason was solid and irrefutable. You're still mad about what happened back then. Fang Zhou glanced at Zhang Ziyan, noticing her cold expression and every word laced with thorns. Since she entered, it seemed every moment was a confrontation. Hey, it was almost 5 or 6 years ago, who remembers that much? Don't overestimate yourself, Fang Zhou. Zhang Ziyan's lips curled in a sneer, her gaze saying overestimating yourself. Fang Zhou fell silent, his mind replaying the past. Those old memories were like expired candies in a jar, too precious to throw away but spoiled if eaten. He, Zhang Ziyan, and Li Siming were good friends in high school, studying, eating, and celebrating birthdays together. This pure friendship continued into college. In college, Fang Zhou met Xiao Sisi through gaming and successfully transitioned their online romance to real life. He thought his friends would be happy for his first relationship, but instead, he saw Zhang Ziyan's disappointed tears. That day, Fang Zhou invited Li Siming and Zhang Ziyan to dinner to share the news and show them Xiao Sisi's photo. Zhang Ziyan cried upon hearing she was his girlfriend, leaving Fang Zhou and Li Siming helpless. She said, "You're in a relationship, what about me? I've liked you for so many years, didn't you notice?" Fang Zhou was stunned. Li Siming didn't know what to do either and tried to comfort Zhang Ziyan. But a heartbroken woman couldn't be consoled. Fang Zhou was thrown into chaos by the sudden confession. He had always seen Zhang Ziyan as a friend. He didn't know she liked him. During high school, Fang Zhou only thought about studying, his mind filled with knowledge from dawn till night. The pressure of studying was enough to suffocate him, and gaming or reading a novel was a luxury. He had no time to think about relationships. He could only tell Zhang Ziyan the truth, that he saw her as a friend and never thought of her that way. Besides, he already had Xiao Sisi, so he and Zhang Ziyan were impossible. After that incident, Zhang Ziyan went abroad and never saw Fang Zhou again, as if she had vanished. Now, she appeared as his ex-girlfriend, scaring away Mei Chuan. What did she really want? Just now, in front of Mei Chuan, Fang Zhou didn't expose Zhang Ziyan, wanting to save her face. Now that it was just the two of them, it was time to get to the bottom of things. Are you really just out here looking for inspiration? Fang Zhou found it hard to believe. I'll take what you said earlier as a joke, but don't say it in front of others again. He looked at Zhang Ziyan seriously. There were already 4 of his exes on the show. Adding another baseless one would be too much for him to handle. Fang Zhou didn't want the show to end before it even started. Zhang Ziyan smiled nonchalantly at Fang Zhou's warning. What, is it embarrassing to say you dated me? Her eyes curved into crescents when she smiled, resembling a crescent moon. But when she wasn't smiling, her face looked serious, with a slight melancholy between her brows. If Zhang Ziyan had entered the entertainment industry instead of the literary world, many directors would have cast her in tragic love stories. Her face was perfect for such roles. That's not what I meant. Fang Zhou avoided her gaze, looking at the banana that Mei Chuan had just picked and that he hadn't eaten yet. But we never dated, so why say that? He just didn't want to create trouble for himself or Zhang Ziyan. Zhang Ziyan was famous in the literary world, with a young reader base. If they found out she had dated him, they would dig into their history. It could even involve Xiao Sisi. Things hadn't even happened yet, but Fang Zhou already felt a headache coming. It was a foreseeable mess. What if I said I regret it? Zhang Ziyan suddenly reached out and picked something off Fang Zhou's bed. It was a lily left by Han Shi earlier. She waved the white flower in front of Fang Zhou, implying, what if I hadn't gone abroad and stayed to wait for you to break up with Xiao Sisi? Would we have been together? The same woman who had just called Fang Zhou overconfident now started another hypothetical, leaving him stunned. What are you saying? That's impossible. This hypothesis was like a sharp sword, piercing Fang Zhou's most hidden fears. He didn't even want to think about the possibility and directly denied her words. I wouldn't date my friends. I wouldn't before, and I won't now. It seemed Fang Zhou was advising Zhang Ziyan and himself, emphasizing twice that it was impossible. Good, remember your words. Zhang Ziyan, being rejected, didn't show much disappointment. She smiled ambiguously and slowly said, even rabbits don't eat the grass around their burrow, but you, Fang Zhou, are worse than a rabbit, eating everything. These words were both mocking and a warning. Fang Zhou immediately retorted, I'm not someone who takes anything I can get. Really? Did you carefully choose the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 you dated? Zhang Ziyan countered, making Fang Zhou ask in embarrassment. How do you know I dated so many? Wasn't she abroad? How did she know so much? There are no walls without cracks. Did you think you could hide your relationships? Zhang Ziyan didn't answer directly, instead glancing at him sideways and warning, if you want to live longer, stop provoking certain people. Her words seemed to hide a deeper meaning, making Fang Zhou's heart skip a beat. He looked at Zhang Ziyan suspiciously and asked, what do you mean? Did she know one of his exes was dangerously possessive? How could that be? She didn't know them. What do you mean? Look at you, ending up in the hospital over a dating show. What's wrong with telling you to choose your partners carefully? Fang Zhou's heart, which had been hanging, suddenly relaxed. She was just worried about him, after all. He had always been straightforward with friends, and Fang Zhou knew Zhang Ziyan had a fiery temper, harsh words but a kind heart. Despite her constant mocking, it was a form of concern. This kind of care was unique, and many couldn't accept it. It was like parents caring for their children, using their own methods rather than the child's understanding. This was the root of many family conflicts. But Fang Zhou was familiar with Zhang Ziyan. Even after so many years, her words still had that high school flavor. I know. He scratched his head awkwardly, unsure how to communicate with Zhang Ziyan. She was like a porcupine now, probably still angry about not contacting him for so many years. It wasn't that Fang Zhou didn't contact her, but she had changed her phone number and WeChat ID after going abroad, making it impossible to find her. Plus, he had moved away from his hometown, putting things on hold. Seeing Fang Zhou's concession, Zhang Ziyan felt a pang of sadness. No, you don't know, you know nothing. She took back the lily, slowly rubbing it in her hand, her aura weakening. Fang Zhou noticed her sudden silence and felt puzzled. Why wasn't she talking? Looking up, he saw Zhang Ziyan's eyes were red, brimming with tears like a dam about to burst. Except for their last parting, Fang Zhou had never seen Zhang Ziyan like this. He panicked. Hurriedly getting out of bed, he grabbed 2 tissues from the bedside table and handed them to her. Are you okay? Don't cry. His clumsy comfort made Zhang Ziyan's already low spirits overflow even more. She spoke with a sob, her voice hard, I don't need your fake concern. Such words were best ignored. Fang Zhou didn't take it to heart. She didn't take the tissue he offered, and tears started flowing from her eyes. Her tear-streaked face was heartbreaking. Fang Zhou couldn't stand women's tears, especially from a former close friend. If something's bothering you, you can tell me. Don't cry. Fang Zhou couldn't resist and reached out to wipe her tears. Who's crying? I just got something in my eye. Zhang Ziyan was still stubborn, but Fang Zhou's hand was already close. The soft tissue brushed against her elastic skin, instantly soaking wet. Just as Fang Zhou was about to comfort Zhang Ziyan, someone walked in from outside. That person coldly asked, "What are you doing?" Someone suddenly walked in, coldly questioning what they were doing, causing Fang Zhou to pause his wiping motion and look up. It was Jiao Sisi standing in the room, staring at him with eyes that seemed to blaze with fire. Fang Zhou quickly withdrew his hand, along with the tissue he was using to wipe tears. Huh? Why did it feel like he was caught in the act? Wait, he and Jiao Sisi had no relationship anymore, and Zhang Ziyan was just a friend. What was wrong with wiping her tears? Why did he feel guilty? And nothing. The man tried to explain, but his weak words only made it more suspicious. Jiao Sisi's gaze darkened, her already thin lips pressed tightly together, indicating her displeasure. Her aura grew colder, like a sudden chill in February. Fang Zhou immediately regretted his stuttering. Why did he have to stutter now? Jiao Sisi's terrifying gaze made it feel like a real-life scene of catching someone in the act. While Fang Zhou was frustrated with himself, Zhang Ziyan quickly wiped her tears. In seconds, she managed her expression and looked at the unwelcome guest. Jiao Sisi was holding a cup of fruit tea, her hair dyed a flamboyant pink. Though dressed simply, she wore big-name brands, carrying a Gucci bag with understated luxury. Her perfect head-to-shoulder ratio, along with her fair and delicate face, made her naturally suited for the big screen. At that moment, Zhang Ziyan felt frozen. A voice echoed in her mind, "It's her, Jiao Sisi." Jiao Sisi also saw the woman sitting on the stool. She was beautiful, with outstanding temperament, delicate features, and a slight melancholy between her brows, exuding an innate sense of fragility. Her red eyes, like a flower that had been trampled, evoked a sense of pity. If they were in the same field, Jiao Sisi thought this woman's popularity might rival her own. She had just seen this woman. She had just arrived on the island, introduced by the chief director after much flattery, meeting everyone as a new guest, Zhang Ziyan. Originally, Jiao Sisi didn't pay much attention, thinking it was just a routine move by the dating show to attract more traffic. She didn't expect to see her in Fang Zhou's hospital room, and their ambiguous behavior made her speculate. Their eyes met, and an invisible spark ignited, only to extinguish with their simultaneous smiles. "You're here too." Zhang Ziyan smiled, showing no signs of her earlier sadness. Regardless of the other's sincerity, one doesn't hit a smiling face. Jiao Sisi wouldn't vent her anger on someone she just met. Even though seeing Fang Zhou wiping someone's tears made her mind explode, wanting to kill. It was Fang Zhou's fault for being overly kind, always offering a tissue to any crying woman. As a professional actress, Jiao Sisi's smile was more genuine. She smiled at Zhang Ziyan and softly said, "Yes, I came to see Fang Zhou, but it seems I came at the wrong time." Who knew Fang Zhou knew the famous female writer? It's unbelievable. Jiao Sisi turned to Fang Zhou, her gaze changing instantly, a chilling aura emanating from her eyes. Fang Zhou felt a chill on his neck and her sarcastic tone gave him goosebumps. Why did it feel like Jiao Sisi was angry? From Fang Zhou's understanding of Jiao Sisi, this tone definitely meant she was angry. He opened his mouth to explain, but someone was faster. "I've known Fang Zhou for over 10 years. When I heard he was poisoned, I came to check on him." Zhang Ziyan explained with a smile, but not fully. She mentioned her reason for being there but didn't elaborate on what they were doing. This reason was flawless, making Jiao Sisi raise an eyebrow in confusion. "Oh, you've known each other that long? I've never heard Fang Zhou mention you." Jiao Sisi's words had a hidden meaning. On one hand, it implied that despite not being close publicly, they had a deep private relationship. On the other hand, it suggested to Zhang Ziyan that Fang Zhou never mentioned her, possibly deeming her unimportant. Unfortunately, Jiao Sisi's calculation failed. When she dated Fang Zhou, she hadn't met Zhang Ziyan yet, then that incident happened. Fang Zhou wouldn't mention a female friend who liked him to his girlfriend, which would make the already sensitive Jiao Sisi jealous and disrespect Zhang Ziyan. Ziyan has been abroad all these years, coming back rarely. Fang Zhou briefly explained, not going into details. This was between them, and Jiao Sisi was a part of that incident too. It was better she didn't know the details. Zhang Ziyan, being smart, didn't take Jiao Sisi's provocation seriously. She hadn't wanted to contact Fang Zhou all these years. Jiao Sisi misunderstood. "Seeing he was here, I came without delay." Zhang Ziyan smiled, finally standing up and tossing the wilted lily into the trash. Her relaxed demeanor made her seem like the room's mistress, frustrating and upsetting Jiao Sisi. She just wanted to see Fang Zhou alone. She found this scene instead. Jiao Sisi's eyes filled with mist, darkness, and distortion swirling, ready to overflow. She felt like an outsider, unwelcome here. After all, they had been friends for over a decade, longer than she knew Fang Zhou. "All right then, I won't disturb you. I'll leave now." Jiao Sisi put the fruit tea on the table and hurriedly left the room. Fang Zhou, puzzled, called after her. "Hey, don't leave so fast. The doctor said no fruit tea right now." Unfortunately, Jiao Sisi's pace didn't slow, leaving him with only the closed door. Zhang Ziyan tilted her head, asking a critical question. "Your first love ran away because of me. Aren't you going to chase her?" For some reason, when Zhang Ziyan said, "Your first love ran away because of me, aren't you going to chase her?" with a smile, Fang Zhou felt a sudden chill. Experience told him he should chase after her, to at least keep Jiao Sisi from getting angry. When a female star gets angry, she can cause trouble, and he would be the one to suffer. But his intuition told him he shouldn't chase after her. Zhang Xian's eyes were cold, almost as if she was saying, if you dare chase her, I'll kill you. Fang Zhou gave an awkward smile and decided to first calm down the woman in front of him. It's okay. She's always like that. She'll be fine in a bit. His tone was light, carrying a familiarity he hadn't even noticed. Zhang Xian's eyes, which had just been red, now looked a bit aggrieved. You've dated so many girlfriends, but you still can't forget her, can you? Zhang Xian's voice was a bit hoarse, the result of her earlier crying. Her gaze was somewhat downcast, and her mind involuntarily drifted back to 6 years ago. Back then, she, Fang Zhou, and Li Siming had all gotten into good schools, but the three of them weren't in the same city, just neighboring ones not too far, not too close. They gradually saw each other less, unlike high school where they met every day. Because of this, Zhang Xian cherished every chance to meet Fang Zhou. That winter, after going through the torment of exam month, Fang Zhou invited her and Li Siming out for dinner. Zhang Xian was ecstatic, spent 2 hours dressing up, then took an hour-long train and bus ride to the agreed place. He was still as handsome as ever, and his voice was just as familiar. But halfway through the meal, what he said wiped the smile off her face. Fang Zhou raised his phone, showing a photo of a pretty girl, and excitedly announced, I declare, brothers, I'm no longer single. This is my girlfriend, Xiao Sisi. Isn't she pretty? Ha ha ha. At that moment, Fang Zhou's face was full of pride and happiness, love flowing from his eyes, filling the room. The usually carefree boy was surrounded by pink bubbles, becoming someone Zhang Xian didn't recognize. His prideful love became a sharp arrow stabbing her heart. She heard her heart shatter and felt for the first time the destructive power of unrequited love. Falling into an ice pit, it manifested before her eyes. Zhang Xian couldn't suppress her sadness, her throat felt choked, and she couldn't utter words of blessing. A one-sided love is a personal chaos. The sadness and grief of that moment overwhelmed her, and tears flowed uncontrollably. Nearly 3 years of secret love were confessed then and there. You're in a relationship? What about me? Didn't you notice my feelings for you? Back then, Zhang Xian wanted an answer, to give herself closure. Unfortunately, the answer she got was, I'm sorry, Xian, I didn't know. That dinner ended with her storming out. In the following years, Zhang Xian never saw Fang Zhou again. Until that recent incident made her return to the country, she had to see Fang Zhou. Your question is a bit hard to answer. Can I not answer it? Fang Zhou's voice pulled Zhang Xian back to reality from her memories. She looked up at Fang Zhou, his appearance unchanged from before, even his temperament was the same. As long as his bottom line wasn't touched, Fang Zhou could be as pliable as cotton, letting others manipulate him. Of course, this was limited to his family and friends. In other words, he was infinitely tolerant and indulgent to those he cared about. Maybe he didn't realize this tolerance could be addictive. Suit yourself. Zhang Xian reined in her emotions, crushed her earlier vulnerability, and put on her prickly exterior. You have the energy to receive fans now, so your illness must be almost better. Fang Zhou scratched his head. He felt much better after a day's rest, but the doctor wouldn't allow it. Maybe I need another 2 days of observation. A shadow flickered in Zhang Xian's eyes. She stood up and said, you wouldn't be weak enough to need a few more days to avoid me, right? Fang Zhou was taken aback, quickly understanding her implication, and hastily said, I'm not avoiding you. I'll ask the doctor tonight. If I can be discharged tomorrow, I'll do it. What was Zhang Xian thinking? She wouldn't think he said 2 more days of observation to avoid her, right? Heaven's truth, Fang Zhou was no longer the same boy who couldn't handle relationships or smooth over conflicts between friends and girlfriends. Moreover, after all these years, Zhang Xian surely wouldn't still like him. She herself said she wasn't angry anymore. After all, she was a companion from his high school days, fighting together. Seeing her and Li Siming brought back memories of his youth, beautiful and sincere. If they could still be friends, that would be great. All right, whatever. I'm leaving. Zhang Xian waved her hand, not wanting to stay longer, and left the room in a few steps. Fang Zhou had wanted to catch up, but there was no chance. But since she was a new guest on the show, there would be plenty of chances to interact in the future. After Zhang Xian left, Fang Zhou's eyes fell on the fruit tea on the table, his favorite grape cheese tea. He was surprised Xiao Sisi still remembered his taste. He quickly took out his phone to contact her. Fang Zhou sent a WeChat message. Sisi, are you angry? About 3 minutes later, Xiao Sisi replied. Go catch up with your friend. Why bother with me? Fang Zhou sent a confused emoji and then honestly replied, thank you for visiting me, but I can't drink that fruit tea. Can I give it to the nurse? Xiao Sisi, if you give it to the nurse, you're dead. Fang Zhou replied, then what should I do? Wasting food is not good. How about giving it to the cleaning lady? After sending this, Xiao Sisi didn't reply, and Fang Zhou didn't check his phone again. About 10 minutes later, Xiao Sisi reappeared in his room, fuming, her once neat hair now a bit messy, as if she had rushed over. Who did you give my milk tea to? She was ready to kill Fang Zhou? An angry female star was like a puffed-up kitten, her cheeks puffed with anger, looking both fierce and cute. Fang Zhou had expected her to come back. He pointed to the fruit tea on the table. It's still there. Xiao Sisi looked over and saw the grape cheese tea still there. She got even angrier, her eyes filled with not just anger but also a bit of grievance. You lied to me. Hearing Xiao Sisi's questioning, Fang Zhou smiled openly and said honestly, I had no choice. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to see you. He was still hospitalized, and the nurses would definitely stop him if they saw him leave. Moreover, the island was so vast that it would be unrealistic for Fang Zhou to wander around aimlessly looking for her. Who knows how long that would take. It was better to let Xiao Sisi come back on her own. And now, she had indeed returned. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to see you. Fang Zhou's words slightly quelled the raging fire in Xiao Sisi's eyes, but she was still very angry. If you won't drink it, I'll just feed it to the fish. Saying this, she made a move to pick up the fruit tea and leave. Fang Zhou had finally managed to coax her back and quickly lowered his head to admit his fault. It's my fault. I didn't express myself clearly. The doctor said I should watch my diet for the next couple of days. I'll drink it. I'll drink it now. Fang Zhou also stood up to reach for the fruit tea, but Xiao Sisi's hand was already on it and hadn't moved away. Their hands inevitably touched. The girl's fingers felt as smooth as the finest silk, and Fang Zhou accidentally held her hand in his palm. Sorry. Fang Zhou apologized for his rashness and was about to withdraw his hand, but Xiao Sisi held on to him instead. In an instant, the roles were reversed. The warmth from her palm instantly transferred to Fang Zhou's fingertips. Although it was a normal temperature, it felt incredibly hot to Fang Zhou, almost painfully so. Just like Xiao Sisi's gaze at that moment. She said, I am indeed very angry. I'm angry because you were so close to her, but you keep me at a distance. I'm angry because, despite being on the show for so long, you never once reached out to me. I'm even angrier because you treat me like a stranger, as if you never knew me. The actress's excellent line delivery made her words resonate with genuine emotion, making it hard to ignore. Fang Zhou tried to pull his hand away, but Xiao Sisi's grip was strong, and he couldn't easily break free. I'm afraid of causing you trouble. Besides, we haven't seen each other in so long. I thought you wouldn't want to see me. After all, he was the one who had initiated the breakup. In her mind, Fang Zhou was probably seen as a terrible person. Moreover, given how poorly he was doing now, if the public found out, it would only tarnish Xiao Sisi's reputation. I never expected that the first love of a top-tier celebrity would be an obscure game streamer, and a washed-up one at that. Does Xiao Sisi have a problem with her eyes? Fang Zhou's popularity and income are so low, how could he be her first love? Fang Zhou could already imagine what the netizens would say, but Xiao Sisi didn't accept his excuses. She slowly approached Fang Zhou, her eyes fixed on him as if trying to see through to his heart. Is it because you're afraid of causing me trouble, or are you afraid of causing yourself trouble? Her words were spot on, hitting the nail on the head. Caught off guard, Fang Zhou's pupils contracted, and he instinctively avoided her gaze. No, it's not that. I'm afraid of the rumors affecting you. Of course, it would affect him as well. At this stage, if rumors spread about him and a top-tier celebrity, he would be drowned in the spit of her fans. Just look at the aftermath of Xiao Sisi's incident with Chu Xinran. His live stream had blown up, showing the fighting power of her fan base. And besides, his 3 other ex-girlfriends were also on the show. Could he not just leave himself a way out? I'm not afraid of rumors. Xiao Sisi looked at the man in front of her, who was taller than her, with a softened expression. I'm only afraid of you being with someone else. Fang Zhou silently added in his mind, you may not be afraid, but I am. However, he didn't say this out loud. Instead, he raised his hand, still held by Xiao Sisi, and joked, if you don't let go, some rumors might actually start. Even though it was a love reality show, it was still better to follow the proper process. Xiao Sisi not only didn't let go but took a step forward and grabbed Fang Zhou's collar with her free hand, pulling his gaze level with hers. She said each word clearly, what if I want to get back together with you? The words get back together hit Fang Zhou's heart heavily, leaving a big dent. He saw his own reflection in Xiao Sisi's brown eyes, his smile frozen on his face, his whole body tensed up. You must be joking. He instinctively took her words as a joke. After all, given Xiao Sisi's current fame and status, she would naturally aim higher. Either she would find someone who could ensure her lifelong wealth and honor, or someone who could help her reach the pinnacle of the entertainment industry. How could she possibly look down and choose him, a man whose fame, wealth, and status were all inferior to hers? All the hard-earned achievements could be ruined by a single relationship, destroying her future prospects. Get back together? Xiao Sisi must be crazy. However, the woman in front of him now had a serious expression. He heard Xiao Sisi say, I'm not joking. I want to be with you again. All these years, I haven't dated anyone else because I love you. Who in the world could love you more than I do? Fang Zhou. Xiao Sisi's sincere confession left Fang Zhou stunned, as if struck by lightning, his mind buzzing. Xiao Sisi was his first love, a real presence that he had to personally remove, a mark on his heart. He felt his brain unable to function, staring blankly at her until Xiao Sisi asked again. Fang Zhou, can we get back together? Her soft voice entered his ears, filled with caution and cherish. Unfortunately, Fang Zhou finally regained his senses. He took a step back, putting some distance between himself and Xiao Sisi, and freed his collar and hand from her grasp. It's impossible. His tone was firm and cold. A broken mirror can never be mended. Why? Can you give me a real reason for why you broke up with me back then? I don't believe you really couldn't stand my behavior. Xiao Sisi didn't break down emotionally, she just couldn't accept his calm rejection. Back then, his excuse was, you're too difficult to handle, I can't take it anymore. Let's break up. If he couldn't stand it, he would have ended it long ago, not waited 3 months. Her aura turned cold, like a trapped beast trying to struggle but quickly being suppressed. Xiao Sisi wanted the real reason. Fang Zhou looked back at her, understanding that after so many years, it was time to give her that answer. Fang Zhou's memory flashed back to that autumn 6 years ago. At that time, he was just a sophomore, in the throes of youthful infatuation. After meeting Xiao Sisi in a game, he was captivated by her charm and cuteness, and he took the initiative to confess, wanting to be with her. Back then, Xiao Sisi had just graduated from university and was an obscure actress, running around various film sets for bit parts. In her spare time, her only hobby was playing games, a heavy internet addict. By chance, she met Fang Zhou, and they started playing games together whenever they were free. Gradually, she developed feelings for him as well. When they decided to meet in real life, they were both cautious, afraid that the other might not live up to expectations. Fortunately, neither of them had deceived the other, and they successfully got together and fell in love. Xiao Sisi was very busy and couldn't find much time to meet Fang Zhou. Every time they met, it felt like an emperor favoring a neglected consort. Luckily, Fang Zhou understood and trusted her, and they enjoyed a sweet period of romance. However, everything has an expiration date. Once the novelty wore off, their true selves began to show. Xiao Sisi was inherently a bit spoiled and capricious. She had restrained herself in the early stages of their relationship, but that was her limit. About a month and a half into their relationship, Fang Zhou began to see her true colors. For instance, when eating, she insisted on eating shrimp peeled by Fang Zhou, or she wouldn't eat at all. Or she would crave a particular cake from a certain shop in the middle of the night and drag Fang Zhou out to get it. However, Fang Zhou was good-tempered and could tolerate her whims and caprices, even more so than before. As a result, Xiao Sisi became more reliant on him. The few arguments they had were mostly due to Xiao Sisi's acting career. Fang Zhou thought she took on roles that were too demanding and exhausting, even having to soak in cold water for hours during her period. He felt it wasn't worth risking her health for a role. He tried to communicate with her, hoping she would take it easier, but perhaps his approach was wrong, and it didn't have the desired effect. Xiao Sisi couldn't agree. She felt that as her boyfriend, Fang Zhou should fully support and understand her, not dampen her spirits when she came home exhausted from a shoot. After all, her dream was to become an actress, to stand on the highest stage and be the brightest new star. Yet her boyfriend was telling her to rest during her prime years of hard work. Both of them were young and inexperienced in love, with fiery tempers. When they argued, it was as if the sky was falling, almost tearing the roof off. In a fit of anger, Xiao Sisi blocked Fang Zhou and ignored him for nearly a week. It wasn't until Fang Zhou found her place, apologized, and they reconciled for a while. Unfortunately, good times didn't last long. A small web drama that Xiao Sisi starred in unexpectedly became a minor hit that autumn, and her name started to gain traction in the entertainment industry. This should have been a joyous occasion until Fang Zhou was dug up by netizens. Shocking? New actress Xiao Sisi caught embracing a young man on the street. Such relationship news is fatal for any rising female star. Moreover, Xiao Sisi was just a newcomer in the entertainment industry. Once confirmed, her boyfriend and CP fans would likely drop out. Especially since the CP from the web drama she starred in was very popular. Officially announcing a relationship would be like killing the CP fans and ruining her future. Xiao Sisi fell into anxiety and panic, but she didn't choose to break up with Fang Zhou. She didn't want to lose him. Caught off guard by seeing his own image in the entertainment section, Fang Zhou was also surprised. He understood what this meant for Xiao Sisi. While touched by Xiao Sisi's determination, Fang Zhou also wondered if he was holding her back. At that time, Xiao Sisi, with her delicate face, clung to Fang Zhou and told him, "You're not a burden, you're my support." Perhaps the impending exposure of their relationship motivated Xiao Sisi even more. She threw herself into her acting career, spending almost all her time on set, leaving Fang Zhou with few opportunities to see her. It was during this time that Fang Zhou received a call from Xiao Sisi's manager. The cold middle-aged woman bluntly told him, "Sisi is meant for the stage, you're not good enough for her." Fang Zhou almost laughed in anger and had a heated argument with the middle-aged woman. He couldn't remember the specifics of their conversation now, but one sentence from the woman remained vivid in his memory. "No matter what happens in the future, you can't be together now. If you don't break up, I'll shelve her." A female artist who can't bring economic value and breaches her contract will face a compensation fee that will ruin her life. 5 million. An astronomical figure for Fang Zhou as a student. Even now, it was terrifying. That night, Fang Zhou received a contract from the manager, with Xiao Sisi's signature and even her fingerprint. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, he went to Xiao Sisi and broke up with her. Xiao Sisi cried, asking him why. Fang Zhou didn't want her to linger on him, nor did he want to ruin her career, so he told her nonchalantly, "You're too pretentious, no one can stand your temper. I prefer natural, unpretentious girls. Let's break up." After that, Fang Zhou changed his contact information and even stopped playing the game where they had met. One was a poor student, the other a rising star. They had no more intersections. Since then, Fang Zhou stopped paying attention to entertainment news. "I'm afraid I'll regret it when I see you earning 2.08 million a day." Returning to the present, Fang Zhou, having explained everything, smiled faintly at Qiao Sisi, jokingly. In the hospital room, the actress, after hearing the whole story, had red-rimmed eyes. She stared at Fang Zhou in a daze, softly murmuring, "How could you be so foolish?" "Not foolish at all. Aren't you doing well?" Fang Zhou smiled, a look of relief on his face. "I'm not noble, I just felt that if I were to get involved in someone else's karma, it was better to stop here. In other words, I didn't like you as much as you imagined." And that was indeed the case. During their relationship, Fang Zhou truly liked Qiao Sisi and was mesmerized by her, willing to tolerate her little outbursts and whims endlessly. However, with their relationship about to be exposed and Qiao Sisi's future uncertain, breaking up was the best choice. Fang Zhou wasn't someone who lost his head over love, nor was he brainless. Qiao Sisi had worked so hard to become a good actress, he couldn't let her give up her future for him. He also wouldn't allow himself to be a stumbling block on someone else's path to success. So, Fang Zhou decided to cut the Gordian knot and break up thoroughly. It was just a relationship. Once Qiao Sisi became an excellent actress, she could find anyone she wanted. Similarly, Fang Zhou didn't need to carry the burden of her life. Love also requires the right time, place, and people. What he and Qiao Sisi lacked was timing. It's pointless to say more. I'm not telling you this to burden you, I'm just giving you a belated answer. Fang Zhou finally explained the reason for their breakup back then. A huge weight was lifted from his heart. If she had wanted to reconcile because she felt wronged about being dumped, she should be appeased now. After all, the breakup had spared her 5 million and 5 years of being shelved, not a bad trade. The best 5 years for a female actress, if shelved, would make it nearly impossible to rise again. Qiao Sisi should be grateful. However, why did she look anything but happy? Qiao Sisi staggered forward, wanting to touch Fang Zhou's face but stopping midway. In just the short time of recounting their memories, her voice had changed, becoming somewhat hoarse and low. Her eyes lost their usual sparkle, as if she had suffered a huge blow. "I knew it. I knew you didn't break up with me because you didn't love me anymore," she murmured softly, staring at Fang Zhou blankly. As she spoke, her eyes suddenly brightened. "Since you didn't break up with me because you didn't love me, then let's get back together now." She stepped forward, grabbed Fang Zhou's arm, and gently shook it, like she was being coquettish. "I'm at the top now, and I'm even on a love reality show. We can be together openly, and no one will threaten you anymore." The once radiant actress now showed a lot of vulnerability in her eyes, as if she couldn't accept Fang Zhou's rejection. Unfortunately, Fang Zhou knew his own nature well. For him, being in a relationship was like traveling. If he couldn't stay at one place, he would leave without looking back. No matter what was offered behind him, he wouldn't turn back. "The problem is, I don't love you anymore." Fang Zhou couldn't meet Qiao Sisi's eyes, so he turned away and sat on a chair by the bed. "Although it's cruel, I have to tell you the truth. Time heals all wounds." It had been years since Fang Zhou and Qiao Sisi broke up, and he had liked many others since then. How could he still have feelings for Qiao Sisi? "I don't love you anymore." This statement hurt Qiao Sisi more than spending half a year filming a drama only to have it shelved due to the male actor's tax evasion. She felt a hole open in her heart, with a cold wind blowing through, causing a pain that made her want to faint. No external sound could reach her ears anymore. Her mind was filled with Fang Zhou's words, "I don't love you anymore." Something dark and sinister was triggered, spreading from her heart to her mind, finally taking control of her body. Out of Fang Zhou's sight, Qiao Sisi's eyes changed. Her focus shifted from him to the fruit knife on the table. It was a delicate little knife, with a silver sheen at the exposed end, like an attractive gem. She thought, how could he say such cruel words so easily? Should I cut off his tongue so he won't say such hurtful things? "If you don't love me, who do you love?" Qiao Sisi slowly moved towards the table, unconsciously asking him. "Who do you love? Should I dig out your heart so you won't love anyone else? I love you so much, you can only look at me." Fang Zhou was stumped by the question, staring at the white wall, lost in thought. Yes, who does he love now? Faces of his ex-girlfriends appeared on that white wall one by one. Qiao Sisi, Han Shi, Chu Xinran, Qin Yun, Song Qinghuan. They all vanished, leaving only a blank space. It seemed he didn't love anyone, yet it also seemed he could start a new relationship anytime. "I don't love anyone now, I just want to make money." Fang Zhou finally answered Qiao Sisi honestly. Making money was his main focus now. However, the woman behind him didn't respond. Fang Zhou thought she was angry again and tried to console her. "Sisi, with your current talent, you can aim for a golden award. Once you get that, you won't have to worry about being pushed aside. Even in the entertainment industry, talent is paramount." Qiao Sisi had a huge following now, and some of her works had gained attention, but it was far from enough in the entertainment world. The actress standing behind Fang Zhou didn't hear a word he said. She had already picked up the fruit knife, carefully removing the sheath, and turned to look at Fang Zhou. "Where should I start? Should I go for the tongue that said it doesn't love me? Or the legs that want to run everywhere?" Fang Zhou kept talking, unaware of the change in her demeanor, still wondering if she found him too nagging. He sighed deeply and continued, "I watched your recent drama, and your role was beautiful and well played. But it's hard to surpass the previous ones." He turned around as he spoke, only to see Qiao Sisi holding the knife, staring at him coldly. That look seemed like she wanted to stab him, and he felt goosebumps rise on his skin. A strange fear surged in his heart, and his survival instinct stopped him from continuing. Oh no, why is she looking at me like that? She was fine just now, what went wrong? Fang Zhou's mind flashed back to the day he almost drowned, dragged underwater by her, unable to escape the suffocating sensation. The gates of hell he saw that day seemed to beckon him once again. Xiao Sisi, put down the knife. We can talk this out. The silence in the hospital room grew thicker, making everyone tense. Fang Zhou saw Xiao Sisi's expression and countless thoughts flashed through his mind. What does she want to do? Why is she holding a knife? Did my words upset her? But that's no reason to pick up a knife. What's wrong? Do you want an apple? Let me peel it for you. You love apples. Fang Zhou chose the safest route, trying to take the knife from Xiao Sisi's hand. But his words seemed to provoke her. Instead of putting the knife down, she gave a strange smile and slowly moved closer to him. I don't want an apple. I want to eat you. Xiao Sisi's lips curved into a smile, but her eyes remained devoid of any warmth, making her smile seem dangerously out of place. Fang Zhou's nerves immediately tightened. Oh no, it feels like Xiao Sisi is possessed by something evil. Why is she acting so bizarre? As Xiao Sisi moved closer, Fang Zhou retreated, trying to wake her up. You're joking, right? There's nothing tasty about me, I'm not delicious at all. At times like this, no one would think she meant eating in a literal sense. How would you know if you don't try? Xiao Sisi pressed on, raising the knife slowly, a touch of madness in her brown eyes. If I eat you, you won't stop loving me. Yes, only when a man is mounted on the wall does he behave. Fang Zhou would be the same. Only by merging completely with him would he love her again. Living in a world without Fang Zhou's love would be unbearable. Her soft murmurs seemed to flip a switch. Xiao Sisi quickened her steps, closing the distance between them. The madness in her eyes burned even hotter, almost scorching. Seeing her movements, Fang Zhou was terrified, retreating further until his back hit the wall. He had nowhere left to go. The light reflected off the raised knife, glaringly bright on his face. You can't not love me, Xiao Sisi whispered, her mind already lost to reason, fixated on one thought. To win Fang Zhou's love, not allowing him to love anyone else. He was hers. You are mine. Xiao Sisi's voice suddenly rose, and she swiftly thrust the knife at Fang Zhou. The knife's blade reflected his terrified face, its sharp point capable of taking a life in an instant. Fang Zhou quickly ducked, avoiding the stab. Then he stepped aside in a bid to escape, calling out Xiao Sisi's name to snap her out of it. Sisi, wake up. Don't be impulsive. Oh no, I knew nothing good would come from this variety show. As Fang Zhou lamented his fate, Xiao Sisi was already closing in, aiming another stab at his face. Hey, we agreed no hitting the face. Fang Zhou instinctively dodged, raising his hand to block. Soft flesh was no match for a sharp knife, and his hand instantly bled. The sharp pain made him gasp. Hiss, it hurts. Blood quickly soaked through his hospital gown, the torn fabric a testament to the severity of the stab. But what caught Xiao Sisi's attention more was the red string on his hand. It seemed worn from years of wear, the edges frayed, the small wooden leaf on it smoothed by time. Was this the red string she had given him back then? This is a gift. Her eyes fixated on the string, almost as if she could see flowers blooming on it. Fang Zhou followed her gaze. His sister had insisted he wear it when she started high school. Before that, Xiao Sisi had indeed given him a similar string. But after their breakup, Fang Zhou stopped wearing it. His sister's string had been worn only after much persuasion. He wanted to tell Xiao Sisi this wasn't the one she had given him. But the blood-stained knife in her hand warned him to go along with her words. In a life-or-death situation, Fang Zhou didn't mind telling a white lie. Yes, you gave this to me. Do you remember? Two conflicting thoughts battled in Xiao Sisi's mind. One said, he admitted he doesn't love you and wants to be with someone else. How can that be? Cut off his tongue, so he can't say he doesn't love you. The other said, he says he doesn't love me, but his actions show he still does. The latter thought finally won. As her sanity returned, Xiao Sisi's hand relaxed. Clang. The knife fell to the floor, snapping Fang Zhou out of his pain. He kicked the knife 3 or 4 meters away, ensuring it was no longer a threat. Fang Zhou breathed a sigh of relief, his life spared. Before he could speak, Xiao Sisi's eyes reddened, and she began to cry softly. I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me. Her sobs were filled with endless sorrow, tears streaming down her face like a broken string of pearls. Xiao Sisi reached out, wanting to touch Fang Zhou but recoiled as if burned. I'm sorry. She kept apologizing, immense fear engulfing her like a tidal wave. She had almost killed Fang Zhou. The red area on Fang Zhou's arm kept spreading, the pain gnawing at his brain. The crying Xiao Sisi seemed like a ticking time bomb, ready to explode. He felt the veins on his forehead throb, every cell in his body screaming, stay away. But Fang Zhou had always been emotionally stable. Even after narrowly escaping death, he wouldn't immediately lash out at Xiao Sisi. Now wasn't the time for rash words, upsetting her again could be disastrous. It's okay, I don't blame you. Fang Zhou tried to stay calm, his gaze peaceful, showing no resentment. His calmness triggered Xiao Sisi's guilt. She nodded frantically, crying as she tried to stop his bleeding with tissues. Seeing her clumsy and panicked actions, Fang Zhou felt a twinge of pity, wondering why it felt like she was the one in pain when he was the one hurt. Can you call a doctor for me? Fang Zhou felt the wound wouldn't stop bleeding easily. Xiao Sisi nodded tearfully, okay, I'll get the doctor. Just as she turned to leave, two people entered the room. Han Shi and Chu Xinran had returned. What happened? The sudden arrival of Han Shi and Chu Xinran caught both Qiao Sisi and Fang Zhou off guard. Qiao Sisi looked at the two newcomers in a panic, unsure how to react. Did they see anything? Han Shi coldly pushed open the door and walked in, her gaze locking onto Fang Zhou's bleeding arm, her eyes turning icy. What happened? How could someone get hurt just staying in a room? Chu Xinran, following behind, gasped when she saw Fang Zhou's injury and quickly ran over. Brother Fang Zhou, you're hurt. Her eyes misted over like gems covered with a transparent veil, filled with worry and pain as she approached Fang Zhou. What happened? We were only gone for a little while, and you're already so badly hurt. The girl's voice, loud and clear, felt like a slap to Qiao Sisi, making her face burn with shame. Qiao Sisi lowered her eyelids, bending over as if crushed, the once dazzling actress now a shadow of her former self. Guilt and self-blame surged like a tide, and her tears began to flow uncontrollably again. She was about to confess, but Fang Zhou spoke first. I was trying to peel an apple and accidentally fell, cutting myself with the knife. His voice, as always, was pleasant and clear, like pearls dropping onto jade, giving no hint of the earlier knife threat. Qiao Sisi's words caught in her throat, shocked and saddened as she looked at him. Why is he covering for me? She almost killed him just now. Despite his anger at Qiao Sisi's madness, Fang Zhou's instincts told him not to reveal the truth in front of Chu Xinran and Han Shi. Otherwise, there would be endless questions like, why did she hurt you, what's your relationship with her, and what problem required a knife? This would go against Fang Zhou's low-profile nature, so he'd rather take the blame himself than let Han Shi and Chu Xinran discover anything. Can a grown man trip on flat ground? Han Shi clearly didn't believe his story and wanted to ask more questions. Fang Zhou's brow twitched, and he exclaimed, ouch, it hurts so much. Can someone get a doctor? He gave Qiao Sisi a look, signaling her to get the doctor. Chu Xinran quickly volunteered, I'll go. You sit down and press the wound with a tissue. She ran out like a gust of wind. Qiao Sisi, who had just taken a step to leave, found herself rooted in place. She thought dejectedly, even Chu Xinran, who just met him, cares so much for him. Fang Zhou must think I'm terrible. Han Shi's gaze lingered between Fang Zhou and Qiao Sisi, planting seeds of doubt. Her eyes remained cold, but her actions were gentle. I'll help you sit. She extended her hand, supporting Fang Zhou's uninjured arm, guiding him back to the bed. Fang Zhou wanted to say his legs were fine, but Han Shi's cold aura left him speechless. Meanwhile, Qiao Sisi turned back, watching them. Though her tears had stopped, her eyes remained watery, lips tightly pressed, her expression cold. Feeling the pressure from both sides, Fang Zhou reluctantly returned to the bed. Those few steps felt like the hardest journey of his life. Fortunately, Chu Xinran soon returned with the doctor. The doctor carefully rolled up Fang Zhou's sleeve, avoiding the wound, and disinfected it with alcohol. Thankfully, the knife wound wasn't deep, though the bleeding looked scary. The doctor quickly treated it and applied medicine. Bandages wrapped around the wound, reminding Fang Zhou of Chu Xinran's injury. He looked up at her, intending to ask the doctor to treat her too, but saw the usually lively girl standing dazedly, lips pressed tight. Xinran, do you need your bandage changed? Fang Zhou asked, concerned. This sudden concern drew the attention of all three women in the room. Seeing the bandage on Chu Xinran's hand, Qiao Sisi's eyes darkened. How did he know Chu Xinran was hurt? Why does he care so much about her? Han Shi, having heard Chu Xinran's explanation of a scrape earlier, still felt annoyed. Fang Zhou himself was injured, yet he still worried about others. He really was overly kind. I'm fine. I already changed it today. Chu Xinran didn't want the island doctor to see her injury, shaking her head in refusal. All right, avoid getting the wound wet, even when bathing. Okay, thank you, doctor. In the afternoon, Fang Zhou received an 4 drip. Under the medication's influence, he drifted off to sleep. Han Shi and Chu Xinran stayed by his side, never leaving. Qiao Sisi stayed until dinner time, when the director called her to film a segment. I'll get dinner. Chu Xinran eagerly volunteered, wanting the chance to feed Fang Zhou. Han Shi nodded, watching her leave the room, then approached Fang Zhou's bed. Looking at the sleeping man, her eyes flickered. She traced his facial features in the air, from his eyes to his nose to his mouth, each perfectly shaped. Han Shi slowly bent down, placing a gentle kiss on Fang Zhou's face, then quickly pulled away, like a dragonfly skimming the surface. Just like during that truth or dare game. But this time, there was no alcohol for courage, only the advantage of his sleep. The usually stern CEO's face softened, but returned to its usual coldness as she glanced at Fang Zhou's bandaged wound. Was it really an accident? Her voice, barely a whisper, seemed to ask the sleeping man, or perhaps herself. Why did Qiao Sisi cry so much over your injury? She didn't care about her image, crying her heart out to get you help. Are you really just acquaintances? Fang Zhou, how many secrets are you hiding? That night, the hospital was silent. Except for a few patients suffering from pain, most people were already in dreamland. Fang Zhou, having slept for a long time in the afternoon, woke up after only 4 or 5 hours of sleep at night. He opened his eyes, feeling pain in both hands. One was injured, and the other seemed numb from being pressed by something. Fang Zhou tried to lift his right hand but found something furry pressing on it. Under the moonlight from the window, he saw what it was. Ahead, presumably Chu Xinran's. Fang Zhou found it strange. Didn't she leave with Han Shi in the afternoon? Earlier, Chu Xinran had fed him, while Han Shi peeled fruit on the side. Fang Zhou ate quickly, not daring to delay. He even ate the apple Han Shi peeled to avoid her cold stare. Fang Zhou felt like a master at balancing things, handling everyone evenly without spilling a drop. Perhaps he looked too pitiful injured, so they didn't stay long and left around 6 o'clock. But now, Chu Xinran was back, staying by his side as he slept. Fang Zhou felt a mix of emotions. When they broke up, he was so resolute and said such harsh words. Yet, she didn't hold a grudge and even did foolish things for him. Now, even with him injured, she silently stayed by his side without waking him. The distance from the villa to the hospital was about a kilometer. For a girl to walk alone at night, she must have been very scared. Thinking of this, Fang Zhou's eyes softened. This silly girl always made him feel so protective. Carefully, he moved his right hand, trying to free it from under Chu Xinran's head without waking her, doing it bit by bit. His right hand was numb, probably from poor circulation. If he didn't free it, the doctor and nurse might think he was fighting with an illness come morning. Finally freeing his hand, Fang Zhou sighed in relief, lifted the blanket, and went to the bathroom. It was a bit dark, but the moonlight from outside illuminated the room enough to see. After relieving himself, Fang Zhou shook his hand to get the blood flowing and opened the door to step out. Just 2 steps out, someone bumped into him, the sweet scent of oranges hitting his nose, captivating him. You scared me, I thought you were taken by bad people. The girl's coquettish tone revealed worry and dependence. Fang Zhou looked down to see Chu Xinran, her big eyes looking at him innocently. Xinran, why are you awake? He had been careful, but still woke her. Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. I'm a light sleeper, the slightest noise wakes me. Chu Xinran smiled sweetly, like honey. Why did you come? Did you come after 10 p.m.? Fang Zhou was concerned. He had gone to sleep at 10 p.m., and the island should still have people moving around. Any later, and it would be more dangerous. Yeah, I couldn't sleep, so I came. Feeling Fang Zhou's concern, Chu Xinran explained further. It's fine, there are lights along the way and surveillance. See, I'm perfectly fine. Hearing this, Fang Zhou felt even more worried. There were many cases where surveillance was destroyed, leaving nothing to trace. He furrowed his brows, trying to push Chu Xinran's hand away, speaking sternly, don't do such foolish things again, it's too dangerous. Seeing his stern face, as if he might get angry, Chu Xinran nodded obediently. All right, I won't do it again. I'm sorry. Though she did nothing wrong, she still apologized, her soft voice carrying a hint of the sleepiness she just woke from. Fang Zhou's heart softened, unable to say anything harsh. At this time, it was impossible to tell her to go back. He just wanted to remind her not to go out at night in the future. Let's forget this time. Don't go out at night again, no matter where you are. Fang Zhou gently let her go. They were ex-lovers, and continued close contact wasn't appropriate. All right, let go of me and go sleep on the bed. I'll wake you before the nurse comes. The nurse usually came around 6 to draw blood and take blood pressure, then breakfast was at 7. The nurse's arrival would coincide with daybreak, making it safe for Chu Xinran to return to the villa. No, if I sleep on the bed, what about you? Her hands clung tightly to Fang Zhou's waist, her whole body nestled against him, like a child afraid of losing a toy. A hint of possessiveness flashed in Chu Xinran's eyes. Fang Zhou, despite being a patient, was willing to give up his bed for her. Such gentleness was irresistible. This gentle Fang Zhou could only be hers. Using his uninjured hand, Fang Zhou pushed Chu Xinran, but failed. He pointed to the sofa. I've slept enough. I'll just rest my eyes there. Chu Xinran looked at the sofa and shook her head vigorously. No, you're the patient, you should sleep on the bed. How about this, we sleep together. Chu Xinran's eyes lit up, her drowsiness vanishing as she stared at Fang Zhou like discovering a new world. Fang Zhou felt his scalp tingle, waving his hands in refusal. No, 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 you sleep. I've had enough sleep, I just got up out of boredom. The girl pouted, clearly unhappy. What, are you afraid I'll eat you? Fang Zhou, caught off guard, stammered. No, no, I just lay in bed too long and want to stretch my legs. A man and woman alone in bed, just talking under the covers? Fang Zhou might agree, but his body wouldn't. He didn't want to suffer all night. If you don't sleep, I won't either. Chu Xinran pouted, a hint of coquettishness in her tone. His mind raced for a solution. How about we go watch the sunrise? Judging by the moon's position, it was almost dawn. Waiting a bit longer, they could see the sunrise. Chu Xinran, never having watched the sunrise by the sea with Fang Zhou, brightened with excitement. Okay, let's go now. Fang Zhou secretly sighed in relief. Finally, I've pacified this little ancestor by the sea. Fang Zhou and Chu Xinran were sitting side by side, waiting for the sunrise. They chatted casually, like ordinary friends. But as they talked, Chu Xinran suddenly fell silent, and Fang Zhou felt a fluffy head on his shoulder. Chu Xinran had fallen asleep, leaning on his shoulder. Xinran. Fang Zhou called her name, but there was no response, so he didn't call again. The moon gradually disappeared, and the distant sky began to brighten. Fang Zhou looked at the calm sea, recalling the events of the previous day. Xiao Cici's behavior was very strange. They had been talking normally, but then she suddenly grabbed a knife. At which point did things go wrong? Fang Zhou thought for a long time and finally settled on the moment he said, "But I don't love you anymore." After that sentence, Xiao Sisi changed completely. Her words and actions became bizarre, as if she had opened Pandora's box and released an evil demon. The wound on his arm was a real reminder of her intention to hurt him that morning. If he hadn't dodged quickly and had that red string, he might not have seen today's sunrise. Fang Zhou raised his hand and looked at the red string tied around his wrist. Xiao Sisi mistakenly thought it was the one she gave him years ago, and that's why she snapped out of it. He knew the significance of this string. It was one of the first gifts Xiao Sisi had given him. The string was worthless but held sentimental value. Back then, the actress, who was running around for small roles, took the time to learn woodworking, crafting a wooden plaque and a small leaf. The plaque had the word peace carved on it, which they tied to a big temple tree during a mountain hike. The small wooden leaf was woven into a simple bracelet that she gave him. Fang Zhou had been deeply touched, proudly wearing the red string every day, while classmates thought he was trying to show off a luxury watch. When they saw it was just a red string, they cursed Fang Zhou for being a lovesick fool. After their breakup, Fang Zhou took it off and never wore it again. Who knew that his sister's childish act of putting it back on him would save his life today? Fang Zhou couldn't help but feel unlucky. He never expected Xiao Sisi to be not only a lunatic but also dangerously possessive. She wasn't like this back then. She was a bit dramatic but in a cute way. How did she become so twisted in just a few years? Fang Zhou decided it was best to stay away from Xiao Sisi in the future. She was too scary, pulling a knife on him at the slightest provocation. What if he wasn't so lucky next time? As he pondered how to avoid Xiao Sisi in the future, the sky brightened, and the sun began to rise in the east, casting orange light across the horizon. Xinran, wake up, look at the sunrise. Fang Zhou shook Chu Xinran, waking her to see the sunrise. The girl groggily opened her eyes, first looking at Fang Zhou instead of the sky. Brother. Fang Zhou nodded, acknowledging her address, and pointed east, reminding her, look, the sun is rising. His voice was filled with excitement and joy, not hiding his happiness. For an inland kid seeing the ocean sunrise for the first time, he was already very restrained, not shouting like a monkey. Chu Xinran followed his hand and saw the just risen sun, immediately sitting up straight. She happily stood up and ran towards the sun, as if trying to embrace the sunrise. Ah, it's so beautiful. Fang Zhou stood behind, smiling as he watched her, reminding her, be careful, don't get swept away by the waves. Chu Xinran slowed her pace, took off her shoes at the beach, and excitedly called out to Fang Zhou, come and play. She lifted her skirt, leaving footprints on the sand, like a child stomping in puddles on a rainy day. Fang Zhou smiled faintly, finding her actions funny yet endearing. Chu Xinran must not have had many chances to play freely like this as a child. In their time together, she had told him everything about her life, naively revealing all her secrets. She grew up in an orphanage until she was 8, then was adopted into a new family where she slowly felt the warmth of a home. But her new family had strict demands, top grades, winning dance and vocal competitions, and always maintaining a proper image. As a result, Chu Xinran held herself to the highest standards everywhere, never doing something like taking off her shoes in public. Fang Zhou saw her suddenly lower her head, thinking she might have been stung by a jellyfish, and rushed over to check. What are you doing? When he got closer, he saw she was writing in the sand. Look, I encircled our happiness, so it won't escape. The girl finished writing and looked up at Fang Zhou with a bright smile, her eyes reflecting the sunrise, sparkling. Fang Zhou looked down and saw their names written in the sand, encircled by a heart. Fang Zhou and Chu Xinran, surrounded by a heart. Though it seemed childish and cliched, coming from Chu Xinran, it wasn't annoying. In fact, her pure aura and unaware beauty made it endearing. Fang Zhou felt his heart hit by something, heavy yet warm. But he quickly snapped out of it, softly saying, but it'll be washed away by the waves soon. He was hinting to Chu Xinran that their relationship, like the words in the sand, was transient and beautiful but couldn't last forever. Fang Zhou knew what it meant for Chu Xinran to stay with him through the night. She probably still liked him. A pure girl unable to forget her first love, even after 2 years apart, still so passionate upon seeing him. From the first text, Chu Xinran never hid her feelings for him. Fang Zhou wasn't stupid. But unfortunately, he couldn't accept it. No problem, I'll just take a picture. Chu Xinran cheerfully took out her phone and snapped a photo. Fang Zhou couldn't bear to say anything hurtful, so he led her back. Let's go back. The nurse will be looking for us soon. Chu Xinran nodded obediently, following him for several meters, then turned to look at the writing, still untouched by the waves. Her eyes curved into a happy smile. I knew brother Fang Zhou is mine, even the sea agrees. While Fang Zhou and Chu Xinran were waiting for the sunrise by the sea, someone in the villa was startled awake by a nightmare. No, Fang Zhou. The woman abruptly opened her eyes, seeing the pristine white ceiling instead of the gruesome corpse from her dream, and immediately felt relieved. She breathed heavily, feeling her heart pounding wildly in her chest, her back drenched in cold sweat, making her pajamas stick uncomfortably to her skin. Zhang Xian got up, went to the bathroom to freshen up, and then returned to her room. She took out a notebook and paper from her backpack, turned on the desk lamp, and began writing by the window. Eyes, hands, feet, jumping off a building. She wrote down these 4 keywords on the paper. With the pen tip pressing on the paper, Zhang Xian fell into deep thought. This was the first week she had been having nightmares continuously. Ever since she accidentally saw a show called 100% Love on her phone and saw Fang Zhou's face in it, she had been having nightmares. At first, she dreamt of Fang Zhou's hand being cut off, then his Achilles tendons being severed, and then his bloody eyes being gouged out. And today, she dreamt of Fang Zhou jumping off a high place, lifeless. Zhang Xian sought psychological intervention and hypnosis, but to no avail. She still had those nightmares every night. At that time, she was abroad, struggling for inspiration for her next work when this incident caught her off guard. She thought it was telepathy and that Fang Zhou might really be in trouble, but the daily live broadcast of the show on her phone clearly showed that Fang Zhou was fine. Zhang Xian struggled for a long time, not knowing what went wrong, and was too scared to sleep at night, fearing those horrific scenes. But people can't stay awake forever. The mental stress caused her to doze off and wake up quickly during the day. The psychologist believed that to solve the problem, she needed to directly confront the person she dreamt of. Perhaps the obsession from your youth was too deep, causing these feelings to resurface when you suddenly saw his face again after so many years. But Zhang Xian thought it was too far-fetched to return to China just to find Fang Zhou because of a dream. She hadn't contacted him or Li Siming for years. Would he even acknowledge her if she suddenly went looking for him? These hesitant thoughts dissipated when Zhang Xian saw Fang Zhou almost drown and get poisoned by eating toxic mushrooms on the show. He was truly in danger. She had to go back to China to see him to be at ease. So Zhang Xian got in touch with a friend to get the contact information of the chief director of the dating show and bluntly stated her intention to join the cast with sponsorship. After becoming famous and winning awards over the years, she rarely accepted public interviews or variety show invitations. Now, her proactive request would certainly not be rejected by the director, as she brought traffic and topics with her. Zhang Xian returned to China overnight and hurriedly joined the fans visiting the set, arriving at the island and successfully meeting Fang Zhou. She thought she could talk to him casually, like during their youth. But when she saw him chatting with another girl, she couldn't help scaring away the little fan by pretending to be his ex-girlfriend. Seeing Fang Zhou reminded her of their unpleasant meal and her unrequited crush. The grievances and anger in her heart made her speak harshly to Fang Zhou, feeling that only sarcasm could vent her pent-up emotions. But Fang Zhou hadn't done anything wrong. It was herself who, the more she looked at him, the more memories of her past crush were stirred up. Those hidden affections and cautious feelings resurfaced, prompting Zhang Xian to say those words. If I hadn't gone abroad, would we be together now? When Fang Zhou said it was impossible, her heart sank again, but this time she hid it well. She pretended to be indifferent, warning him to be cautious in choosing his partners, and her eyes reddened when he bowed his head in weakness. Sadness and sorrow flooded her like an opened floodgate, mercilessly drowning her. At that moment, looking at the living Fang Zhou and remembering the tragic Fang Zhou in her dream, the contrast hit her even harder. Fang Zhou's words, "I know," almost made Zhang Xian reveal her nightmares. You don't know anything. You don't know I dreamt you were killed by a woman, and she was your ex-girlfriend." Although she couldn't see the woman's face in the dream, Zhang Xian heard her words as she attacked Fang Zhou. "Didn't I already warn you not to run around? Stay obediently by my side, don't go anywhere. If you don't listen, I'll have to cut your tendons. Don't be afraid, you won't be able to run in the future. I'll take good care of you. I'm the one who loves you most in the world." Even in the scorching summer, Zhang Xian, reflecting on these words as a bystander, found them chilling. What kind of possessive and controlling maniac was this? She knew some writers created such characters, and there were a few real-life yanderies. But if Fang Zhou fell into the hands of such a person, it would be truly unfortunate. However, saying these words and dreams out loud was too absurd. Not only would Fang Zhou not believe it, but even she wouldn't have believed it a month ago. She had hoped that seeing Fang Zhou in person would stop the nightmares, but it seemed things weren't that simple. Zhang Xian could only keep this to herself, waiting to see how the dating show would unfold. If there really was such a dangerous person around Fang Zhou, she would have to warn him. Or she might have to take some measures to protect him. People say dreams are the opposite of reality. This time, Zhang Xian sincerely hoped they were right. No matter how hard she tried, Zhang Xian couldn't recall the woman's face from her dream. Feeling frustrated, she threw down her pen, tore up the paper she had just written on, and threw the fragments into the trash can. Since she couldn't sleep anyway, she decided not to sleep at all. Zhang Xian stood up and walked to the window, wanting to see the scenery outside. The sky was already bright, with the distant sea shimmering in the light, a streak of gold appearing on the horizon, the sky suddenly bright and dazzling. At that moment, an orange sun slowly peeked out, dyeing the sky red, and the morning sun wore a brilliant robe. The sea sparkled, the waves gently lapping the shore, reflecting the sunlight beautifully. A new day had begun. With the doctor's approval, Fang Zhou was finally able to be discharged from the hospital. Other than needing to have his hands' medication changed regularly, his body was in good condition. The show's live stream resumed as soon as Fang Zhou returned to the villa. As soon as the broadcast started, over 100,000 viewers flooded in. Finally, the show is back on. I now understand what it means to feel like a day is a year. Sob. The dating show can't lose you, just like fish can't live without water. Yanzi, how could I live without you? Yanzi, I haven't seen my SISI for a day. One day feels like 3 years. I'm going to replay SISI 30 times. Under the director's arrangement, Fang Zhou rejoined the team, and the guests put on an emotional performance. Brother, I'm so relieved to see you're okay. Dong Donghui patted Fang Zhou's shoulder, looking at him with a comforting expression, while secretly feeling thankful. Luckily, Han Shi had Fang Zhou try the food that day and not him. Otherwise, he would have been the one lying in the hospital for 2 days. Fang Zhou smiled and nodded, pretending not to notice the relief in Dong Donghui's eyes. There was no helping it after all, he was Han Shi's ex-boyfriend. Misfortune and fortune are intertwined, indeed. Sun Haoshan also came over, patting Fang Zhou's other shoulder, and comforted him. No worries, to celebrate your successful discharge, I'll cook today. I'll whip up a Manchuhan imperial feast for you. This surprised Fang Zhou a bit, but then he thought, Sun Haoshan was just a bit simple-minded, not a bad person. Since Sun Haoshan had taken the initiative to show goodwill, Fang Zhou wouldn't embarrass him. Raising his hand to reciprocate the gesture, Fang Zhou joked, I didn't expect a hospital visit to earn me such a treat. It's totally worth it. He was complimenting Sun Haoshan's cooking, and everyone laughed, teasing him. Fang Zhou, admit it, you did it on purpose just to taste brother Sun's cooking? Ha ha ha. You're so lucky, having 2 beautiful girls take care of you. Fang Zhou's smile froze for a moment, and he rolled his eyes at Qi Li who had said that. He thought, you want this luck? Fine, take it. Heaven knows how tough it was to endure yesterday's chaos. After some banter, they knew there were more procedures to follow and waited for the director's arrangement. Alright, dear viewers, let's welcome our new guest, Ms. Zhang Ziyan. As the director's voice fell, the live camera panned to the entrance. There stood Zhang Ziyan, ready for her reintroduction. She had been prearranged to greet the guests yesterday to prevent any unexpected situations. Dating shows usually have scripts, but 100% Love hadn't had any script scandals so far. This was just the director's special treatment for Zhang Ziyan. In the live feed, a woman in a light yellow long dress with a side braid slowly appeared. Her gentle eyes and scholarly aura made her unforgettable. The live chat exploded as soon as her name appeared. What? Did I hear right? Did they just mention Zhang Ziyan's name? OMG, she's on camera? It's really her? So beautiful? The genius girl who won the literary award at 24. My gosh, she's actually joining a dating show? She rarely gives interviews, let alone appears on variety shows. I take back what I said about the director saving the galaxy. I think the director saved the whole universe. Sob sob, my literary goddess is actually on a dating show? My heart is broken. While the chat focused on Zhang Ziyan's identity, the guests were already admiring her beauty. Even those who had met her yesterday were still amazed by her looks and demeanor. She's really beautiful. Chu Xinran stared at Zhang Ziyan, her expression almost dazed. Han Shi, standing beside her, also momentarily lost focus but quickly regained composure and whispered to Chu Xinran, You're beautiful too. Chu Xinran turned to look at her, finding Han Shi genuinely complimenting her, and felt a bit shy. Gosh, Han Shi is actually quite cute when she's not fighting to feed Fang Zhou. Their small interaction was caught by another camera and broadcasted live. Curious viewers immediately started shipping them. Yoshi, I think I can ship this pair. I love seeing girls getting close. Shipping might be niche, but it shouldn't be weird. Both girls are straight. Why do they give off such a sweet vibe? But I support it. The sweet vibe is strong. It's set. Unaware of the viewers' comments, the two continued to clap and welcome Zhang Ziyan. Thank you, everyone. Zhang Ziyan smiled, holding a bouquet of daisies, and walked to the center, greeting everyone individually. The first few greetings were normal until she reached Qiao Sisi. Hello, hello. Zhang Ziyan's smile deepened, her eyes quickly scanning Qiao Sisi. Could she be the one who harmed Fang Zhou? While Zhang Ziyan scrutinized the actress, Qiao Sisi was also scrutinizing her. Qiao Sisi thought, Zhang Ziyan's gaze towards Fang Zhou seems different. Do they have a history? Recalling yesterday's events, Qiao Sisi felt a heaviness in her heart, realizing things were veering into unpredictable territory. Zhang Ziyan quickly moved past Qiao Sisi and stood before Fang Zhou, about to speak when she noticed his injured arm and exclaimed, What happened? Fang Zhou, your hand. Fang Zhou had only intended to go through the motions but didn't expect Zhang Ziyan to ask about his arm. After all, it was fine when she left yesterday, and now it was injured. Anyone would find it strange. It's nothing, just a small accident. Fang Zhou smiled, praying internally that Zhang Ziyan wouldn't press further, giving her a look. Don't ask, sis, there are so many people here. Zhang Ziyan caught his look and didn't ask further, but her smile faded, becoming more serious. Someone must have gone to him after she left yesterday, intending to harm him. Zhang Ziyan scanned the crowd, her heart growing heavier. Who could it be? After the introductions, the director arranged the next segment. Please choose a guest to present your bouquet to. The director's voice echoed through the spacious living room, and everyone's eyes focused on the small bouquet of daisies in Zhang Ziyan's hand. Is the new guest going to start off with something this exciting? Does presenting the flowers mean she's choosing the guest who made the best first impression on her? The male guests immediately began to lament internally. This isn't fair. It's not just about looks. I haven't even had the chance to show off my amazing qualities. Look at me, I've got money. Notice me. The female guests also turned serious, realizing the new guest was about to make a bold move. This is a different game, director. Zhang Ziyan smiled and nodded, her gaze sweeping over all the male guests, and said softly, I've made my decision. The live chat erupted, with a flood of screams filling the stream. Ah, who will be her crush? I think it's going to be Fang Zhou. After all, he's the most handsome here. Of course, she'll pick the best-looking one. Not necessarily. What if Zhang Ziyan did some background research before coming on the show? She might choose the richest one. She's a genius author with millions of book sales. Would she care about a few men's money? Of course, she would choose the one she likes. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see who Zhang Ziyan would choose. Fang Zhou initially didn't think much of it, but the problem was, Zhang Ziyan's gaze seemed to be directed at him. He turned to look beside him, where the race car driver Chi Eli stood, a somewhat handsome, spirited man. It must be him she's looking at, right? Fang Zhou consoled himself, it couldn't be me. She was so resolute yesterday, she wouldn't give the flowers to me. Even though I'm indeed the most handsome here, self-awareness is important. With Zhang Ziyan's current status, why would she choose me? Thinking this, Fang Zhou relaxed. It surely wouldn't be him. No need to stress. However, as Zhang Ziyan walked towards his direction, Fang Zhou felt less certain. What? No way, is she really coming for me? Zhang Ziyan's gaze stayed on Fang Zhou, and as she got closer, their eyes met, her smile deepening. Fang Zhou's heart skipped a beat. He silently chanted, you can't see me, you can't see me. Unfortunately, cyberspells didn't work. What's meant to come will come. As the pleasant scent of her perfume wafted over, the bouquet of white daisies was presented in front of him. I think it's best to give this bouquet to my good friend first. Zhang Ziyan smiled gently, her tone carrying a hint of playfulness, making her seem even cuter. Her words stunned many of the guests. What? You guys are good friends? I've never heard of this. Lu Hao scratched his head, curious and excited. His eyes darted around Fang Zhou, who knew this guy had hidden depths. Since they were good friends before, they wouldn't become a couple on the dating show, right? So, does this mean he could get close to Fang Zhou and seize the opportunity? The more Lu Hao thought about it, the more excited he became, his eyes almost glowing as he looked at Fang Zhou. Fang Zhou felt a chill down his spine, sensing everyone's eyes on him, including a few cold stares shooting daggers. Yes, we were classmates in high school. Before Fang Zhou could reply, Zhang Ziyan answered Lu Hao's question. Someone came over and patted Fang Zhou on the shoulder, winking, you've hidden well. Having a famous author as a friend. Fang Zhou chuckled awkwardly, giving a perfunctory response, no one asked, so I didn't say. What troubled him more was why Zhang Ziyan suddenly revealed their relationship to everyone. He thought she would pretend not to know him, like his other ex-girlfriends. Starting with a big move, Fang Zhou had no choice but to respond. With so many people watching, he couldn't embarrass a girl. Ignoring the gazes from Chu Xinran, Han Shi, and others, he reached out to take the daisies, smiling. Then I'll humbly accept. Some people clapped and cheered, while others looked at them with complex expressions. Someone else, smiling, approached Zhang Ziyan and teased, did you come on the show for Fang Zhou? The speaker was Qin Yun, dressed in a black dress today. The silky fabric outlined her alluring curves, paired with exquisite makeup. Standing next to the fresh Zhang Ziyan, they were two contrasting styles, like a passionate rose meeting an elegant daisy, each with their charm. However, her words always made people's imaginations run wild. Wow, I think Qin Yun has a point. Did Zhang Ziyan come on the show for Fang Zhou? The once hidden admirer sees her beloved join a dating show, encountering various beauties, and rushes to buy a ticket to join the show. I've already imagined a whole novel. The one above. Here's a pen, you write it. This secret love is too good to pass up. Waiting for it? Kick me when the book is out. Waiting for it +1. The live stream, which initially had only 100,000 viewers, surged to nearly 1 million as soon as Zhang Ziyan appeared. The special effects filled the screen, with countless Zhang Ziyan flashing across, shooting to the top trending spot. Many viewers, upon entering, heard the few exchanges, especially Qin Yun's suggestive question, pushing the stream to its peak. Qin Yun's fatal question left all the guests stunned, turning to Zhang Ziyan, awaiting her response. Could it be? Did Zhang Ziyan join the dating show for Fang Zhou? This could get interesting. Standing at a distance, Xiao Sisi's face turned expressionless, recalling Fang Zhou's intimate gestures yesterday, feeling a mix of emotions. Who helps wipe an opposite-sex friend's tears like that? Qin Yun's question brought a hush over the living room, and all eyes turned to Zhang Ziyan and Fang Zhou. Facing everyone's gazes, especially the intense stares from his ex-girlfriends, Fang Zhou felt like his head was about to explode. No matter how frustrated he was, he couldn't express it now. Fang Zhou could only grit his teeth behind Zhang Ziyan's form and say to Qin Yun, how could that be? She's so outstanding. Of course it's not. Before he could finish, Zhang Ziyan nodded and answered. Yes, I came here for him. She smiled warmly, her eyes full of tenderness and affection as she looked at Fang Zhou. Because I didn't want to have any regrets, so I came. She didn't want to see Fang Zhou paired with someone else on her phone screen while she could do nothing about it. Just like back then, before she could fight for it, before she could confess, she was already declared out of the game. Because she still wanted to fight for herself once more, even if she was rejected again, it didn't matter. Because she didn't want her nightmares to come true, she came. Zhang Ziyan's heart was full of complexities, but to everyone else, it seemed like she was gazing at Fang Zhou with deep affection. Fang Zhou was completely stunned. What was she saying? What regrets? Didn't he make things clear yesterday? The mind of a woman is indeed unfathomable. The live chat was boiling over, especially Zhang Xian's book fans, who were already matching characters from her books with reality. Oh my god, my idol actually came for Fang Zhou? I guessed it right again. The prophet upstairs is back? You guessed it right again? Come, let's chat privately. Tell me, are you a seer? Actually, I think Fang Zhou really resembles a character from Zhang Xian's book, The Unattainable Love Interest of the Protagonist. Could it be based on him? The fervent atmosphere in the chat couldn't reach the island. The living room was filled with silence and tension. Qin Yun, who had been smiling while holding Zhang Xian, now had a more subdued smile. She glanced at Fang Zhou with a hint of jealousy, silently thinking, I guessed right. Chu Xinran stared blankly ahead, feeling a deep pang of bitterness. She had been so happy watching the sunrise with Fang Zhou this morning, but now, she couldn't find any trace of that joy. She thought dumbly, didn't want to have regrets? Does that mean not being together before was a regret? Is there someone else trying to steal Fang Zhou from me again? It's so sad. Why does someone always try to take him from me? Han Shi's gaze remained icy as she looked deeply at Zhang Xian and Fang Zhou, showing no surprise. But in her heart, jealousy was raging. It's so obvious. Fang Zhou couldn't possibly think this woman didn't come for him, right? Adults never do things without gain, and Zhang Xian has been famous for her writing for a long time. Would she join a variety show for an insignificant friend? Other than love, Han Shi couldn't think of any other possibility. Xiao Sisi also showed an inscrutable smile, a smile born from anger. She glanced at Fang Zhou lightly and said, Fang Zhou is quite popular, huh? Her voice was soft, but it carried a faint killing intent, making Fang Zhou feel a chill in his neck. Oh no, Xiao Sisi is also a Yandere, and a very aggressive one too. Listen to me, sister. So that's how it is? Who doesn't have regrets in their youth? It's not too late to make up for it now. Mending the pen after the sheep is lost, it's never too late. Among all the female guests, only Tang Wan could still speak normally. Her words also served to ease the strange tension, giving Fang Zhou a chance to breathe. Yes, she used to always tell me how she regretted not finding someone she liked and not having a high school romance. So now she's here to make up for her youthful regrets. Fang Zhou quickly added, regardless of what others thought, he couldn't just sit and do nothing. This explanation was accepted by several male guests. Lu Hao clapped his hands excitedly, then we can't let the goddess leave the show alone. Everyone has to put in some effort. Dong Donghui rarely spoke, but he added, since it's a dating show, we should all find sweet love. Everyone started chatting, moving past the earlier topic. Fang Zhou quietly breathed a sigh of relief. Looking down, he realized the daisy bouquet in his hand was almost deformed from his grip, showing his earlier tension. Damn, joining a dating show feels like a spy game, tense and thrilling. If this kind of scene happens a few more times, he might not be able to handle it. Director, my life is still a life. After Zhang Xian officially joined the show, the director quickly set up the next group task, emphasizing efficiency. Dear guests, today is your 7th day on the island. The scenery is beautiful, and there are many rare delicacies. You must have noticed the coconut groves on the island. The show has bought a small section. This afternoon's task is to form random groups and work together to pick coconuts, collect coconut water and meat, which will be used for tonight's coconut chicken and drinks. Basic tools have been prepared for you. Enjoy. The director's tone was very excited, seemingly eager to see them pick coconuts. This was a collaboration with the island, using the show's popularity and live broadcast to promote the island's products and test the show's ability to drive sales. If successful, it would open up new possibilities for similar shows, boosting the next season's popularity. A drawing box was placed on the table, and each guest took turns drawing lots, forming 3 groups. Fang Zhou was assigned to the first group with 4 members: Qin Yun, Sun Haoshan, Fang Zhou, and Tang Wan. Since Fang Zhou's hand was injured, this group effectively had only 3 people. The second group was Qi Li, Xiao Sisi, and Zhang Xian. The third group consisted of Lu Hao, Dong Donghui, Chu Xinran, and Han Shi. Everyone headed to the coconut grove, where tools were indeed prepared, but none of them had experience, leading to many funny moments as they figured out how to use them. Director, can we climb the trees? Qi Li asked cheerfully, eager to try. The director quickly ran out to stop him, saying it was too dangerous. They had just gotten one person back from the hospital. If another one got injured, the show might get cancelled. Finally, after much trial and error, everyone learned to use the tools correctly. Each group had a telescopic pole about 5 to 6 meters long, with a sickle-shaped blade at the top. Once assembled and tested for strength, they were ready to use. Perhaps due to innate talent, Qi Li's group quickly picked the first coconut. Thud. The sound of the coconut hitting the ground was dull and heavy. Some people clapped, encouraging the other groups. On Fang Zhou's side, due to his injured hand, he was assigned the final task of collecting coconut meat. Sun Haoshan was responsible for getting the coconuts down and then cutting off the hard bottom part. Qin Yun gathered the coconut juice, while Tang Wan scraped out the coconut meat. Initially, everyone had their role, and it should have gone smoothly. But the problem started with Sun Haoshan's first step. What seemed like a simple task of picking coconuts proved challenging for him. 5 minutes passed with no results. 10 minutes later, not a single coconut had fallen from the tree. The longer Sun Haoshan held the pole, the more the live stream audience laughed. Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. He looks so determined, but he hasn't gotten anything. Chi Li on the other side picks one silently and has already gotten 5 or 6. They've moved on to opening the coconuts, while this side hasn't even started. Ha ha ha, the first group must be thinking, people's joys and sorrows are not connected, I only find them noisy. Even Tangwan couldn't watch any longer and volunteered to help. Brother Sun, why don't you let me try? To the proud Sun Haoshan, this sounded like, can't you do it? If not, let me. A man can't admit he can't do something? He had to prove he could. Tangwan, you sit down for a bit. I'll get it done soon. Sun Haoshan, now sweating profusely, sped up his actions, but haste makes waste. Despite the pain in his arms, he still couldn't get a single coconut down. Even the injured Fang Zhou felt sorry for him, thinking, if I weren't hurt, we might already be drinking coconut water. Unable to watch any longer, Tangwan took the pole from Sun Haoshan and started finding the right angle. In less than a minute, the first coconut finally hit the ground. Yay! Tangwan's cheerful shout broke the silence, finally bringing some laughter. Great! Qin Yun stood up and applauded Tangwan. Keep going, a few more and we can drink coconut water. Fang Zhou looked at the green-skinned coconut on the ground, feeling thirsty but knowing he couldn't drink it yet. Maybe this is what they call looking at a coconut to quench thirst. About half an hour later, thanks to Tangwan's efforts, the first group had a pile of coconuts. Next up was the challenging part, opening them. I really don't know how to do this. Tangwan shrugged, indicating it was difficult. Freshly picked green coconuts are very hard to open if you don't cut them at the right spot. Sun Haoshan, feeling he had lost face, quickly took on the task. I got this. This kind of hard work is for us men, haha. He picked up the knife prepared by the show and started chopping at the bottom of the coconut. Fang Zhou watched him, noting that his technique was skilled, chopping at an angle from the base, swiftly revealing the meat. No wonder he's in the food business. Brother Sun's technique is clean and sharp. He never hesitated to praise genuine skill. Of course, everyone has their specialty. I wouldn't boast about anything else, but in this field, I'm number one. Sun Haoshan smiled proudly, chopping a large opening in the coconut, making it easy to scoop out the meat. The clear, sweet coconut water also came into view. He handed the coconut to Tangwan with a grin. Here, you worked hard picking the coconuts, so you get the first sip. Tangwan didn't hesitate and drank with a straw. Sun Haoshan continued opening more coconuts, and soon everyone was enjoying one. Ah, so refreshing. One must enjoy life to the fullest. Sun Haoshan began to reflect on life. Fang Zhou used his uninjured hand to sip from a straw, the sweet taste refreshing him completely. A joke suddenly came to his mind. The Imperial Jade Liquor. 180 a cup. Sun Haoshan caught the joke, and they burst into laughter. The code matches. Qin Yun and Tangwan also smiled contentedly. While they enjoyed their quiet moment, they heard repeated shouts of 80 from the nearby group. 80. It sounded just like a skit about breaking down walls, and Fang Zhou almost laughed out loud at the thought. Ha ha ha, what's going on? Sun Haoshan recognized the sound immediately. They must be chopping coconuts the wrong way. Seeing a chance to show off, he quickly put down his coconut and rushed to help the other group. He shouted, hey, that's not how you open a coconut. Tangwan, also amused, followed him to watch. This left Fang Zhou alone with Qin Yun. They glanced at each other, and the atmosphere changed. Qin Yun, with her striking features and heavy makeup today, looked even more alluring. The live stream audience described her as someone who could kill with her beauty. With Sun Haoshan and Tangwan gone, her gaze fixed on Fang Zhou, making it impossible to ignore. Not wanting to engage, Fang Zhou silently drank his coconut water. After a few sips, Qin Yun approached him. How is it? Tasty. The mature woman slightly bent over, leaning on the table in front of him, tilting her head to look at him. Her eyes sparkled, filled with infinite charm. Fang Zhou's heart skipped a beat, sensing trouble. Every time he was alone with Qin Yun, something bad happened. He looked up, put down the coconut, and answered honestly, it's good. Freshly picked coconut, how could it not be good? Then, her next move stunned him. Tasty? Let me try. She leaned in, her red lips parting, and the straw he had been using went into her mouth. This action was an indirect kiss. Qin Yun's bold move not only stunned Fang Zhou but also shocked the live stream audience. The live stream had 3 cameras, one for each group. A sharp-eyed viewer saw this and immediately screamed. Ah, they indirectly kissed? She's so bold. Oh my god, no wonder she's a mature woman. She goes straight for what she wants, never hesitating. I never noticed, Qin Yun actually likes Fang Zhou. She always seemed like she was into women. Are you kidding? She's on a dating show. If she doesn't flirt with the male guests, should she flirt with the female guests? Well, maybe that's not impossible, they're all so attractive. After a small sip, Qin Yun slowly released the straw, turned, and sat beside Fang Zhou, looking at him with a playful smile. It's really good, very sweet. Although she was talking about the coconut water, Fang Zhou felt like she was hinting that he was sweet. Oh my, what's wrong with this person? Despite having dated many girlfriends, Fang Zhou's ears still turned red from Qin Yun's flirting. Mature women always have this charm, making Fang Zhou feel like a little boy in front of her. It's not that he's inexperienced, but Qin Yun's gaze was too clingy, like a thread. Who could withstand that? Ahem, well. Fang Zhou lightly coughed, looked away, and whispered, if you like it, you can drink it all. He decided not to drink anymore. In front of everyone, her action could be seen as innocent and spontaneous. If he continued using that straw, it would confirm his interest in Qin Yun. Later, they might have to be bound together, and any interaction with other female guests would label him as a player. If the other female guests were ordinary people, it might be fine, but they were all his ex-girlfriends. They wouldn't let him go? How could he keep them at a distance all the time? Fang Zhou silently raised his guard against Qin Yun. As expected, she's like a fox, cunning and sly, using a little trick to put him in a dilemma. Qin Yun noticed Fang Zhou's wary look and couldn't help but laugh softly. Her pleasant laughter reached Fang Zhou's ears, turning into a different flavor. I won't drink anymore, this one is enough. She pointed to the coconut beside her, smiling gently. Fang Zhou nodded lightly and didn't respond further. I knew she did it on purpose, this bad woman. The weather is really nice today. Qin Yun started another topic, her gaze always on Fang Zhou, observing his subtle expressions. Yes, it's very nice. Fang Zhou had no intention of talking with her, casually responding, thinking about finding an excuse to leave. But Qin Yun's next words stopped him in his tracks. It would be nice to watch the sunrise early, but I have no one to accompany me. Fang Zhou's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly turned to look at her. What does she mean? Does she want him to accompany her to watch the sunrise? No way. He didn't want tomorrow's headline to be shocking. A man's body found floating near the island, suspected of suicide. I'm so envious of you, having someone to watch the sunrise with. She stopped there, but Fang Zhou understood her hint. She saw him and Chu Xinran watching the sunrise this morning. Fang Zhou was instantly annoyed. He miscalculated. The hospital isn't far from the villa, and the villa, to emphasize the sea view, has huge floor-to-ceiling windows in almost every room. Standing by the window, you can see everything along the coast. He and Chu Xinran were on the eastern beach, and a few rooms in the villa could indeed see them. Fang Zhou bit his lip in frustration. Who would tell him why this woman was awake early in the morning, looking at the sea? But admitting it was out of the question. Fang Zhou's main trait was stubbornness. Haha, if you want to watch, you can get up early. As for me, I haven't seen the sunrise by the sea, but I'd like to try the sunset. Qin Yun's eyes narrowed slightly, her gaze on Fang Zhou full of deep scrutiny. Oh, really? This deceitful man, I clearly saw it, and he's still pretending. Even if his whole body is soft, his mouth remains hard. Huh? Qin Yun woke up early this morning, planning to visit Fang Zhou at the hospital. Yesterday, she was delayed by work, unable to go. As she got ready and put on makeup, she noticed two people sitting side by side on the beach. Qin Yun shouldn't have cared, but the hospital gown was too noticeable to ignore. Fang Zhou's name flashed in her mind, and she put on her glasses to see clearly, and it was indeed Fang Zhou. Anyone familiar could recognize him from his back and figure, plus Fang Zhou's side profile was too outstanding. Qin Yun recognized him instantly, and next to him was Chu Xinran, her head resting on Fang Zhou's shoulder, either asleep or talking to him. Qin Yun's anger and jealousy flared up, smashing her foundation bottle on the spot. Good, Fang Zhou, you're really something. You're still sick, yet you have time to take a girl to watch the sunrise. Finally, catching a chance this morning, she had to ask him. Yet he pretended to be clueless in front of her, still being stubborn. Qin Yun laughed in anger, changing her tone to directly invite him. So, do I have the honor to invite you to watch the sunset with me? Whether it was Zhang Xian's stimulus or Chu Xinran's morning sunrise with Fang Zhou, Qin Yun felt she couldn't sit back anymore. She had to take the initiative, or Fang Zhou would be taken away. Fang Zhou's smile froze on his face, unable to continue. Who wants to watch the sunset with you? I want to live a little longer. He wanted to say no, but Qin Yun's eyes clearly said, if you don't watch with me, I'll deal with the person who watched with you. Too intimidating. Besides, Fang Zhou believed Qin Yun would definitely do it. What was she afraid of? She feared nothing. She almost went after Fang Zhou's sister, let alone Chu Xinran. Would she hesitate? Fang Zhou's heart sank. Why did it feel like Qin Yun had more leverage over him? Qin Yun's straightforward invitation made the live stream audience go wild. Holy crap! The mature woman invited Fang Zhou to watch the sunset together. How romantic. Can we live stream the whole thing? I swear I'm not trying to watch them kiss. Ha ha ha, I also want to watch the sunset with her? Forget cute girls, mature women are the best. Mature women forever. Look at yourself in the mirror, if you have one at home. If not, maybe pee in a puddle to see your reflection. Who do you think you are, wanting to date Qin Yun? Qin Yun is everyone's. Hey, no personal attacks. First level warning. Qin Yun didn't know that her invitation to Fang Zhou had started a barrage battle in the live stream chat. Seeing Fang Zhou silent and not answering, she didn't push him. She just lightly tapped her fingers on the table, waiting quietly. Her slender fingers were naturally suited for surgery, white and smooth, very pleasing to the eye. The sea breeze lifted her hair, carrying a rose fragrance, delightful and refreshing. She was confident that Fang Zhou would agree. Sure enough, Fang Zhou didn't keep her waiting long. After about a minute, he gave his answer. If there's a chance, sure. Fang Zhou's words were non-committal, neither agreeing nor refusing. To the audience, it sounded like a shy game streamer reluctantly agreeing to a mature woman's invitation. In fact, Fang Zhou just thought of delaying it. Maybe in a couple of days, the island segment would be over. then the sunset plan would naturally fall through. But to Qin Yun, it was a clear agreement. She smiled brightly. All right, it's settled then. No problem, watching the sunrise with another woman is nothing. In the future, you'll accompany me to watch the sunset every day. You promised. With the camera nearby, there were things Qin Yun wouldn't say in front of it. She just chatted casually with Fang Zhou. How's your wound? Do you want me to take a look? Fang Zhou quickly shook his head. No need, no need. The doctor changed my dressing this morning. It's not convenient to remove it now. She's a doctor, familiar with wounds. She would definitely notice it wasn't self-inflicted but caused by something else. Already, Fang Zhou had enough headaches with Qin Yun knowing about Han Shi and being seen with Chu Xinran watching the sunrise. If she found out about his connection with Qiao Sisi too, he wouldn't see the sun tomorrow. Alright then, if you need anything, feel free to find me. Being refused, Qin Yun didn't feel embarrassed, still smiling, creating the illusion that she was in a good mood. Fang Zhou didn't think so. The happier Qin Yun smiled, the more he wondered what she was planning. He stood up directly, heading to the next group. I'll see how their coconuts are coming along. After saying that, Fang Zhou walked straight ahead, almost like fleeing. Qin Yun didn't follow, just sat there quietly thinking about the relationship between Chu Xinran and Fang Zhou. In the second group next door, Fang Zhou arrived to see Qi Li holding a coconut, mimicking the famous GG move of a certain coconut juice brand. He was even reciting their GG words. Men have a man's flavor, women have a woman's flavor, and coconut juice has the flavor of coconut juice. Fang Zhou laughed out loud. Isn't this last year's hottest live stream? To be fair, Qi Li's muscular build really did resemble the male host of the coconut juice live stream. Other guests were also amused, joking around. I think after you retire from racing, you could consider applying to the coconut juice company as a host. Ha ha ha, really, it suits you. Qi Li, embarrassed by the teasing, quickly put the coconut back. I can't do it. What if netizens accuse me of skirting the edge? If you can't skirt the edge, can you clean windows? Fang Zhou teased Qi Li, drawing a chorus of cheers. Clean one? Clean one. Qi Li, a naturally playful person, didn't feel shy but had a glint of eagerness in his eyes. The viewers also started cheering in the live stream chat. Clean one? Clean it. I love watching this. Ha ha ha, is Qi Li not afraid of fame? Wait, he's already quite famous. I'm dying of laughter. Missing out on making Qi Li cross-dress during the truth or dare was a big loss. Fang Zhou didn't expect his offhand joke to actually make Qi Li consider it. If I do this, will the live stream be banned? In the end, Zhang Xian's reminder stopped Qi Li from actually cleaning windows. If the live stream gets banned, the director will go crazy. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed heartily. During the conversation, Sun Haoshan had already finished opening the coconuts for the second group, proudly pointing to his work. This was no challenge for me. Fang Zhou gave him a thumbs up, praising him without hesitation. Brother Sun only needs to make a slight effort, and it's already the limit of this field. That year, Brother Sun had his hands in his pockets, not knowing what a rival was. A few words made Sun Haoshan feel flattered, so much so that he ran off to help the third group. I love hearing that. I'll go help them. Everyone watched Sun Haoshan's enthusiastic figure, laughing. Tang Wan remembered her unfinished task and hurried back to scoop coconut meat. Qi Li and Zhang Xian, having finished their coconut juice, also started working. Only Qiao Sisi and Fang Zhou were left staring at each other. Fang Zhou lightly coughed, ready to leave, but Qiao Sisi called out to him. I have something to say to you. The actress's makeup was light today, her face colorless, as if she hadn't slept well. Seeing her, Fang Zhou's wound began to ache, reminding him she was a Yandere. Qiao Sisi saw the fear and caution in his eyes, feeling a pang in her heart, and her eyes reddened, looking like she was about to cry. Forget it, I'll say it here. I'm sorry. Although she had apologized yesterday, Qiao Sisi still couldn't forgive herself for hurting him. She hadn't slept well last night, spending it in guilt and regret. Qiao Sisi's sadness was too obvious. Fang Zhou didn't want to discuss these things on camera, so he comforted her. It's okay, don't worry about it. Bro will avoid you from now on, just don't come looking for me. After saying that, afraid Qiao Sisi would start crying, he quickly ran back to his group. This island can't be stayed on. Everyone here is eyeing me hungrily. With everyone's combined efforts, they finally enjoyed coconut juice and a delicious coconut chicken hot pot that evening. Cheers. To celebrate Fang Zhou's safe discharge from the hospital, everyone raised their glasses. There's nothing like the fruits of your own labor. Wow, it looks so good. Absolutely, I think the coconuts they picked are pretty good. I wonder if they sell these island coconuts online. I'd love to try them. +1, I want to try too. SIC's favorite must be really tasty. The live stream audience was drooling over the sumptuous dinner. Fang Zhou downed his coconut juice in one go, feeling immensely satisfied. To accommodate his recent discharge, most dishes only had a small amount of chili. He ate happily, quickly finishing 2 bowls of rice. Just as he was about to serve himself a third bowl, someone decided to stir things up. Fang Zhou, I want to eat the garlic spare ribs. Can you help me? Zhang Xian sat to Fang Zhou's left, but the garlic spare ribs were on his right. She couldn't reach them even if she stood up. Everyone, who had been chatting in small groups, now focused their attention on them. Tang Wan watched Fang Zhou with a mischievous smile, curious about his reaction. On the first day on the island, she had hinted for Fang Zhou to serve her food, and he had brought her the entire plate. Because of this, netizens had criticized Fang Zhou for being ungentlemanly and selfish, putting Tang Wan in a tough spot. Fang Zhou must have seen those comments. Would he repeat his mistake today? Besides Tang Wan, Chu Xinran, and Han Shi, who had been chatting about beauty products, also paused to watch. Xiao Sisi sipped her coconut juice slowly, while Qin Yun wiped her hands with a napkin. Everyone seemed busy with their tasks but was actually paying attention to Fang Zhou. Fang Zhou, however, was unaware. Upon hearing Zhang Xian's request, he casually picked up the plate and handed it to her, saying, "Here you go." Zhang Xian blinked and took a piece, thanking him. "Thank you." Fang Zhou then placed the plate back in its original spot. This smooth process shouldn't draw any criticism from netizens, right? That's what he thought, but someone else had other plans. "I want spare ribs too, Fang Zhou." Chu Xinran called his name with a smile, looking innocent. The problem was, Chu Xinran was quite far from him, on opposite ends of the table, meaning Fang Zhou would have to stand up to serve her. "I'll help you, Xinran." Sun Haoshan enthusiastically stood up to help but was promptly refused. "No need, it's more convenient for Fang Zhou." Sun Haoshan froze mid-motion, gritting his teeth as he looked at Fang Zhou. "You're really lucky, aren't you?" Fang Zhou was exasperated. This luck was something he didn't want. With no choice, Fang Zhou took another bowl, used the communal chopsticks to pick up 2 pieces of spare ribs, and handed them to Chu Xinran. "Thank you." She was happy, but Fang Zhou's troubles were just beginning. Just as he sat down, Xiao Sisi started up. "I want some too, can you get it for me?" The actress, looking fragile like a delicate flower, smiled harmlessly at Fang Zhou, but Fang Zhou couldn't forget yesterday's scene with her holding a knife. His body moved faster than his mind, already picking up the communal chopsticks. Sure, coming right up." He resignedly took the spare ribs to Xiao Sisi, who then played a little game. Xiao Sisi winked playfully and said in a sweet voice, "Say, Princess, please eat the spare ribs." Fang Zhou's hand trembled, nearly dropping the bowl. "Fine, if you want to play, let's play." He couldn't refuse on live stream. "Princess, please eat the spare ribs." Fang Zhou complied, prompting everyone to burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha, you guys are so fashionable, even playing games." Everyone started mimicking Xiao Sisi, playing along with their neighbors. "Prince, please drink coconut juice." "Princess, please eat shrimp balls." Xiao Sisi obediently took the spare ribs and ate them without further fuss. But Fang Zhou hadn't even sat down when Qin Yun chimed in. "Ahem, I want some crab too. Fang Zhou, could you help me?" The crab was right beside Fang Zhou, and Qin Yun could easily reach it if she stood up, but she chose to ask Fang Zhou instead. After serving Qin Yun the crab, Han Shi spoke up. I want some too." Fang Zhou, all right, you all just eat. Eat without a word. He suspected the women were deliberately teaming up against him. There were plenty of male guests around, but they chose to ask him. Some dishes were within reach if they stood up, but they insisted Fang Zhou serve them. At first, the other male guests thought it was a coincidence. How could it be that all 5 female guests favored Fang Zhou? They must be teasing him. But eventually, they stopped laughing. The female guests were too happy around Fang Zhou, not even glancing at the others. It felt like preparing hard for a race only to be told last minute that you're just a supporting player. Jealousy silenced the male guests, making them feel disheartened, even losing their appetite. Why did the production team invite someone so handsome? If they wanted them to be supporting characters, they should have said so. "I'm not coming back." The live stream viewers were buzzing with excitement. No way, do all these female guests like Fang Zhou? Why else would they keep asking him to serve them? They're just playing around, right? How could it be? Fang Zhou might be the most handsome, but he has nothing else. Exactly, we're all adults. Looks are the least useful thing here. They probably just find Fang Zhou easygoing and fun to tease. I need to make a meme video of Fang Zhou serving food, titled "Princess, Please Eat." By the end of the meal, Fang Zhou had collected several things. First, the envious looks from the other male guests. Second, the merciless teasing from the live stream audience. Third, his tired legs from running back and forth without rest. "All right, Princess, please eat the spare ribs," Fang Zhou said, forcing a smile as he served the next plate. Time on the island passed quickly. After dinner and a brief rest, the sky was already dark. Unlike previous evenings where everyone could rest or arrange their own activities, tonight, the production team had organized a group activity. "Dear guests, you all made your own Kongming lanterns a couple of days ago. Tonight, we can release them by the sea. The materials used for making the Kongming lanterns are all biodegradable, so no worries. Next, everyone can draw a lantern at random and then write a wish on it before releasing it." On the day Fang Zhou got poisoned, everyone had almost finished making their lanterns. Even though Fang Zhou ended up in the hospital, everyone still remembered and helped mark his lantern. So Fang Zhou also got a chance to draw a lantern. A row of Kongming lanterns was neatly placed in the hall, looking quite similar at first glance. But upon closer inspection, each had small unique details. For example, some had cartoon portraits, others had signatures, and some had special markings. The exchange of Kongming lanterns was meant to strengthen the bond between the guests. If you paid attention while making the lanterns or knew each other's habits, you could get the lantern of the one you liked. To accommodate the female guests, the male guests let them go first. Among the female guests, they decided the order with the traditional rock-paper-scissors game. Surprisingly, Han Shi, who seemed the least adept at games, got the first pick. Then I'll go first. Han Shi rarely smiled, but she did this time as she nodded to everyone and walked toward the lanterns. She stopped in front of an inconspicuous lantern with a simple drawing of a boat on it. This one. Han Shi picked up the lantern and returned, satisfied. Seeing the lantern, the faces of the other female guests changed. Chu Xinran spoke up bluntly, I really liked that one too, but you got it first. The usually cheerful school beauty looked visibly disappointed, like a child who didn't get their favorite toy. Hearing her muttering, Han Shi turned and smiled, shaking her head. Sorry. This is mine. If the first part was fine, the second part, to some, carried a tone of possessiveness and pride. Han Shi's fans in the live stream screamed. So cool? No wonder she's a billionaire woman, so straightforward and clear. Is that Fang Zhou's lantern? It looks like his marking. Did Han Shi choose his lantern because she likes him? Oh my, totally possible? I remember Han Shi kissed Fang Zhou that day. She hasn't been close to any other male guests. Ice Queen CEO X gentle passionate streamer? I'm shipping it. Next, Qin Yun picked a lantern with the initials HX, which belonged to Han Shi. I like this one. She glanced at Han Shi with a smile full of hidden meanings. Unfortunately, Han Shi remained unfazed, ignoring Qin Yun's provocative look. You can take it, there's nothing shameful about my lantern. After that, everyone except Zhang Ziyan got a lantern, including Fang Zhou. Holding the blank lantern in his hand, Fang Zhou was puzzled. It didn't have any markings, so he couldn't tell who made it. He turned to ask the others, but no one claimed it, so he gave up investigating. Whatever, any lantern has to be released. He wasn't even sure where his own lantern was. Maybe it was the one Han Shi had, but since it wasn't marked by him, he couldn't be certain. If the production team hadn't mandated exchanging and releasing them, he wouldn't have been willing to give his away. He had spent hours making it with care. Here's a pen. Dong Donghui handed out several markers, giving one to Fang Zhou as well. Fang Zhou frowned, thinking about his wish, ready to write it down. Suddenly, he felt someone staring at him. Turning to look, it was Zhang Ziyan. She stood there empty-handed, looking forlorn. Everyone else was busy writing their wishes, but she stood alone, as if abandoned by the world. With her naturally fragile appearance, she evoked pity at a glance. Fang Zhou was no exception. He stopped what he was doing, walked over to Zhang Ziyan with his lantern and pen, and handed them to her. Here, you release this. His voice was warm and rich, like aged wine, inviting savor. Zhang Ziyan raised her eyebrows in surprise and softly asked, For me? What about you? It seemed these were the lanterns they made themselves, with no extras beyond the 10. If he gave it to her, Fang Zhou wouldn't have one to release. Zhang Ziyan hadn't participated in making them, thinking it was fine to just watch. She didn't expect Fang Zhou to do this, especially on live stream. You play with it. I don't need to release one. Seeing her hesitation, Fang Zhou directly placed the lantern in her hands, chuckling. I'm a staunch materialist. If you want something, strive for it yourself. Relying on others or wishing is futile. Only what you hold in your own hands is real and reliable. Looking at the lantern and pen in her hands, Zhang Ziyan smiled softly. Since you're so kind, I won't hold back. Though I'm also a materialist, sometimes I want to be idealistic. She winked at Fang Zhou and started writing on the lantern. Fang Zhou didn't look at what she was writing, letting his mind wander. However, when his eyes swept over the other female guests, he suddenly felt a chill. Han Shi, who should have been writing, had stopped and was staring at him expressionlessly. Next to her, Qin Yun showed him the words on her lantern with a smile, together forever. In a corner, Chu Xinran was holding her lantern in a daze, eyes red as if about to cry. Xiao Sisi snorted coldly, glanced at him, and then turned back to her writing. Fang Zhou quickly averted his gaze, thinking, once upon a time, there was a mountain, on the mountain, there was a temple. In the temple, the old monk told the young monk, the women down the mountain are tigers. The island's night was silent and peaceful, with only the sound of waves hitting the shore. Moonlight spread over the beach like a fine silk, smooth and delicate. People walked on the soft sand, feeling free. The guests came out of the villa, carrying their Kongming lanterns, gathering on the beach. How about here? Tang Wan looked around. The spot seemed just right. Far from the forest but close to the sea, and with the wind blowing towards the sea, there was no worry about the lanterns falling on land and causing accidents. Everyone nodded in agreement. Sure, let's do it here. Lighting the lanterns required cooperation. One person held the lantern while another lit the fire. Fang Zhou naturally prepared to help Zhang Ziyan, but just as he squatted down, someone called him from behind. Brother Fang Zhou, I can't light it by myself. Can you help me? It was the innocent-looking Chu Xinran. Fang Zhou couldn't refuse her. He nodded to Zhang Ziyan and said softly, wait for me a moment. Then he got up to help Chu Xinran. Zhang Ziyan paused and watched their interaction thoughtfully. Was it just her imagination, or did Fang Zhou seem quite lenient with Chu Xinran, almost like he was with his first love? Xiao Sisi, you light the fire. Fang Zhou held the Kongming lantern with both hands, smiling at Chu Xinran. She returned a sweet smile and said softly, okay. He originally wanted to finish quickly, but his eyes caught the words written on the lantern. I hope Fang Zhou will always be mine. She had said this on the day she cut her hand with a knife. Fang Zhou suddenly looked up at Chu Xinran, thinking, no way, you still haven't given up? The girl smiled sweetly, nodding slightly, enough for Fang Zhou to see. She said, I wonder if this Kongming lantern can make my wish come true. What do you think? Chu Xinran was asking if Fang Zhou could always stay with her. Her eyes, filled with innocence, reflected the lit lantern, flickering like her sincere heart. Fang Zhou suddenly felt burnt. He quickly lowered his head, avoiding Chu Xinran's gaze, and answered softly, it's just a wish, don't take it too seriously. Then he placed the lantern back in Chu Xinran's hands and said casually, all right, you can release it later. He quickly left Chu Xinran's sight, returning to Zhang Xian, his hurried steps like something was chasing him. The girl behind him held the lantern with one hand, her gaze never leaving Fang Zhou. In her heart, she thought, this isn't just a wish, it's a prophecy. You will be with me, always. Returning to Zhang Xian, Fang Zhou found that Qin Yun had already helped her light the lantern. Qin Yun's own lantern was also ready with Zhang Xian's help. Han Shi and Tang Wan, along with Qiao Sisi, also helped each other light their lanterns without asking about each other's wishes. The five of them moved quickly, leaving the male guests who wanted to help just standing there, awkwardly returning to light their own lanterns. Damn, no chance to show off. Qin Yun glanced at Zhang Xian and casually said, your lantern is quite special. Other lanterns had various markings, but this one only had a line written by Zhang Xian, nothing else. Zhang Xian nodded and replied, yes, yours is special too. Qin Yun, proud of her chosen lantern, openly showed it to Zhang Xian. Look, my wish is this. Zhang Xian looked and saw, besides the HX initials, the words grow old together. It simply expressed Qin Yun's wish for a long-lasting relationship, growing old together. Zhang Xian smiled and sincerely wished her, may your wish come true. Hearing her blessing, Qin Yun smiled more genuinely than ever. She thanked softly, thank you. My rival wishing for Fang Zhou and me to grow old together, that's nice. Poor Zhang Xian, unaware, said to Fang Zhou, Qin Yun's handwriting is beautiful. Fang Zhou, catching Qin Yun's smug look, knew what she was proud of. He had also heard their conversation. He could only agree on the surface, yes, very beautiful. While sighing inwardly, Zhang Xian, don't play with her. This cunning woman has many tricks, you can't outplay her? Qin Yun smiled in satisfaction, glowing, and didn't say anything strange to Fang Zhou. She casually asked Fang Zhou, what wish did you write? Though she saw him give the lantern to Zhang Xian, she indirectly asked about Zhang Xian's wish. Zhang Xian smiled and showed her the written side. Zhang Xian had written, hope my sister stays healthy. Qin Yun raised an eyebrow, finding it strange. She hadn't heard of Zhang Xian having a sister. Was she a cousin or someone similar? But she wisely didn't ask further, knowing it would be rude. Qin Yun always understood social niceties and wouldn't make such a basic mistake. As for Fang Zhou, he was like family, asking him was fine. Should be about time. Fang Zhou looked around and saw that everyone's Kongming lanterns were lit. Without a lantern himself, he decided to be the countdown master. Let's count down from 5 together and release them. 5. Everyone's voices overlapped, filled with excitement. For some, it was their first time releasing a Kongming lantern, their joy evident. 4. Live stream viewers also counted down silently in the comments, sharing their thoughts. Kongming lanterns are so beautiful, especially released by the sea. I can't imagine how joyful I'd be in person. I agree, it's like fireworks, a beautiful wish and hope. People need hope to live bravely. Next time, I'll release a Kongming lantern with someone I love. It's so beautiful. 3, 2, 1. With the final countdown, 10 Kongming lanterns were released into the sky, carrying everyone's beautiful wishes, floating higher. At this moment, they were more beautiful than the stars and moon, blessed by life. After releasing the Kongming lanterns, everyone gathered for a group photo, standing together like a family during New Year. Alright, 3, 2, 1, is the director handsome? Handsome. With the photographer's lively prompt, the group photo was successfully taken. After releasing the lanterns, the program team didn't schedule any other activities, allowing the guests to do as they pleased. People paired up in small groups, some taking a walk, others returning to the villa. Fang Zhou, with his injured hand, found it inconvenient to stream, so he called out to Zhang Xian, who was about to leave. Xian, wait a moment, Li Siming called and wants to talk to you. Back in high school, Fang Zhou, Zhang Xian, and Li Siming formed an inseparable trio. Later, due to Fang Zhou's relationship, they had a falling out, and Zhang Xian lost contact with them. Now, Li Siming's face appeared on Fang Zhou's phone screen in a WeChat video call. Fang Zhou showed Zhang Xian the screen, where Li Siming was applying a face mask, looking unrecognizable. Ha ha ha, what's he doing? It's hilarious. Fang Zhou laughed along, teasing Li Siming. Who knows, this rough guy putting on a face mask, like a boar eating fine grains completely out of place. Li Siming immediately protested, shouting, what? Fang Zhou, you brat, come back clean and wait for me to beat you up. I'll show you what a real man is. Alright, whoever backs down calls the other dad. Fang Zhou retorted, challenging Li Siming. This scene made Zhang Xian laugh again. She knew that this was how boys' friendships worked, always teasing each other since high school. Sometimes, it even seemed like they had a strange bromance. but both were straight, just enjoying this way of teasing. They seemed more concerned about who could be called the godfather. Fang Zhou brought Zhang Xian to the villa rooftop, video chatting with Li Siming. They talked about their current lives, reminisced about their youth, and planned to meet for a meal next time. Their conversation ended as Li Siming finished his face mask. Fang Zhou hung up and turned to Zhang Xian, asking cheerfully, "So, do I have the honor of adding the great writer Zhang's WeChat?" Since going abroad, Zhang Xian had changed all her contacts, making it hard to reach her. Even leaving messages on QQ Space went unanswered. TLN, Chinese Facebook. Fang Zhou had been sad about losing a close friend but later accepted it. Besides birth, aging, sickness, and death, another thing people must accept is that all friends are temporary. Now, reuniting on the show proved that the right people would stand in your future. Fang Zhou always considered Zhang Xian a rare friend and now had the chance to mend their friendship. Adding the great streamer Fang's WeChat is my honor. Zhang Xian smiled, showing him her WeChat QR code. With a vibration, Fang Zhou received the friend request. Still using this profile picture. It was a still from the classic movie Identity, featuring the beautiful protagonist Paris in a dress. Since high school, Fang Zhou had used this profile picture, and now, after so many years, he was using it again. In between, Zhang Xian had secretly logged into her old WeChat to check, and Fang Zhou seemed to change his profile picture occasionally, about every 2 to 3 months. He probably used couple profile pictures while dating and switched back after breaking up. Now, seeing Fang Zhou use this picture and sending her panda emoticons felt surreal to Zhang Xian, as if they had just graduated high school, and the years apart hadn't happened. Because I like this movie. Fang Zhou smiled and asked naturally, "Have you had any difficulties living abroad all these years?" Studying abroad alone must have been hard, even for someone from a wealthy family like Zhang Xian. At least, language and lifestyle differences couldn't be easily managed. Zhang Xian looked up, smiling lightly, gazing at the moonlit sea. "I got used to it over time, adapting naturally to many things. Only the days without seeing you were truly hard to bear," she silently added in her heart. During this time, Zhang Xian had thought of returning to see Fang Zhou and having a good talk. But her pride wouldn't allow it. She could follow Fang Zhou's updates on her phone and inquire about him through mutual friends, but she wouldn't appear in person. That unhappy confession back then felt like a thorn in her heart, lingering for a long time. If not for this dreamlike coincidence, Zhang Xian herself didn't know when she would have seen Fang Zhou again. "And you? Besides dating many girlfriends, any other gains?" Zhang Xian asked with a teasing smile, looking innocent. Fang Zhou's smile froze, and he clutched his chest dramatically. "Ouch, that hurts, old friend. Next time, I'll dock your merit points for such questions." "Ha ha ha." Zhang Xian laughed without holding back, teasing, "You're so honest. Most old classmates boast about everything, but you expose everything." Fang Zhou grinned, raising an eyebrow at Zhang Xian. "Who are we kidding? Instead of boasting, I'd rather ask the great writer Zhang to let me ride her fame with her next book." They had known each other for so long. No need to pretend. On the island, besides the male guests, talking to Tang Wan and Zhang Xian made Fang Zhou feel relaxed. No burdens, no fears, just comfort. Not impossible. Zhang Xian rested her chin on her hand, pretending to think seriously. "Ha ha ha." They shared a look and laughed together, as if finding their old chemistry. Suddenly, Fang Zhou felt a chill behind him, as if someone was watching. He turned to see all the windows covered, with no one there. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, just a bit tired. Let's call it a night." Fang Zhou suggested Zhang Xian return to her room, following behind her. His feeling wasn't wrong. Someone had indeed been watching them from behind the white curtains for a long time. That person had no expression, lips barely moving, silently mouthing 3 words, "Zhang Jiyin." In the following 2 days, the crew organized more group activities, with everyone cooperating eagerly. However, due to changes in Xiao Cici's work, she became the first to leave the island. Soon after, Dong Donghui's company had an important meeting requiring his attendance, and he also left the island in a hurry. With 2 guests missing, many games couldn't proceed as planned. Additionally, due to Xiao Cici's fan base and influence, sponsors demanded an early end to the island segment. Reluctantly, on the 10th day, the crew announced the conclusion of the island portion. The next day, everyone could pack up and go home, rest for 3 days, and then head to the next location. This type of live-streamed romance show was meant to be a casual watch for fans, and due to its lengthy streaming hours, it became a companion for many office workers. There couldn't be too long a break, or similar shows would catch up quickly. Today, we will officially reveal the affection messages sent and received on the 1st and 5th days. Please be prepared. The director appeared on screen with an electronic display, smiling at the guests in the living room. The guests were surprised. Revealing it now? Wouldn't that mean everyone would see the messages they sent and received? Although the crew had mentioned this earlier, the guests were only somewhat mentally prepared. Fang Zhou, despite not sending any messages, received several. This awkward ritual reminded him of school days when teachers read out essays in class. A cursed sense of embarrassment. Why? Scanning the room, Fang Zhou noticed that Qin Yun seemed the calmest. The enchanting older woman, with her wavy hair draped over her shoulders and her tasseled dress accentuating her perfect figure, looked like a Greek goddess. Sensing Fang Zhou's gaze, Qin Yun glanced up and smiled gently, warmer than the spring breeze. Unfortunately, Fang Zhou knew her true nature and wouldn't be easily swayed. He casually turned back to the director's screen. It powered on, displaying various messages everyone had sent. The messages were formatted like notes, creating a romantic atmosphere. Except for the cheesy line, "Missing you at night." The live chat erupted again, with some viewers betting on the outcomes. Come on, place your bets? I'll wager my friend's next 10 years of romantic luck that Chu Xinran sent messages to Fang Zhou both times. Bah, gamblers never prosper. I bet on Han Shi. Count me in. I think Shi Eli sent messages to SISI. The CEO duo must have some interaction. Betting closed halfway through the progress bar. The director smiled at the guests. To protect your privacy, we won't ask you to claim your messages. Now, let's look at the affection messages received on the first day. He clicked the slide, and the screen showed the next page. Fang Zhou sent 0 messages, received 2 messages. Sun Haoshan sent 1 message, received 0 messages. Dong Donghui sent 1 message, received 0 messages. Qi Eli sent 1 message, received 0 messages. Lu Hao sent 0 messages, received 1 message. Xu Xinran sent 1 message, received 1 message. Xin Yun sent 0 messages, received 0 messages. Han Shi sent 1 message, received 1 message. Xiao Sisi sent 0 messages, received 1 message. Tang Wan sent 1 message, received 0 messages. The data quickly flashed by, and the director moved to the next slide, showing arrows indicating who sent and received messages. Fang Zhou's eyebrow twitched. It was as he suspected. I don't look at the moon, nor say I miss you. This way, both the moon and you are in the dark. This was from Han Shi. In choices involving you, I always choose you. This was from Chu Xinran. Though different in tone, one reserved and the other passionate, they expressed similar sentiments. As the results were revealed, the guests' expressions grew complicated. Their glances at each other also changed, filled with new, unspoken thoughts. The male guests looked at Fang Zhou with envy, their hearts sour. On the first day, everyone judged based on looks, and losing to Fang Zhou wasn't unjust. They could only blame themselves for not having his devastatingly handsome face. They exchanged a look, recalling a phrase, "Lemon trees bear lemon fruits, under the lemon tree, you and me." The female guests' expressions also shifted. Han Shi glanced at Chu Xinran, unsurprised that she sent a message to Fang Zhou, but Chu Xinran's expression held a small trace of grievance. What? Han Shi likes Fang Zhou too, since the first day on the island. Darn it! Although Han Shi is great, I will never give Fang Zhou to her. The chat was abuzz again, with winners celebrating and losers sighing. Yet the director didn't give them time to react, quickly revealing the 5th day's data. At the top, Fang Zhou's name stood out. He was the only male guest to receive messages, and he received 3. Everyone's eyes were on Fang Zhou, with varying degrees of surprise, envy, and disdain. Fang Zhou became the center of attention. He appeared calm, but inside, he was screaming. Don't mess with me, ladies. We've already broken up. Why send me messages? Can't you spare me? He didn't need the crew to reveal it. He could guess who sent the 5th day's messages. But becoming the focus was bittersweet. While the guests remained composed, the viewers were thrilled, placing more bets. Come on, place your bets. Let's see who sent the messages. The director knew how to stir things up. Just when viewers couldn't wait to see the results, he, the middle-aged man with a receding hairline, smiled at the camera. We'll reveal the answers at the start of the next episode. Stay tuned. And with that, the first season of Love 100% ends here. See you next time, dear viewers. The director's control over the show's pacing was akin to some web novel authors' cliffhangers, leaving everyone craving more. Fang Zhou sighed deeply, glancing around the room, and then back at the director. Seriously? You're ending it here. As the director's voice concluded, the live broadcast came to an end, and the theme song began to play, switching to replaying clips from the past few days. In the live chat, the gamblers waiting eagerly for the final reveal began to wail, leaving messages cursing the production team. Curse you? I was waiting for the final results. Pants off, and this is what I get. Director, you're so short, your wife has it tough. As the camera shut off, the guests' expressions were no longer controlled. Some left the hall in disappointment to pack their things. Others gave Fang Zhou enigmatic looks before departing. Only a few male guests remained in the hall. Sun Haoshan came over, patting Fang Zhou's shoulder and winking. Bro, who knew you were so popular? Teach me some tricks, will ya? Sun Haoshan genuinely believed Fang Zhou had been secretly flirting with the women. How else could a face alone crush the other 4 male guests? It's not logical. The remaining male guests subtly glanced over, ears perked up as if eavesdropping. Don't hog it all, share some tips, bro. Fang Zhou gave a bitter smile, unable to voice his troubles. Can I tell you they're all my ex-girlfriends? Can I tell you they hate me to death? Can I tell you they're all Yandere, mentally unstable? Of course not. Fang Zhou's silence made Sun Haoshan think he was hiding his flirting techniques. So Sun Haoshan raised his hand, showing 5 fingers. I'll give you this much. Teach me, all right? I'll be your disciple today. 50,000? If it were the old Fang Zhou, he might have been tempted by the 50,000 to start a love crash course for Sun Haoshan. But now, the ones he's trying to flirt with are his ex-girlfriends. Only an idiot would do that? Fang Zhou shook his head and finally responded. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding. And Sun bro, let me tell you, those love techniques are just supplementary. Sincerity is the ultimate weapon. He patted Sun Haoshan's shoulder and left the hall to pack his things. It was already evening, and they could leave the next morning. The thrilling island segment was finally coming to an end. Fang Zhou was overjoyed, his heart leaping like a deer, crashing into several trees. He hummed a happy tune as he went upstairs, ignoring the stairs behind him. Let them look, it won't hurt me. Fang Zhou didn't notice Han Shi giving Chu Xinran a look. The two walked out of the villa and headed to the beach. The youthful and beautiful campus belle kicked the sand with her foot, murmuring, "So you like Fang Zhou too?" The use of "tu" was subtle, indirectly telling Han Shi that she liked Fang Zhou. The cold as the moon CEO followed silently, her voice indifferent. "Yes, I've liked him for a long time." She wasn't surprised by Chu Xinran's reaction, because they were opposites. Han Shi was reserved, not good at expressing herself, always controlling her emotions. Chu Xinran, like a newborn lion cub, was passionate and honest about her feelings for Fang Zhou. Anyone could see it, especially women with their sharp sixth sense. Even though they got along well on the show, it didn't mean Han Shi would give up. Feelings aren't about giving up, it's about winning hearts. Besides, their rivals weren't just each other. Thinking of this, Han Shi's gaze darkened, becoming even colder. Chu Xinran turned back in surprise, her eyes wide in disbelief. "You've liked him for a long time? Did you know him before?" Han Shi looked up at the moon, unhesitatingly said, "He is my ex-boyfriend. We broke up over a year ago. To be precise, it was a year, 8 months, and 10 days. Every day since breaking up felt like forever." Han Shi buried herself in work to forget the pain of the breakup. The young girl stopped, staring dumbfounded at the woman beside her. Her smooth facial features and delicate face looked even colder under the moonlight. Such a successful woman, troubled by love, and the one troubling her is also the one troubling me. Chu Xinran was speechless, staring at Han Shi, shrouded in a cloud of despair, her aura low. She mumbled, "No wonder you kissed him." Everything made sense now. From the fleeting glances at Fang Zhou to the drunken kiss in the game, to making mushroom soup and asking Fang Zhou to taste it first. These were all signs of Han Shi's affection. No wonder. Fang Zhou didn't reject Han Shi's advances, they broke up more recently than I did. Chu Xinran suddenly felt her heart being plunged into a freezing icebox, cold and harsh. They have also kissed, hugged, been the closest. The pain spread through her body, like being cut by knives. Chu Xinran's body began to tremble, feeling the urge to destroy herself. Why is it like this? Mentioning the kiss made Han Shi's face flush, awkwardly saying, "That was an accident." She blacked out from drinking, her body reacting faster than her mind. Even recalling it sober, it felt surreal. "Actually, Han Shi turned to explain to Chu Xinran, but saw the girl trembling, her eyes vacant, lips turning pale. "Xinran? What's wrong, Xinran?" Han Shi grabbed Chu Xinran's shoulders, worried. Could it be a sudden illness? She looked around, no one else was nearby, and the villa was a distance away. She wasn't sure if she could get help in time. Luckily, the girl soon stopped trembling, her eyes regaining focus, her spirit returning. She fixed her gaze on Han Shi, her voice hoarse, "I am also Fang Zhou's ex-girlfriend." The next morning, the ship was filled with passengers and set sail towards the mainland at sunrise. After about 2 hours, they arrived at the mainland airport. Fang Zhou checked in and boarded the flight to the capital. Once he was seated, he put on an eye mask, wore his headphones, and played soothing music, finally allowing himself to relax. Recalling the events of the previous night, Fang Zhou still felt a lingering fear. He had returned to his room to pack and sleep. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Opening it, he found Chu Xinran and Han Shi standing coldly outside. Fang Zhou's heart sank, sensing trouble, he considered escaping. But they each blocked one side, leaving him no room to close the door. Helpless, he let them in. "Do you need something?" Fang Zhou tried to gauge their attitude, but neither answered directly. One looked at him coldly, while the other appeared pitiful. Since they weren't speaking, Fang Zhou could only guess. The worst-case scenario was that they knew each other's identities, but why bring this up without reason? Moreover, shouldn't they both detest him as their ex-boyfriend, finding it uncomfortable to even mention him? Finally, Han Shi broke the silence. "How many ex-girlfriends do you have?" Fang Zhou was stunned. So it was about this. He had known that joining this romance show, meeting so many ex-girlfriends, would eventually get him into trouble. That day had come. Chu Xinran also looked at him pitifully, her big watery eyes blinking, calling him Fang Zhou Gag. "Besides Han Shi Jia and me, are there others?" Her tone was soft, yet it gave the impression that if he dared to say yes, she would die right there. And Chu Xinran was indeed capable of such a thing? Fang Zhou's scalp tightened, and he quickly shook his head to deny it. No. But before you two and after, I can't guarantee there were none." He silently added in his heart. 2 ex-girlfriends cornering him, this was truly thrilling. Upon receiving Fang Zhou's affirmative answer, both girls secretly breathed a sigh of relief. No others meant he wasn't overly promiscuous. Han Shi sat in a chair, tapping her fingers on her knee, her expression cold as she continued, "If we hadn't found out ourselves, how long were you planning to hide it?" The authoritative aura of the CEO made Fang Zhou unconsciously feel like he was in a weaker position. It reminded him of the fear of being controlled by a tyrannical boss during his internship at her company. He wanted to tell the truth. "As long as you don't find out, I'll never tell you." Who in their right mind would mention another ex-girlfriend in front of one? Did they think he was flawless in their eyes, beyond reproach? I just thought the past is the past, no need to bring it up. As soon as Fang Zhou said this, he realized he had misspoken upon seeing their reactions. Han Shi's expression turned even colder, her voice stern. You mean we aren't worth mentioning? When she got angry, her tone alone was intimidating. In the past, Fang Zhou would have quickly apologized and comforted her. Now, he glanced at Chu Xinran. She pursed her lips, her eyes filled with tears, looking like a bullied kitten ready to complain. Fang Zhou gag, do you think dating us is shameful? Her mouth quivered, and she spoke up. Fang Zhou felt a headache coming on and quickly slapped himself twice. Of course not. I'm more afraid you'd hate me. Why would I think that way? Han Shi sneered, her tone icy. Aren't you afraid we'll team up against you? Oh boy, women are terrifying when they're angry. Their sixth sense was so accurate, it was like they could read his mind. He smiled awkwardly, feeling cold sweat on his back. Of course not. Of course, you could. After all, you're blocking my door together. You two are beautiful and kind-hearted. How could you do something so cruel? One of you is a business tycoon, the other a fierce Yandere. Would you really not do it? Then why did you join the romance show? Chu Xinran finally hit the mark, a question Fang Zhou could answer. He spread his hands, smiling helplessly. Because there's a reward. Standing before him were a billionaire CEO and the adopted daughter of a city's richest man. Could they understand his desperation for 50,000? Clearly, they couldn't. Han Shi frowned, scrutinizing him. Are you in need of money? She couldn't believe Fang Zhou was in financial trouble. When they were together, Fang Zhou never asked for anything despite her status. On the contrary, he provided the best within his means, even though his gifts were worth less than one of her bags. Still, she didn't think he was poor, especially since his streaming data seemed decent. Chu Xinran felt the same. Raised by a wealthy family, she couldn't imagine Fang Zhou joining a show for tens of thousands, putting his love life in a semi-fake reality show. If you needed money, you could have told me. Chu Xinran felt wronged, blaming Fang Zhou for not coming to her. If he had, she wouldn't have needed the show to see him. Fang Zhou knew they'd react this way, so he smiled and declined their probing and help. No need, I'm having fun here with food and drinks. Borrowing money from ex-girlfriends? That would be asking for trouble. Thus, Han Shi and Chu Xinran stayed in Fang Zhou's room, questioning him until midnight. Finally, they asked the most lethal question. Who do you plan to choose in the end? Fang Zhou's face turned cold, and he ushered them out. I have my freedom, don't ask that. As he closed the door, their murderous looks haunted him, keeping him awake till late. If this was just two of them, what if all four came? He feared he'd really be torn apart. 2 hours later, the plane arrived at the capital airport. When Fang Zhou's feet touched the ground, he finally felt a sense of reality. Finally leaving that terrifying island and returning to the embrace of Mother Earth, he felt so excited he almost wanted to jump. As he exited the passage, planning to hail a cab, he noticed a group of people outside the railing, calling his name. Fang Zhou? Fang Zhou. Following the sound, he saw a group of girls, with a familiar-looking loli at the forefront. Michuan Kukako? Oh no, Michuan, the little rich girl? Seeing Fang Zhou's attention, Michuan waved her hand even more enthusiastically. Here. With a few strides, Fang Zhou walked out of the railing and was instantly surrounded by 7 or 8 fans. Each person held something, eagerly stuffing them into his arms. First, a bouquet from Michuan, then a blind box from another female fan, followed by cookies and other items. Fang Zhou, overwhelmed, held a large pile of things, thanking and politely refusing at the same time. Thank you for your kindness, but please, take these back. But his enthusiastic fans wouldn't listen, wanting to give him more. Michuan, standing beside him, laughed and told him, we've formed a fan club just for you. From now on, fans will accompany you on your schedules. Isn't this a celebrity thing? Fang Zhou was flattered and quickly waved his hand. No need. This is too much trouble for you. I'm just an ordinary person. You don't have to treat me like this. Even at the peak of his streaming days, the most he experienced was being recognized on the street and asked for a photo. He had never seen such a grand scene, with a reception and a fan club. Unexpectedly, after recording a romance show, he suddenly had genuine fans. Fang Zhou feared he couldn't handle it. But Michuan tugged on his sleeve and whispered, this is good for your streaming. Fans will gradually stabilize, and it's all beneficial. Fang Zhou's eyes lit up. Talking about streaming woke him up. What about fan management? He asked in a low voice. Managing well was fine, but poorly managed fans could lead to conflicts, which he heard could be terrifying. The little rich girl patted her chest, full of confidence. Don't worry, with me here, nothing will go wrong. I'm the fan club president. Fang Zhou was amused by her demeanor. Someone took a picture of his smiling face, capturing the moment. The photo soon became the profile picture in the super topic. Finally reaching outside the airport, Fang Zhou was touched by his fans' enthusiasm, waving and thanking them from the car. Thank you for your kindness, but please, no need to bother next time. See you in the live stream. Michuan and the fans waved goodbye. Goodbye, see you in the live stream. The car sped away, leaving them with a dashing silhouette. Sitting in the car, Fang Zhou was filled with emotions. It turned out that joining the variety show wasn't all bad. As he thought about calling his sister to check if she was at the hospital or home, his phone suddenly showed a call from the show's chief director. Fang Zhou frowned, debating whether to answer. He had only received half of the 50,000 remuneration, not enough for his sister's kidney transplant. However, the 2 live broadcasts on the island, supported by the top 2 donors, had added nearly 20,000 to his account, leaving him with over 10,000 after taxes. Combined, it totaled over 40,000, almost enough for his sister's transplant. Fang Zhou quickly decided not to return to the romance show. Damn it, with 4 ex-girlfriends, 3 yanderies, and nearly getting stabbed, he was risking his life for money. Now that the money was almost sufficient, Fang Zhou decided not to continue the show. With newfound determination, Fang Zhou answered the director's call, ready to decline the next episode. But the director dropped a bombshell. Hello, Fang Zhou, a GG sponsor contacted us, wanting to collaborate with you. Are you interested? GG sponsor? Isn't that a major backer? Swallowing his words, Fang Zhou changed his tune. Hey, Director Liu, I'm interested. I'm interested. Great, since you're interested, I'll send your WeChat to the GG sponsor. You're the second one after SISI to receive a business deal from the show. Impressive? I have high hopes for you. Fang Zhou smiled and flattered the director. Not at all, without you and the show, I wouldn't be here. Thank you, I'll treat you to drinks sometime. After a few polite exchanges, Fang Zhou hung up. His decision to quit was swallowed back. Not good, quitting would mean paying a penalty fee, and the contract was signed, possibly leading to bankruptcy. Thinking of his troublesome ex-girlfriends, Fang Zhou felt a real headache. Caught between a rock and a hard place. But with a major backer interested, Fang Zhou felt he could manage. The money for his sister's kidney was enough, but the surgery and ongoing treatment costs were still daunting. Better to capitalize on his current popularity and save more money. As for the ex-girlfriends, he couldn't provoke them but could avoid them. If all else failed, he wouldn't choose anyone, treating them equally. Fang Zhou's mind raced, his hand unconsciously rubbing something. Suddenly, his palm felt a prick. Picking it up, he saw a cartoon figurine keychain encased in acrylic. The figure, a cute boy with headphones holding a mouse, looked familiar. Fang Zhou, puzzled, examined it closely and realized it resembled him. The back even had the small characters Fang Zhou. Looking at the carefully crafted miniature, he felt a warm flow in his heart. The fans really put effort into this. Unexpectedly, he also experienced genuine affection from strangers without relying on gimmicks. Fang Zhou looked out the window, the bustling cityscape clearly visible from the road. For the first time, he felt the charm of this city he had no attachment to. Inclusive, accommodating, offering everyone a chance to start over. Even if you fall from the top, it still tells you, you can keep striving upwards. How could one not be moved by this? Fang Zhou looked out the window, contemplating his next move as the city buzzed around him. The hospital corridor was filled with the smell of disinfectant, irritating people's noses. Someone walked across the polished floor and entered the nephrology office, greeting the doctor inside. Dr. Du. The middle-aged doctor in a white coat looked up and smiled as soon as he saw Fang Zhou. Ah, Fang Zhou, you're here. Please, have a seat. This Dr. Du was Fang Zhou's sister's primary physician and was quite well known domestically. About 6 months ago, Fang Zhou brought his sister to the capital specifically for Dr. Du. Fang Zhou nodded and sat down, asking in a serious tone, how has my sister been doing recently? It had been 10 days since his last visit to the hospital. At that time, he was overjoyed to confirm he could get 50,000 yuan by joining a show, and he had eagerly asked Dr. Du to find a matching kidney. Dr. Du opened his work log and showed Fang Wenjing's page to him. Her recent dialysis sessions have gone well, with no adverse reactions. Fang Zhou breathed a sigh of relief and then asked, any news on a matching kidney for my sister? Dr. Du shook his head and truthfully informed him. Currently, we haven't found a suitable kidney for your sister. We have to keep waiting. But for now, her condition remains stable, so there's no need to worry excessively. Fang Zhou felt a bit disappointed but had expected this. Please continue to keep an eye out. I'm quite busy with work lately, so please notify me by phone if there are any changes. Dr. Du nodded and said solemnly, that's my duty. They discussed Wenjing's condition for a while longer before another patient came in. Dr. Du told Fang Zhou, your sister should be finishing her dialysis now. You can wait a bit. Fang Zhou went to the dialysis room where his sister was, and through the window on the door, he could see her inside. Fang Wenjing was lying quietly on the hospital bed, with 2 tubes inserted in her right arm, through which red blood was flowing. This was hemodialysis. One tube drew blood from the patient's body to a machine that removed excess toxins and fluids, and then the blood was returned through another tube. Though it seems simple, many patients had to endure this process thousands of times until they passed away. The pain from drawing blood and inserting needles made many patients go from fear to numbness, and some even developed PTSD, preferring death over enduring such pain. A few lucky ones, after a kidney transplant, could avoid lifelong dialysis but still needed ongoing treatment. His sister, already frail, often lost her appetite or vomited after eating since her diagnosis, making her look even thinner now. She lay quietly on the bed, not crying or making a fuss even without any family around. Fang Zhou's eyes reddened, and he quickly turned away, unable to bear the sight. Men don't cry easily unless deeply hurt. If he could, he'd rather endure this pain himself than let his young sister bear it. She was so young, with so many beautiful things in the world she hadn't seen yet, now confined to the small world of the hospital. While a caged bird might have a chance to fly, his sister wouldn't have that chance without a kidney transplant. At this moment, this tall man felt incredibly small, as if humans could only accept fate's arrangements. However, Fang Zhou quickly regained his composure. It's okay, they had money now. They just needed a matching kidney, and his sister could have a new life. To hell with fate, Fang Zhou didn't believe in it. He would defy this damned fate. Hey, Boss Fang, you're back. A middle-aged woman's voice sounded behind him, filled with curiosity and surprise. It was the caretaker he hired to look after his sister, responsible for cooking, cleaning, and taking her to the hospital. Fang Zhou paid her 10,000 yuan a month, and she usually called him boss. He composed himself, turned around, and smiled at the middle-aged woman. Hello, Aunt Wei. I came back today. When I didn't see you at home, I came to the hospital. This Aunt Wei had been carefully selected by Fang Zhou after evaluating several candidates. After a week of observation, he found her to be meticulous and responsible, and she was kind to his sister. She even proactively reported his sister's daily activities, meals, and symptoms. Because of this, Fang Zhou felt comfortable leaving for 10 days or half a month. He didn't mind being kind to Aunt Wei. People have hearts, and they can see the details. Aunt Wei smiled warmly, planning what to cook for dinner. I'll go to the market later and buy a few more dishes. How about I fry a fish? Fang Zhou smiled gently and nodded. That sounds good. Do as you see fit. With the boss back, Wenjing will be so happy. She might even eat a bit more tonight. Aunt Wei's infectious smile made Fang Zhou smile unconsciously. Let's hope she eats more. As they chatted happily, time passed, and Wenjing's treatment ended. She rested on the bed. With the nurse's permission, Fang Zhou and Aunt Wei entered the room. Wenjing had been resting with her eyes closed. Hearing footsteps, she thought it was just Aunt Wei and struggled to open her eyes, calling softly, Aunt Wei. Then she saw Fang Zhou standing quietly in the room, looking at her. Brother, you're back. Wenjing's eyes widened in disbelief. Didn't you say you'd be back tomorrow? Her eyes sparkled, and despite her illness, she remained cheerful and lively. Fang Zhou winked at her, saying softly, I was teasing you, to give you a surprise. Are you happy? Wenjing laughed and tried to sit up but was held down by Fang Zhou. Don't move. You just finished dialysis, rest a bit longer. Wenjing obediently nodded, staring at Fang Zhou with a smile, and playfully asked, Did you bring back a sister-in-law? Despite her young age, she was quite mischievous. Since Fang Zhou turned 25, she had been nagging him about marriage, playing the role of traditional parents. Things like men over 25 are of late marriage age, you should seize the time and opportunity blah blah blah, she could say without hesitation. Fang Zhou bent down, gently patting her head. No, you little rascal, don't worry about that. Wenjing sighed dramatically. Oh, men over 25 can't be kept. Keeping them only leads to worry. Fang Zhou couldn't help but laugh out loud. How could she have so many twisted ideas at such a young age? After resting for a while at home, Aunt Wei went out to buy groceries. Fang Zhou and his sister sat on the living room sofa, each holding a game controller, playing It Takes Two. About half an hour later, they encountered a challenging level. Fang Wenjing couldn't get past it, and she wouldn't let Fang Zhou help, insisting on figuring it out herself. So, they were stuck there. Fang Zhou, feeling helpless, got up and went to check the fridge for some fruit. Aunt Wei was very thorough. The fridge was usually packed full, in case Wenjing wanted something to eat. Today, she went out to buy extra groceries. Sure enough, upon opening the fridge, he saw neatly arranged dragon fruit, mangoes, and oranges. Fang Zhou took out a dragon fruit and a mango, cut them into pieces in the kitchen, and brought them to the living room. Wenjing, have some fruit first. After calling out, there was no response. Looking back, he saw his sister still lost in thought, staring at the TV, completely immersed in her own world. Fang Zhou shook his head helplessly and brought the fruit to her, gently reminding her, If you don't eat, I'll finish it all. Only then did Wenjing shift her gaze from the TV, letting go of the game controller with one hand to pick up a piece of fruit with a toothpick. It's so sweet. Her cheeks puffed out like a little hamster as she ate, making Fang Zhou laugh out loud. Ha ha ha, slow down. Just as he finished speaking, Wenjing suddenly exclaimed, I think I figured it out. Is this how it works? She picked up the controller again and urged Fang Zhou to take his, moving the characters to the spring and holding down the button. Yes, don't move. I'll step on it, and then you jump to bounce me up. When the little girl on the screen successfully jumped to the high platform, Wenjing cheered. Yes, that's it. I did it. I'm so smart. Her face beamed with a big smile, youthful and energetic. At this moment, she looked no different from her peers. Fang Zhou felt very happy too, and couldn't help but praise her. Of course, whose little sister are you? Are you praising me or yourself? Ha ha ha. The siblings looked at each other and burst into laughter. After laughing, Wenjing finally put down the controller, ran to her room, and brought out her homework. Brother, while you were away, I did my homework and studied well. Fang Zhou flipped through her homework book, seeing that it was indeed done well, along with the synchronized exercises from her textbooks. Looks like we hired the right tutor. Since bringing his sister to the capital for treatment 6 months ago, Fang Zhou had arranged for her to take a break from school back home. To ensure she didn't fall behind in her studies and had something to occupy her time, he hired an excellent student from a prestigious university for one-on-one tutoring. Because Fang Zhou often needed a quiet environment for his live streams, he rarely saw the tutor. But whenever he had time, he would chat with her. Although Wenjing temporarily left school life, Fang Zhou didn't want her to feel unhappy. She always loved group activities, making friends, and studying. Even though her illness prevented her from doing these things, Fang Zhou tried to fulfill her needs. If studying could bring her a bit of familiarity, Fang Zhou would do his best. Hehe, of course. I'm super awesome. Wenjing proudly lifted her chin like a little peacock. Fang Zhou couldn't help but chuckle, reaching out to pat her head lovingly. Yes, my sister is the best. But I don't know how long I can stay with you. If only you could find me a sister-in-law sooner. As Wenjing spoke, the topic suddenly turned to her illness. The girl's thoughts were simple. She was her brother's only family in the world. If something happened to her, he'd be left alone. That thought alone was very painful. So, Wenjing spared no effort in trying to arrange Fang Zhou's marriage. She thought, if he had a sister-in-law, he wouldn't be lonely in the future, and she would always be there for him. Such simple words softened Fang Zhou's heart. He was silent for a moment, finally understanding his sister's persistent nagging. His heart felt both sour and sweet. It was his failure as a big brother that she had to worry about his life's major decisions. No wonder she had been subtly reminding him over the past 6 months. It all made sense now. Don't think about that. Just focus on waiting for the kidney transplant. As for finding a sister-in-law, wouldn't it be better if you helped me choose in the future? Fang Zhou couldn't help but ruffle his sister's hair again, feeling its softness. But the owner of the head wasn't pleased and protested. Stop it. I don't have much hair to begin with. If I go bald, you won't have it easy either. Fang Zhou laughed softly, agreeing. All right, I'll shave my head with you. But he continued to ruffle her hair. This successfully distracted Wenjing. She forgot about urging him to marry and turned to ask him, did you raise the money for the kidney transplant? How did you get it? Wenjing used to know exactly how much money her brother had. When his streaming popularity was high, he saved some money and bought a house in their hometown. Later, their grandparents fell ill one after another, costing a lot of money. When Wenjing's diagnosis came, Fang Zhou had almost no money left. Where did he get the money for her kidney transplant? Although he had assured her before not to worry about money, saying he would find a way. But Wenjing wasn't a child anymore and knew how hard it was to earn money these days. So his confident tone just now made her suspicious, thinking her brother might have sold his kidney to pay for hers. Fang Zhou noticed her suspicious glances at his waist and immediately frowned, speaking in a deep voice. I didn't sell a kidney, so stop imagining things. Wenjing raised her hand, adjusting her invisible glasses, and dragged out the word, oh, really? She might as well have written I don't believe you on her face. Fang Zhou laughed in exasperation, gently tapping her head. You're so smart. Wenjing protested, I'm not. You're the idiot, brother. As the siblings were bickering, the doorbell rang. Ding dong. Wenjing's eyes lit up, and she jumped off the sofa to answer the door. It's probably the tutor. Fang Zhou chuckled, getting up to check his computer, but was surprised by the person at the door. Both of them exclaimed simultaneously. How come it's you? It's you? The visitor wore a light green dress, with buttons neatly lined up on the front. Her long, straight black hair was silky smooth, and the dimples on her cheeks made people feel happy just looking at her. Fang Zhou almost dropped his jaw in shock. Why was Chu Xinran here? Chu Xinran, standing at the door, was equally surprised. She blinked, took a step back, and glanced at the door number, muttering softly, 902, I didn't get it wrong. After confirming the door number, she focused her gaze on Fang Zhou's face and smiled, asking, so Fang Wenjing is your sister? Fang Zhou, bewildered, was about to respond when his sister beat him to it. Yes, I am Fang Wenjing, and he is my brother, Fang Zhou. Pretty sister, are you here to tutor me today? Fang Wenjing's eyes sparkled as she looked at Chu Xinran, her face full of joy. Such a beautiful sister, if only she could be my sister-in-law? Chu Xinran quickly regained her composure, her gaze moving to the girl in the white dress who looked so well-behaved. She had a delicate face, with round eyes that looked very endearing. However, her cheeks were a bit sunken, and her complexion seemed pale, as if she was malnourished. The siblings, except for their thin lips, didn't look alike at all. Probably one took after their father and the other after their mother. Lowering her voice, Chu Xinran gently replied, yes, Wushu had something come up today, so she asked me to tutor you. Fang Wenjing inwardly cheered, well done. This morning, her tutor Wushu had called, saying she couldn't make it today and would send someone else. Fang Wenjing didn't think much of it, assuming another person would tutor her just the same. Who would have thought Wushu would send such a beautiful friend? With her pure and charming appearance, even a girl like Wenjing felt moved. While contemplating how to subtly inquire about her new tutor's relationship status, Wenjing smiled warmly and welcomed her. Hee, welcome, pretty sister, please come in and sit. Saying this, Wenjing squeezed past the stunned Fang Zhou, who was standing still. She shot him a glance, go get something to entertain her? What are you standing there for? Pretty girls don't like wooden blocks. Feeling his sister's disdain, Fang Zhou dumbly stepped aside, making space for Chu Xinran to enter. As she stepped in, she took the shoe covers Wenjing handed her while observing the apartment's layout. It was a common apartment with about 3 or 4 rooms, along with a kitchen and a living room. Judging from Fang Zhou's claim of having no money, it was likely a rented place. Hehe, here's some fruit, pretty sister, have some. Wenjing enthusiastically led Chu Xinran to the living room, offering her fruit. It took Fang Zhou a while to accept the reality of his ex-girlfriend Chu Xinran being at their home. Could there really be such coincidences in the world? He found it hard to believe. Moreover, with Chu Xinran's background, did she need to do a 200 yuan per hour tutoring job? More importantly, they had just returned from the island today. Shouldn't Chu Xinran go home first? Any good friend would let her rest, right? Fang Zhou found it incomprehensible. Before he could react, Chu Xinran, taking advantage of Wenjing going to her room to fetch snacks, winked at Fang Zhou and softly said, "You seem not very happy to see me." Fang Zhou lightly coughed, quickly covering up. "Not at all, we're thrilled you're here to tutor my sister." Chu Xinran, being from the same prestigious university, even if she majored in the arts, wouldn't be lacking in the main subjects. Had Fang Zhou not been busy making money, he might have tutored his sister himself. Chu Xinran tilted her head and smiled, revealing her dimples. Really? Though she smiled, Fang Zhou sensed her gaze was unfriendly, with hidden dangers in her dark eyes. Recalling yesterday when she and Han Shi cornered him for answers, Fang Zhou felt this wasn't over. Would Chu Xinran let him off so easily? Clearly not. Just as he was about to respond, Wenjing ran out from her room, arms full of snacks. Hehe, pretty sister, have some. Seeing her unsteady steps, Fang Zhou hurried over to help. Slow down, you can bring them over bit by bit. As he took the snacks, Fang Zhou noticed something was off. Potato chips? Spicy strips? Chocolate? Jerky? Due to Wenjing's illness, she couldn't eat many things, so her snacks were specially made for patients. But the pile in his arms wasn't. These were his snacks. Fang Zhou gave his sister a questioning look. Why did you bring out all my snacks? Wenjing glared at him as if to say, what's wrong with letting her eat some? Open your mind. With a big smile, Wenjing sat next to Chu Xinran, recommending the snacks one by one. Fang Zhou thought, all right, I was wrong. Should I leave? This chocolate is super delicious. My brother is very picky, but he loves this. Seeing the white packaged chocolate in the girl's hand, Chu Xinran's smile froze, and she momentarily dazed. She took the chocolate absent-mindedly and softly said, is that so? Isn't this my favorite chocolate? How did he end up liking it too? Did he get influenced by me when we were together? Wenjing, unaware of the awkwardness, continued rummaging through the snacks, confidently confirming, yes. He loves it, eats it all the time. Attracted by their conversation, Fang Zhou glanced at the chocolate, memories flooding back, making his smile stiffen. It seemed that when he was with Chu Xinran, she was very picky and didn't eat many snacks. To please her, Fang Zhou bought every chocolate available, tasting each one until confirming this was the best. After recommending it to Chu Xinran, she indeed loved it. Fang Zhou then only ate that chocolate. Even now, seeing Chu Xinran's expression, Fang Zhou knew she was reminiscing. He inwardly groaned, habits die hard. While Fang Zhou was still regretting his small habits, Chu Xinran had already regained her composure. A genuine smile appeared on her lips, more sincere than before, as she softly said, then I must try it properly. With that, she tore open the packaging, broke off a piece of the white chocolate with her slender fingers, and put it into her mouth. The unique taste of chocolate spread through her mouth, immediately conquering her taste buds. The dopamine secretion sped up, and her mood improved significantly. How is it? Tasty. Seeing that she had almost finished eating, Fang Wenjing eagerly asked. Her eyes seemed to speak, almost writing my recommendation is not bad on them. Chu Xinran laughed lightly and nodded. It's indeed delicious. She extended the chocolate forward and gently said, you should try it too. Fang Wenjing waved her hands repeatedly, giving a brief explanation. I can't eat this, pretty sister, you go ahead. Being refused didn't bother Chu Xinran. Instead, she naturally turned and raised her eyebrow at Fang Zhou. How about you try? The owner of the green dress wasn't aggressive, but Fang Zhou read another meaning from her expression. Since his sister was here, Fang Zhou didn't want to reveal his relationship with Chu Xinran or discuss his ex-girlfriends at home. Stay calm, since she's substituting, she'll leave soon. He raised his hand to take the chocolate from Chu Xinran, broke off a small piece, and put it in his mouth. The originally delicious chocolate now tasted bland, perhaps because of his unsettled mind. Is it good? Fang Zhou nodded, collected himself, and smiled brightly, saying loudly, it's good, but my sister got one thing wrong. I no longer like chocolate. Saying this, he placed the chocolate on the table and reminded his sister, study well, I'll go pack my luggage. Then he left the living room and went into his room. Chu Xinran looked at the chocolate on the table and laughed softly. What does he mean? Is he hinting that I shouldn't overthink? Is he saying that I, Fang Zhou, didn't like it because of you, Chu Xinran, and I can abandon it anytime? The woman who was as pure as a white flower had her pupils slowly darken, with something churning inside, ready to pour out at any moment. Too bad, Fang Zhou, I won't let you leave my world so easily. Once was enough. Alone in his room, Fang Zhou unconsciously let out a sigh of relief. Chu Xinran's gaze was too oppressive. He quickly pulled out his phone, found Tutor Wushu's WeChat, and sent a message to inquire about the situation. Lightboat, Teacher Wu, why didn't you come today and send someone else instead? The other party quickly replied. Sorry, brother Fang, I fell yesterday and am still in the hospital today, unable to go out. I already informed Wenjing this morning. If you're dissatisfied, you can deduct my pay. Since she had explained so thoroughly, Fang Zhou couldn't blame her. He could only advise, it's okay, take care and get well soon. Sigh. Fang Zhou let out a long sigh, releasing all his earlier shock and tension. He couldn't determine whether Chu Xinren's visit was a coincidence or deliberate. He could only protect his sister as best as he could with the limited information he had. Recalling 6 months ago when his sister was taken away by Qin Yun, Fang Zhou still felt a lingering fear. Such a thing must never happen again. No one can harm my sister. He lowered his eyes, looked at his hands, and made a firm decision in his heart. Once he had money, he would take his sister to a city where no one knew them. Far from illness, far from love, far from harm. While planning his future actions, a WeChat notification popped up with a friend request. The note read, XX brand promotion assistant, Peng Xinyi. Fang Zhou's eyes lit up, instantly energized. Just when I needed it? This isn't just an assistant, this is a money-bringing sponsor? Assistant Peng, hello Fang Zhou, I am Peng Xinyi, the promotion assistant for XX brand. I contacted Director Liu and heard you are interested in collaborating with our brand, correct? Lightboat, yes, I am honored to be chosen by your company. Please let me know how I can assist. Assistant Peng, I wouldn't dare give orders, but we need your cooperation for our new product promotion. Would you be willing? Seeing this message, Fang Zhou raised his eyebrows, thinking, so it's a new product, no wonder they're looking for newcomers. But why choose me among so many people? Never mind, I'll take the money first. Lightboat, sure, just tell me what the product is and how to promote it. Assistant Peng, our product is aimed at the umbrella market, targeting lower tier markets. You just need to put the product link in your game streaming room. Lightboat, umbrellas? That's easy. I'll put it up. Fang Zhou thought, it's just an umbrella. Since it's for lower tier markets, it shouldn't be too expensive. It'll sell hundreds in minutes in my stream. Assistant Peng, ahem, our umbrella isn't the common rain umbrella. It's small and has a different use. Lightboat, what do you mean? A small umbrella? Is it what I think it is? Assistant Peng, yes, it's exactly what you think. Then the other party sent a product packaging image, clearly showing everything. The moment Fang Zhou saw the 3 words on the packaging, he froze, his pupils dilated, and he felt unwell. What the heck? What small umbrella? It really is what I thought? Why would the brand approach me for this? Do I really look like a scumbag? He could already imagine the scene of this thing in his streaming room, with male fans joking and female fans scolding. Fang Zhou, you shameless? Putting this in your stream and corrupting minors, I'll report you. Lightboat, this product would be hard to place in my stream. He would be drowned in the spit of his fans. Finally getting popular through the dating show, and now selling this. Assistant Peng, we understand your difficulty, so we've increased the fee by 30%. Is 80,000 okay? 80,000? Fang Zhou's eyes widened, suddenly less resistant. Seeing no reply, the other party raised the stakes. Assistant Peng, if 80,000 isn't enough, how about 100,000? That's our limit. If you're unwilling, we'll find someone else. Fang Zhou, I've seen clients haggling, but never raising their own price. This is 100,000, who wouldn't take it? While Fang Zhou was negotiating with the client, in the next room, Fang Wenjing was diligently working on her 5-year college entrance exams, 3-year simulations workbook. Chu Xinren sat beside her, reviewing her recent assignments while subtly observing the room's layout. The room wasn't large, but it was decorated in a girly style with pink wallpaper, a white dressing table, and a white desk, matching Fang Wenjing's tranquil demeanor. On the bedside table were Fang Wenjing's selfies, looking very different from now. The girl in the photos had chubby cheeks and an even complexion, looking very cute. But now, her cheeks were sunken, and her face looked unhealthy, except for her bright eyes, the difference was significant. Further away, on the desk, there was a plastic bag filled with medicine, but the words on it were unclear. Pretty sister, does this problem have more than one solution? Fang Wenjing's soft voice pulled Chu Xinran's attention back. Chu Xinran looked over to see a common high school math sequence problem. Yes, besides your method, you can also solve it like this. After thinking for a while, she picked up a black pen and demonstrated on the scratch paper. If you factor out the common term, it simplifies things. Try it. Fang Wenjing followed her instructions and found this method to be faster, cheering happily. Yay, I learned something new. Chu Xinran smiled and told her to keep working on the problems and to ask if she had any questions. Fang Wenjing nodded gently and continued working diligently. About an hour later, Chu Xinran tapped the table lightly to remind her. It's time for a break. Fang Wenjing rubbed her eyes, stood up, stretched, and sighed. Your methods are different from Teacher Wu's, but both are very helpful. You're both amazing. Chu Xinran smiled and joined her by the window, looking out while casually saying, speaking of which, I think your brother is also quite amazing. Fang Wenjing turned sharply, her eyes gleaming. Yes, my brother is super amazing. He graduated from University A. Talking about her brother made the girl excited and a bit proud. Hehe, if I get the chance, I want to go to his school too. Chu Xinran raised her eyebrows slightly and calmly informed her. Oh, that's quite a coincidence, I'm also from University A, in my senior year now. Fang Wenjing's eyes sparkled even more. She grabbed Chu Xinran's arm, gently shaking it like a spoiled child. Really? That's such a coincidence. She thought to herself, this pretty sister is my brother's schoolmate? And she's so beautiful, could this be fate? Fang Wenjing's eyes twinkled as she quickly came up with an idea. Hehe, pretty sister, can I ask you a somewhat presumptuous question? Her soft voice sounded like piano music to Chu Xinran, making her feel affectionate. Chu Xinran smiled warmly and replied, sure, go ahead. By the way, my name is Chu Xinran, you can call me Sister Xinran. Hehe, okay, Sister Xinran. Fang Wenjing followed her lead, successfully making Chu Xinran's smile deepen. She grinned mischievously, leaned in closer, and asked softly, I want to ask, does Sister Xinran have a girlfriend? Chu Xinran tilted her head and repeated the question. A girlfriend? Do I look like someone who likes girls? Only then did Fang Wenjing realize her mistake due to nervousness and quickly corrected herself. Oops, I meant to ask if you have a boyfriend, hehe. She smiled shyly, trying to recover from her blunder. Chu Xinran laughed and felt much happier. Playing with her dark hair, she answered, no, I don't. Not yet, but soon your brother will be my boyfriend again. Hearing that she didn't have a boyfriend, Fang Wenjing felt much more excited, her whole demeanor brightening. Then does Sister Xinran have someone she likes? If not, would you consider my brother? Unfortunately, Fang Wenjing didn't get a chance to say the latter part, because Chu Xinran had already answered firmly, yes. All the words Fang Wenjing had prepared to praise her brother had to be swallowed back. Feeling a bit disappointed, she let go of Chu Xinran's hand and murmured, oh, you like someone already? That's too bad. But then she thought, so what if she likes someone? She can change her mind? My brother can win her over. There's no wall that can't be broken, only tools that aren't used well. Moreover, Chu Xinran hasn't officially started dating that person yet. Even married couples can divorce, it's just a crush. If you work hard enough, you can turn an iron rod into a needle. If Fang Zhou were here, he would definitely give his sister a thumbs up. What a clever move to dig your own corner. Brilliant. After mentally preparing herself, Fang Wenjing regained her confidence. Well, I hope you find happiness with the person you like. I hope the person you like is already with someone else, so my brother has a better chance. Wishing you and my brother happiness isn't wrong, right? Young girls can't hide their thoughts, and their faces reveal everything. Chu Xinran could see what Fang Wenjing was thinking from her expression. With a faint smile, she prepared to make use of this divine assist from the sister. A reliable teammate is much better than fighting alone. Thank you for your kind wishes. Chu Xinran sincerely thanked her, feeling even better. It seems coming here today was the right decision. Last night, after finding out that Han Shi was also Fang Zhou's ex-girlfriend, she had sulked alone in her room for a long time, her mind uncontrollably looking for something to do. Her best friend called to ask about the dating show. Chu Xinran honestly told her about the many rivals and uncertain future. Her best friend patted her on the back, asked about Fang Zhou, and used her connections to find out he had a sister in the capital. She even found out about the tutor who came every few days. Her best friend then settled things with Wu Shu and told her, go directly to his home. Guaranteed results? Much better than seeing through the fog. Chu Xinran, being one to listen to advice, came over. So far, it seems his sister likes her. Now, it's about winning over Fang Zhou. By the time the sun set in the afternoon, it was already around 6 in the evening. After Fang Zhou finished discussing the cooperation details with the sponsor, he lay on the bed and slept for 2 hours. When he woke up, it was already late. At that moment, Aunt Wei knocked on the door from outside. Boss Fang, dinner is ready. Ah, all right, I'll be right there. Fang Zhou responded, rubbing his head, finally feeling that he had caught up on the sleep he missed the previous night. He groggily opened the door, his hair a mess, and headed out to see what Aunt Wei had cooked today. When he reached the dining room, he saw a green figure, instantly waking up. Why are you still here? Fang Zhou blurted out, surprised to see Chu Xinran, his eyes full of confusion. Wasn't she supposed to leave after 2 hours of tutoring? He had even taken a nap to avoid her, yet she was still in his house? Hearing Fang Zhou's surprised question, Chu Xinran's previously natural expression immediately turned somewhat aggrieved. She stood up from her seat and said softly, I really should be going. Staying here is too much trouble for you all. Fang Zhou nodded, thinking, that's right, having an ex-girlfriend stay in my house is not appropriate. Unfortunately, just as Chu Xinran stood up, she was pulled back by Fang Wenjing. The girl glared at Fang Zhou, displeased with his behavior of sending off their guest. I asked Sister Xinran to stay for dinner. I think she worked hard tutoring me today. Brother, didn't you teach me to have a grateful heart? Fang Wenjing raised her voice intentionally, speaking with reason, leaving Fang Zhou stunned. Wow, the boomerang really hit me back? Jingjing, it's okay. I should leave. It's not appropriate for me to stay while you all have dinner. Chu Xinran said gently to Fang Wenjing, like a considerate elder sister. Oh, it's perfectly fine. How could it not be? We're all young people, let's chat together. We haven't had such a pretty sister visit in a long time, right, brother? Before Fang Zhou could speak, he was glared at by his sister again, signaling him to speak properly and ensure Chu Xinran stayed for dinner. Never did he expect his sister to be so assertive, making Fang Zhou feel uneasy. Could it be that my sister is trying to match me with Chu Xinran? She seems particularly stubborn about this matter. But with Chu Xinran here, Fang Zhou couldn't be too blunt. He would have to talk to her after she left. Cough cough, yes, alright, stay and have dinner before you go. Since his sister insisted so much, it wouldn't be good to send their guest away, and his sister might find his behavior odd. Chu Xinran smiled faintly, nodding to Fang Zhou. Thank you, I'll stay then. She seemed in a good mood, chatting and laughing with Fang Wenjing, not sparing Fang Zhou a glance. Fang Zhou even wondered if Chu Xinran's visit today was really just a coincidence, and not aimed at him. Aunt Wei brought the dishes to the table. Pickled fish, dry pot shrimp, cumin cauliflower, and a bowl of tomato egg soup. 3 dishes and 1 soup, looking and smelling delicious. The 4 sat down to eat. Fang Wenjing, who appeared to be a socially anxious child, was actually a social expert, not only good at talking but also keenly observant. For example, after knowing Chu Xinran for just a few hours, she had already found out about her family, hobbies, and more. Of course, part of it was due to Chu Xinran intentionally revealing it, otherwise, she wouldn't have shared so much. Despite her pure appearance, Chu Xinran was also cautious. Fang Zhou quietly listened, saying nothing, still puzzled why his eloquent sister aspired to be a painter. She seemed suitable for language-related or sales jobs. Finally, when Fang Wenjing asked about Chu Xinran's romantic experiences, Fang Zhou choked. Cough 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 cough. A grain of rice went down his windpipe, making him very uncomfortable. He turned and patted his chest hard to expel it. The other 3 at the table were startled by Fang Zhou, his face quickly turning red and his expression twisted. Aunt Wei sighed, oh dear, don't eat so fast. She prepared to get up and pat his back. But someone moved faster. Chu Xinran stood up, quickly walked behind Fang Zhou, and gave him 2 strong pats on the back. Those pats were so forceful that one might think she was venting her anger if they didn't know she was helping. Fang Zhou felt his back hurt a bit from the pats, but fortunately, the grain of rice was coughed out. He felt tears from choking, it was so uncomfortable. Brother, are you okay? His sister's concerned voice came from behind. I'm fine, don't worry. Fang Zhou waved his hand, finally looking up to thank Chu Xinran after a while. Thank you, really. I would have choked to death otherwise. His sincere, unfiltered tone made Chu Xinran smile. It's nothing, just a small effort. Would you like some water? She asked while reaching for the kettle to pour him water. Fang Zhou quickly tried to stop her. No, you sit down, I'll. Before he could finish, Chu Xinran had already grabbed the kettle with one hand and a cup with the other. Because Fang Zhou turned too quickly, he bumped into her hand, causing water to spill, soaking both of their clothes. Sorry, I didn't hold it steady. Chu Xinran quickly put down the kettle, full of apologies to Fang Zhou. Her face was full of panic, as if afraid Fang Zhou would be angry. Fang Zhou only felt a chill in his chest, his front soaked. Seeing Chu Xinran's similar state, he couldn't blame her, especially with his sister's support. It's not your fault, Sister Xinran. It's my brother who's too clumsy. Fang Wenjing glared at Fang Zhou, puzzled by his unusual impatience today. In front of such a pretty sister, he didn't know how to behave and even got her clothes wet. How annoying. I'll go change my clothes first. Chu Xinran's clothes were also soaked, the black underneath showing faintly through the wet patches. She turned to face the white wall, covering her chest, feeling very embarrassed. Fang Zhou wouldn't let her leave like this, speaking softly, you should change your clothes before you go. Hearing Fang Zhou's words, Chu Xinran's embarrassment turned into a faint smile. Success, these naive siblings are easy to handle. Fang Zhou suggested that Chu Xinran change into dry clothes before leaving, and his sister Fang Wenjing echoed the idea. Yes, you haven't even finished your meal. Why leave now? Although their reasons differed, they both wanted her to change clothes first. Suppressing her inner excitement, Chu Xinran softly said, I don't have any clothes with me. She covered her chest and turned around, her expression quite awkward. Fang Zhou frowned, thinking that his sister's clothes wouldn't fit her. They were different sizes, so it would be too small. After a moment's thought, he had an idea. Wear one of my shirts. The young man's pleasant voice sounded like heavenly music to Chu Xinran. Fang Wenjing quickly chimed in, yes, wear my brother's shirt. He has plenty of shirts. Sister Xinran will definitely fit into one. Chu Xinran hesitated, looking troubled, before finally agreeing, this seems like the only option. Brother, hurry and take Sister Xinran to change. Her clothes are soaking wet, she must be uncomfortable. Under his sister's urging, Fang Zhou led Chu Xinran to his room. He opened his wardrobe and quickly found a clean, unworn white shirt. Here you go. After handing the shirt to Chu Xinran, Fang Zhou was about to leave when he remembered something. Her undergarments were probably wet too. He retrieved a hairdryer from the cabinet and placed it on the table. You should dry your undergarments, otherwise, it'll be really uncomfortable. Chu Xinran took the shirt from Fang Zhou, watching his back thoughtfully as he left. Once the door was closed, she began to leisurely observe the room's layout. Fang Zhou's room decor remained similar to before, simple and understated. Besides the common furniture like a large bed, wardrobe, and bedside table, the most conspicuous item was a computer desk. Chu Xinran knew it was for his streaming activities. But what caught her eye more were the psychology books on the shelf. Titles like Psychology, Mental Health, and Genius on the left, Madman on the right stood out. She raised an eyebrow, finding it intriguing. Was Fang Zhou interested in psychology? Outside, Fang Zhou leaned against the wall, waiting idly for Chu Xinran to come out. He pondered over his sister's unusual friendliness towards Chu Xinran. When he had hired Wu Shu as a tutor before, she wasn't this enthusiastic. And why did his sister suddenly ask about Chu Xinran's romantic history? Knowing Chu Xinran's straightforward nature, if he hadn't choked earlier, she might have spilled everything. Fang Zhou felt he was right about this. She would definitely do that. Lost in thought, he suddenly heard Chu Xinran calling him from inside. Fang Zhou, come in for a moment. Fang Zhou scratched his head, puzzled. Had she dried her clothes so quickly? And why didn't she come out herself but called him in instead? Hurry, I need your help. Chu Xinran urged again. Fang Zhou reluctantly pushed the door open a third of the way, checking if she had dressed. Glancing inside, he saw Chu Xinran wearing his white shirt, standing sideways, seemingly dressed. Relaxed, Fang Zhou opened the door and stepped in. What's the matter? Chu Xinran turned around, her shirt buttoned up, but she looked embarrassed. Close the door first, I need your help. She raised her hand to her back, seemingly holding something. With his extensive experience, Fang Zhou guessed it was the clasp of her undergarments. He gently kicked the door shut and walked into the room. Can't you fasten it yourself? Chu Xinran blushed, shaking her head shyly. I've tried for a long time but couldn't do it. My hands are tired. Fang Zhou widened his eyes, thinking, don't tell me she wants me to fasten it for her? Her tone had changed, softer and more coquettish, with a hint of pleading. Her eyes, pure yet seductive, fixed on Fang Zhou with a special allure. Help me, won't you? Such a beautiful girl acting coyly, who could resist? Fang Zhou suddenly felt his hands itch. He cleared his throat lightly, moving behind Chu Xinran. Let me help you. As he spoke, his hands reached for Chu Xinran's clothes. Since her shirt was buttoned, he had to lift it to help her. Hold the shirt. Chu Xinran slowly lifted the shirt, originally Fang Zhou's, revealing her porcelain-like skin, like exquisite ceramic, making one's heart flutter. Chu Xinran, being an art student, had a strong sense of body management. Her slender waist, delicate enough to hold with one hand, swayed like a willow branch by the riverbank, gently moved by the wind. The further up, the more perfect the curves, the black straps exposed in the air. It felt like unwrapping a personal New Year's gift. Fang Zhou suddenly felt his face heat up, avoiding direct eye contact with Chu Xinran. Careless, he had forgotten how good her figure was. Hurry up, Chu Xinran urged again. Fang Zhou silently extended his hands, placing them on the straps, one in each hand. Despite being careful, his fingertips inevitably brushed against Chu Xinran's skin. The cool sensation from his fingertips sparked a warmth, making Fang Zhou feel hot all over. Chu Xinran sensed the different warmth, unusually silent, just waiting quietly. Clasping a girl's undergarments was difficult for the inexperienced. Fang Zhou was among the inexperienced. He tried to ignore distracting thoughts, focusing on fastening the clasp. But after several seconds, he still hadn't succeeded, and the ambiguous atmosphere made him break out in a sweat. It was exasperatingly difficult. Is it done yet? Chu Xinran asked softly, her ears slightly red from embarrassment. She stood defenseless before Fang Zhou, her swan-like neck smooth and white, like a piece of jade, captivating. The setting sun cast a dim light in the room, the man's tall shadow enveloping the woman, as if embracing her from behind. Fang Zhou suddenly felt like an evil hunter, ready to pounce on his prey. The sun had already set, but a trace of orange light remained on the horizon, casting a shadow in the room that added a touch of color to the girl's hair. Chu Xinran's normally black hair now looked orange, complementing her perfect curves, making her appear like a divine maiden. Is it done? Her soft voice was even more alluring. Fang Zhou's hands suddenly became unsteady. The more nervous he got, the harder it was to fasten the clasp. He felt his face heating up, his vision blurring, black fabric and the girl's fair skin creating a bewildering contrast. Almost done. Get it together, Fang Zhou. Stop daydreaming. Damn it, are you a beast? Fang Zhou tried to steady his hands, focusing on fastening the clasp. Finally, after a few breaths, he managed to fasten the black straps. He let out a sigh of relief, gently releasing his hands, and said in a low voice, done. No sooner had he spoken than Chu Xinran moved her hand, feeling the clasp with a bit of amusement. You only fastened one, there are 4 in total. Fang Zhou was astonished, asking dumbfounded, huh? Let me help you again. Before he could finish, Chu Xinran suddenly turned around. Her shirt buttons were properly fastened, but her impressive figure made the ordinary shirt look tantalizingly restrained. Isn't it inconvenient like that? Chu Xinran laughed, throwing her arms around Fang Zhou's waist. With their height difference, Chu Xinran's head reached Fang Zhou's nose, making it the perfect couple's embrace. How about this? She wrapped her arms around Fang Zhou's waist, nestling into his chest. Her warm breath sprayed on his collarbone as she spoke. The atmosphere in the room grew even more ambiguous, like a pile of dry firewood in autumn, ready to ignite with a single spark. Fang Zhou's mind went blank the moment Chu Xinran hugged him. The scent of her shampoo filled his nostrils, pleasant and intoxicating, combined with her dependent posture, a weapon no man could resist. He had only one thought, she's so good at teasing. Hurry and fasten it for me, brother Fang Zhou. Chu Xinran's soft, obedient voice transported Fang Zhou back 2 years. It was undeniable that Chu Xinran was the most dependent among his many ex-girlfriends. Unlike the assertive or domineering others, Chu Xinran always waited for Fang Zhou to make decisions and always heeded his opinions and advice. Even if Fang Zhou accidentally made fish that triggered her allergy, she would still eat it. This unconditional dependence and trust were fatal temptations in a relationship. Fang Zhou enjoyed this dependence and trust, feeling smug about his good fortune. But once this trust collapsed, it would backfire on the trusted one. Why don't you do it yourself? Fang Zhou felt the position was dangerous, easily leading to unintended consequences. Alone in a room with a former lover, but Chu Xinran shook her head, her soft hair brushing against his neck. No, my hands are tired. You help me. She nestled lazily in Fang Zhou's arms, refusing to move. Fang Zhou blinked, thinking, I need to resolve this quickly. He decisively reached out again, taking hold of the clasp, recalling his previous actions, and continued fastening her straps. This time, the new position made it more difficult for his big hands to maneuver, his fingers occasionally brushing her skin, making it hard to breathe. But it went more smoothly this time, and he quickly fastened the remaining 3. He discreetly let out a breath, releasing his hands, and urged Chu Xinran. Done, you can get up now. Chu Xinran looked up with a mischievous smile, playfully saying, Thank you, you're welcome. Before Fang Zhou could finish, Chu Xinran suddenly raised her hand, pressing the back of his head, and stood on tiptoe, her rosy lips meeting his. A soft sensation spread from his lips, like an electric shock, making Fang Zhou's heart tremble. A small, nimble thing traced his lip contours, trying to explore deeper. The artist wanted to use her finest brush to paint the most beautiful scenery in her heart on paper. She journeyed to the sacred mountain, hoping to see the legendary most beautiful lake, offering her all to the mountain god for a chance to worship. Fang Zhou's eyes widened in surprise, not expecting Chu Xinran to kiss him. He tried to lower his head to avoid it, but Chu Xinran gave him no chance. One hand gripped his waist, the other pressed the back of his head, intensifying the kiss. Fang Zhou felt something collapse in his mind with a bang. The earlier ambiguous atmosphere turned into powerful hands pushing him forward. A voice in his head screamed, Take her, how dare she tease you like this? Do you think not acting means you're incapable? Few people can remain rational in such an ambiguous situation, especially when the other party is an ex-girlfriend. This was someone Fang Zhou once held dear, and he was a young man in his prime, with strong desires. After 2 futile struggles, Fang Zhou gave up. He closed his eyes, then opened them, a flash of light in his gaze, his demeanor instantly changing. Seeing Chu Xinran's close-up face and her long eyelashes, he silently placed a hand on her waist, pulling her closer, deepening the kiss. It took just a moment to reverse roles. The room was incredibly quiet, so quiet that Fang Zhou could almost hear his own heartbeat. Thump, thump. Their hearts pounded like thunder, their breathing growing heavier. Chu Xinran's face turned redder, her watery eyes closing, her head tilted up, presenting herself like a delicate flower before a storm. She knew what was coming but faced it bravely. As the kiss deepened, Chu Xinran's legs grew weak, and she clung tightly to Fang Zhou's arm to keep from falling. Sensing her weakness, Fang Zhou wrapped an arm around her, his other hand cradling her head, pressing her onto the bed. Chu Xinran let out a soft moan, her moist eyes blinking, combining innocence and allure like a bewitching enchantress. When Fang Zhou lifted his head, their lips parted, and their eyes met. The previously ambiguous atmosphere peaked at that moment. At this moment, the sun had completely set, and since the lights were off, the entire room was shrouded in darkness. Without that trace of light, the room's atmosphere became even more ambiguous. After slightly raising his body, Fang Zhou could only vaguely see the outline of Chu Xinran's features. Chu Xinran's large eyes were misty, pure yet enticing. Do you like the color I'm wearing today? Her soft, honeyed voice was even more alluring. Especially since she was asking such a question, Fang Zhou's face immediately turned red. It doesn't matter if I like it or not, as long as you like it. The man's voice became husky, his breathing unconsciously heavier. No wonder she was recognized as the school's beauty. Even from this angle, she had no flaws. Her delicate features, under the shroud of darkness, turned into a forbidden flower, seductive and mysterious. Especially her cherry lips, moist and red, opening and closing like trembling petals, waiting to be picked. Fang Zhou felt his mind spinning, completely out of his control. Like this? I feel a bit tight, could you help me adjust the position? Fang Zhou's hand was placed next to her, just a slight stretch away from touching her. Chu Xinran lifted Fang Zhou's right hand, slowly and steadily moving it towards her front. Here, the position isn't quite right. She wanted to guide Fang Zhou in adjusting the ill-fitting garment. Fang Zhou's pupils constricted, his hand stopping about a centimeter from Chu Xinran's front. He felt something was off about this scene. This action could appear on Xiao Sisi or Qin Yun, but on Chu Xinran, it was out of place. She was the pure school beauty. How could she be so proactive and seductive? It didn't make sense. Fang Zhou's mind was a mess, 2 voices intertwining and vying for dominance. One said, she's being so forward? Why are you hesitating? Take her. The other said, she's doing this on purpose, trying to trap you with no way out. Don't fall for it. It's a honey trap. Seeing his changing expressions and his hand suspended in the air, Chu Xinran had a plan. Such strong willpower? It seems more effort is needed. So she let go of Fang Zhou's hand, placing it on her shirt buttons instead. The other hand joined in, her delicate fingers fumbling with the buttons. Soon, the first button was undone. This one was just below her neck, revealing her fair skin, smooth as jade, with two slender collarbones crossing, making one restless. Quickly, she undid the second button, revealing the black undergarment beneath, the contrast of black and white making both colors more striking. A gently rising cleavage, slowly winding deeper. Next, she undid the third button. The mist covering the peaks gradually dissipated, revealing the true face of the green hills. Fang Zhou's pupils constricted, his mind echoing one sentence, so big, so white. It's uncomfortable, help me adjust the position. Chu Xinran blinked, wrapping her arms around Fang Zhou's waist, pulling him closer. Caught off guard, Fang Zhou was pulled down, his chest against her unbuttoned shirt. His nose gently brushed against Chu Xinran's, the soft touch transmitting to his face. Their breaths mingled, so close he could see the tiny hairs on her face. Their bodies pressed together, creating sparks even without doing anything. Fang Zhou felt hot all over, like being roasted over a fire, especially the side pressed against the girl, hotter than a teppanyaki grill. He was a normal man, facing such a thrilling scene, impossible to remain indifferent. Moreover, Chu Xinran was a standout among her peers, whether in looks or figure. Just as he was about to speak, Chu Xinran, as if fearing his rejection, covered his mouth with her hand. The girl smiled brightly, looking softly into his eyes. If you don't know how, I'll teach you. Saying this, she used her other hand to guide Fang Zhou's hand to her front. The soft sensation under his palm, like cotton candy, bombarded Fang Zhou's mind. Little fireworks burst inside, one after another. Just as Chu Xinran was about to guide him to the next step, there was a knock at the door. Knock, knock. Boss Fang, are you done? The food is getting cold. Aunt Wei's voice came from outside, like an arrow piercing the void, also piercing through the chaos in Fang Zhou's mind. He suddenly withdrew his hand, placing it beside Chu Xinran, pushing himself up, then rolling to the side. Fang Zhou sat up, his face completely red, like a shrimp freshly pulled from hot water. You do it yourself. He didn't even dare to look directly at Chu Xinran, only staring at the dark sky outside, recalling what had just happened. It was too absurd, almost a disaster. Beauty is a trap? This is Chu Xinran. If they were still together, what just happened would be natural. Even if the sky fell, he would take her first. But they had broken up 2 years ago, and Chu Xinran was a self-harming Yandere. If they did it and he didn't stay with her, she might harm herself. Most likely, considering her previous extreme actions when he got close to other women. Fang Zhou was drenched in cold sweat from the imagined consequences. His once proud junior quickly deflated. No, this woman is too dangerous. Better leave. You take your time, I'm leaving. Fang Zhou said, not looking at Chu Xinran, opening the door and walking out. Coming, you guys eat first, don't wait for us. His voice from outside sounded relaxed but was actually stiff. Chu Xinran lay on his bed, watching him leave, blending into the darkness. What a pity. So close. Recalling how he followed her lead, Chu Xinran laughed, buttoning her shirt and thinking. But it's okay, the timing and place were wrong today. Next time, find the right place and time, and easily handle Fang Zhou. After all, her best friend said men only think about that. Satisfy him, and he won't run. Back at the dining table, Fang Zhou picked up his half-finished bowl of rice, eating it all in one go without taking any side dishes. He put down his chopsticks and told his sister, I'm full. You guys take your time. Fang Wenjing, who had been watching Fang Zhou eat in silence, found it strange. Brother, were you really hungry? You ate so cleanly. Fang Zhou glanced at his bowl, which was spotless, not a single grain of rice left. It did indeed look like he hadn't eaten for 3 days and nights, just as his sister had said. He raised his hand to cover his mouth, hiding his expression. Yeah, I was a bit hungry, but now I'm full. Fang Wenjing picked a piece of food and put it in her bowl, eating as she asked. Sis Xinran, where is she? Why hasn't she come out yet? Here I am. Just as they were talking about Chu Xinran, she finally came out. I dried my wet clothes a bit, and now they're almost dry. She smiled softly at the three of them, as if she wasn't the one who had just been pulling Fang Zhou into the room for help. Fang Zhou glanced at her. She was still wearing his shirt and pants, but the buttons were neatly restored. His mind involuntarily recalled the 2 peaks from earlier, and his thoughts began to drift. Brother, why is your face so red? Did you secretly drink fake wine? Fang Wenjing, always straightforward, found it strange to see her brother's face so red. He was fine just now, why did he turn red after coming out to eat? Her words brought Fang Zhou back to reality. He looked down and saw Chu Xinran also looking at him. There was a faint smile on her lips, and her eyes rippled like a stone thrown into a lake. I did see some wine in his room, but whether he drank it or not, I don't know. Maybe he needed some liquid courage. Chu Xinran teased, seemingly just a casual remark. However, Fang Zhou didn't take it that way. She was deliberately making fun of him, implying he had chickened out. Fang Zhou averted his gaze, avoiding Chu Xinran's eyes, and responded to his sister, no, it's just summer and a bit hot. I'm going to have some fruit, you guys take your time eating. With that, he left the dining room and sat in the living room. The fruit originally meant for his sister was now mostly in his stomach. Fang Zhou's heart was indeed a bit hot, needing the chilled fruit to cool down. Why did it feel like Chu Xinran had leveled up her flirting skills? Whether on the island or now, Before, she was always the one being teased, blushing at the slightest romantic words. Now, Chu Xinran's boldness was almost catching up to Qin Yun. Fang Zhou felt he could hardly handle it. She knew too well how to use her strengths, showing allure in the pure school beauty. The perfect combination of these two qualities turned her into a vivid beauty. No, this is too dangerous. I can't be alone with Chu Xinran anymore. After Qin Yun, Chu Xinran became the second ex-girlfriend Fang Zhou added to his danger list. Fang Wenjing and the others took their time eating, taking almost 10 minutes to finish. Chu Xinran also stood up at the right time, saying goodbye to Fang Wenjing. I originally came to help you with your homework today, but ended up shamelessly joining you for a meal. Next time, you must let me treat you back. Fang Wenjing's pale face showed a smile. She waved her hand and quickly replied, no, it's just a meal. But if Sister Xinran is willing to add me on WeChat, I'd be even happier. Chu Xinran raised an eyebrow, just what she wanted to hear. She directly opened WeChat and showed her QR code with a sweet smile. Adding such a cute sister makes me happy too. The school beauty's smile was warm and gentle, making people want to trust her. Fang Wenjing smiled slyly, taking out her phone to scan the code. With a ding, they successfully exchanged contact information. Chu Xinran glanced around, spotting Fang Zhou hiding in the living room, wearing wireless earphones, looking like he didn't want to interact. She knew Fang Zhou was avoiding her, probably out of shyness. Since her goal was achieved, there was no need to stay any longer. If she flirted more, he might have a stress reaction. Take it slow, step by step. After all, she already knew his limits. She even got his sister's WeChat, so what was there to worry about? I'll be going now, thanks for the hospitality. Chu Xinran said at the door, taking off her shoe covers, smiling at Fang Wenjing and Aunt Wei. Oh, it's so late. How about letting my brother take you home? Fang Wenjing wanted to create an opportunity for them. Her suggestion, however, didn't get her brother's support. She turned to see him with earphones, not hearing a word she said. No need to trouble him, I drove here. Chu Xinran threw the shoe covers in the trash, shook her car keys, glanced at Fang Zhou, and smiled. Let him rest well. With that, she opened the door and left. Fang Wenjing, frustrated, went to the living room, took off Fang Zhou's earphones, and pulled him up. Sister Xinran is leaving, go see her off. Fang Zhou, confused, went to the door and indeed saw Chu Xinran waiting for the elevator. He looked back and saw his sister inside, gesturing for him to see her off. Fang Zhou had no choice but to follow, standing next to Chu Xinran. I'll see you off. This was the best line Fang Zhou could come up with. His CPU was fried from earlier, unable to think. No need, my car is in the underground garage. Chu Xinran rarely refused him. But Fang Zhou insisted on following her into the elevator. See you later then. Chu Xinran looked at Fang Zhou with a half smile, curious to hear what he would say. However, he remained silent, following her to the garage without a word. Chu Xinran didn't push him, just glanced at his lower region before getting in the car, recalling the hardness she felt earlier. Seems like it's pretty good. Fang Zhou felt her gaze and stiffened, turning sideways. Be careful on the road. Text me when you get home. It was Fang Zhou's habit to make sure friends who came to his place or went out with him got home safely. Chu Xinran nodded, allowing him to go back. Go back, I'll let you know when I get home. With a flash of the car lights, a honk, and a turn of the steering wheel, Chu Xinran drove her Ferrari out of Fang Zhou's sight. Leaving him to silently remark, the little seductress finally left. The next morning, after waking up naturally, Fang Zhou finished the breakfast Aunt Wei had left and started his live stream. This was his work habit. Unless there were special circumstances, he would start an all-day live stream, with at least 6 hours of online time. Even though he was no longer bound by a guild, he maintained this habit. Since he joined the romance show, Fang Zhou's live stream had rarely started during the day. Probably because it was around 10 in the morning, there weren't many viewers. Fang Zhou first launched the game, engaging in 2 exhilarating gunfights, and soon saw little rich sister Mei Chuan online. Mei Chuan Ku Cha Zi, morning, streamer. Fang Zhou invited her to team up and greeted her on the mic. Morning, I thought you wouldn't log in today. Mei Chuan laughed happily on the other end, her cheerful lowly voice infecting him. I was playing an Otome game, but when I saw you streaming, I came over. Hee. Quickly, take me to play a couple of rounds. Mei Chuan's eager voice made Fang Zhou feel like she was an online game addict. Fang Zhou chuckled and hit start, launching the desert map. Hey, I haven't played this map much, a bit scared. As a newbie who had only been playing for a month, Mei Chuan had been wandering around the most commonly played map. Finally getting somewhat familiar with it, today Fang Zhou took her to play the desert map. While controlling his character to parachute, Fang Zhou reassured her. Don't worry, I'm here. This sentence inexplicably gave Mei Chuan a sense of security. She thought, right. With the big streamer here, what is there to fear? Just charge ahead. Their landing spot was a small village in the wild. Fang Zhou didn't take her to engage in a gunfight. This map had few cover spots, making it easy for Mei Chuan to get killed, so it was better to play it safe. After searching the village, they only found basic level 1 armor, a level 1 bag, and 2 not-so-great guns, a Victor and an AK. Fang Zhou was about to call out to Mei Chuan when he suddenly heard her scream. Ah, someone's shooting me. Get inside the house and wait for me. Fang Zhou quickly located her, firing 2 shots to kill the character. Seems like a bot. Usually, only newbies would be that dumb, standing there foolishly. And even newbies would stick with their team, not wander alone. Mei Chuan was stunned for a moment, then realized she couldn't even beat a bot, feeling a bit frustrated. Ah, it was a bot. Damn it. Fang Zhou knew she was upset and lightly comforted her. It's okay, next time just go for it. Let's move to the next location. Fang Zhou led Mei Chuan to a larger village. It seemed empty, but he still cautioned her. Be careful. Got it. Mei Chuan agreed but then rushed in the next second. Ha ha ha, level 3 helmet, here I come. Her joyful tone made Fang Zhou laugh too. Meanwhile, the number of viewers in the livestream was slowly increasing. Someone teased Mei Chuan in the chat. Why is the second-ranked sister so cute? Ha ha ha. Sis, give me a chance, I can carry you too. Kick Fang Zhou out and let me in. LOL, don't get shot in the head later. This comment was prophetic. Right after it was posted, Fang Zhou heard gunshots and Mei Chuan's screams. Ah. Fang Zhou thought she encountered another bot and was about to help when he heard her shouting. Oh no, so many people are hitting me. Fang Zhou raised an eyebrow, calming himself to listen, indeed hearing several footsteps. It seemed they encountered another squad. Get inside and hide upstairs. Fang Zhou switched to a more suitable M416 and began running around the house. The enemies were nearby, he couldn't confront them head-on or he'd be killed by their teammates. He had to flank them from behind. Just as Fang Zhou took 2 steps, he heard Mei Chuan screaming again. AHH, I'm down, save me, Fang Zhou. He sped up, flanking from behind, spotting 2 people under another house. He opened his red dot sight, aimed at the 2, and shot them down instantly. But Fang Zhou didn't rush down, instead, he changed position, continuing to search for enemies. Seeing another one inside the house, he aimed and took another down. I'm almost out of health, Fang Zhou. Mei Chuan called out pitifully. Fang Zhou hurried towards her, comforting her along the way. It's okay, I'm coming to revive you. Just then, Fang Zhou got shot twice, his level 2 armor was shattered. He quickly found cover and healed himself. There was still one more enemy, staying calm even after losing 3 teammates, impressive. But Fang Zhou was stronger. After healing, he entered the house, ran upstairs, and lay down, searching for the enemy's position. Finally, on a small sand dune across, he saw the enemy in a ghillie suit, hard to spot without careful observation. Judging by the look, they had a sniper rifle, and his M4 might not reach them. He had to charge. Fang Zhou controlled his character to jump from the 2nd floor, zigzagging to avoid the sniper shots. Bang! A shot missed. Bang! Bang! The next 2 shots missed too. By then, Fang Zhou was in position to kill the enemy. He smiled slightly and said on the mic, it's my turn now. He opened the 2x scope he picked up earlier, aimed instantly, and fired. Green smoke appeared. Wow, nicely done. One person wiped out an entire squad. No wonder he's a top streamer. At this level, wiping out an enemy squad is impressive. Exactly, they even had a sniper rifle, and he still won. No wonder he's my favorite streamer. Hey, speaking of which, don't those IDs look familiar? Like they're from the Xing Chen Guild. Fang Zhou didn't have time to check the chat. He quickly found Mei Chuan, reviving her just before her last bit of health was gone. Woohoo, I thought I was going to die. Weren't we supposed to be facing bots? Mei Chuan's voice was a bit high-pitched, as if scared. Fang Zhou chuckled. These squads usually aren't bots, but it's okay, you did great. On the other end of the game, someone took off their headphones and slammed a fist on the table. Damn it, wiped out. Haven't felt this frustrated in a long time. Can't swallow this anger. It turned out that the squad Fang Zhou encountered was also streamers. They had planned to dominate the game, but their start was disastrous as they were wiped out by a single person. It was embarrassing to even mention it. The chat in their livestream was ruthlessly mocking them. Ha ha ha, so pathetic. But it seems the opponent was Fang Zhou, your former top streamer. Losing to him isn't shameful. I'm dying of laughter. Holding a sniper rifle and still losing, you might as well go home and farm. I'm switching my allegiance to Fang Zhou. He's just too cool. Bye, streamer, I'm heading to his stream. As Fang Zhou's name spread, many viewers got excited and proclaimed their intention to watch his stream instead. Consequently, the number of viewers in the current stream dropped by more than half, presumably all moving to Fang Zhou's stream. Zhou Yongliang, enraged, slammed the table again, cursing out loud. Damn it! Fang Zhou has been out of the spotlight for so long, why is he suddenly making a comeback? In his view, Fang Zhou had often stolen the limelight before while in the Xing Chen Guild. Whenever he streamed, the popularity of other guild members would drop by half. This made many people resentful, blaming Fang Zhou for stealing their audience. However, they conveniently forgot that Xing Chen Guild's growth and development were largely due to Fang Zhou. It was his impressive achievements that attracted many talented streamers to the guild. A group call on WeChat came through. It was the streamers from the squad. They clamored, "Brother Liang? Invite Fang Zhou to a team match and beat the crap out of him. Let's see if he still dares to act superior." I'm so pissed. My viewers all left. They went to Fang Zhou's stream. He's a vampire. Same here. He's just an outdated streamer, and he's been busy filming that romance show, hardly touching a computer. I bet he's rusty. Brother Liang, get him in here. I can't swallow this anger. Zhou Yongliang was the owner of Xing Chen Guild, and the younger brother of Zhou Yongde. After graduating, he had nothing to do and became a streamer under his brother. He had long been displeased with Fang Zhou. Why did Fang Zhou get the top-tier treatment in the guild, while everyone else had to fall behind him? Resources, traffic, exposure all prioritized for Fang Zhou. To Zhou Yongliang, if not for Xing Chen Guild constantly feeding resources to Fang Zhou, he wouldn't have become such a popular streamer. Other streamers in the guild had also been envious, jealous, and spiteful towards him, even sneering behind his back. Fortunately, after Fang Zhou stopped streaming for a few months, his popularity plummeted, and his fans were divided among the guild members. Even if Fang Zhou wanted to make a comeback, without the guild's resources, it would be tough. So Zhou Yongliang had coaxed his brother into cutting Fang Zhou's salary and giving him the worst contract, to bring him down a peg. As a result, Fang Zhou had simply quit the guild when his contract ended. Zhou Yongliang had thought that leaving such a good guild, Fang Zhou would gradually disappear from the public eye. But recently, thanks to a romance show, Fang Zhou had gained some traction, and starting a stream had stolen a lot of his own viewers. Alright, I'll invite him. Zhou Yongliang agreed readily, planning to invite Fang Zhou to a team match after he finished his current game. Stay tuned for the Hunt Fang Zhou moment. For the sake of the show, Zhou Yongliang even changed the title of his stream to this. After all, it's all about the traffic, might as well make the most of it and beat Fang Zhou until he begs for mercy. On Fang Zhou's side, after wiping out Zhou Yongliang's squad, he led Mei Chuan to the end, reuniting with 2 other teammates. The 4 of them won the chicken dinner without a scratch. Yay, we won! Mei Chuan shouted excitedly, and Fang Zhou could imagine her dancing with joy. Finally having a moment to glance at his stream, Fang Zhou was shocked by the viewer count. Over 200,000? It was just 50 to 60,000 earlier. How did it jump so much? Did the platform recommend him? Clearing his throat, Fang Zhou addressed the audience, "Welcome to the stream, don't forget to follow." Before joining the romance show, Fang Zhou had about 400,000 followers. After the island part ended, it shot up to over 600,000. And now, it seemed to have increased by another 20,000 in a short time. More followers are always welcome. The streamer is amazing. One person wiped out a squad. And at such a high rank. Ha ha ha, does it feel good to beat your former lackeys? I came from Zhou Yongliang's stream. He was so mad, banging on the table, very unstable. It's much better here with Fang Zhou. After reading through the chat, Fang Zhou realized that the squad he defeated were streamers from Xing Chen Guild, his former colleagues. But Fang Zhou felt no emotional stir, finding it rather ordinary. He had seen through it all. So-called colleagues could only share joy, not hardship. When he was thriving, these streamers would to team up, do PKS, or play other games with him. In short, they would do anything to leech off his popularity. Later, when he fell out of favor, none of them reached out. Even when Fang Zhou asked them to help with a PK to regain some popularity, they made excuses. Or they would bluntly say they were no longer in the same league and shouldn't play together. Fang Zhou had laughed in anger, deciding to blacklist them all. He must have been desperate to think of asking them for help. It's easy to add flowers to the brocade, but hard to send charcoal in the snow. Especially in the world of live streaming, where flow is king, talking about true feelings is a loss, only popularity is the eternal topic. Fang Zhou chuckled, responding to the chat while avoiding comments about former colleagues. With so many people watching, saying the wrong thing could be taken out of context and used against him. Stick around in Fang Zhou's stream, you won't be disappointed or fooled, ha ha ha. Mei Chuan Ku Cha Zi was already urging Fang Zhou to start the next game. Hurry up, start another game, this is so fun. Fang Zhou refocused on the stream, seeing an invitation pop up. Xingchen, Xiao Liang invites you to enter team competition mode. He scoffed at it. Wasn't this Zhou Yongliang's brother? This guy always had an ulterior motive. Even after leaving the guild, he wanted to leech off him? No way. Fang Zhou unhesitatingly clicked decline and deleted him from the friend list, then started another game with Mei Chuan. On the other side, Zhou Yongliang waited for a long time, only to receive a decline. Suppressing his anger, he sent another invite, but the screen showed a message. The other party is not your friend, unable to invite. Zhou Yongliang, furious, smashed his mouse. Damn it, what's with the attitude? Damn Fang Zhou. This maneuver was seen by the remaining viewers in Zhou Yongliang's stream, and they began to mock him. What a pathetic streamer, trying to invite someone to play a game but getting unfriended instead. What a rough start. I'm dying of laughter. Fang Zhou didn't give him any face at all. Streamer. I don't know why, but I feel like the streamer has the same helplessness as an 80-year-old granny watering plants, only to realize it's someone else's garden. What seemed like ordinary comments now felt particularly piercing to Zhou Yongliang. Being rejected and unfriended in front of so many people was utterly humiliating. The streamers who had clamored for a team match earlier also sent messages. What's up? Has Fang Zhou not finished his game yet? Is Fang Zhou scared to come and face us? Brother Liang, hurry and invite him, my hands are itching to beat him up. Zhou Yongliang, infuriated, sent a voice message to the group, explaining what had happened. He unfriended me, damn it. I'll go to his stream and shout, Xiao Wei, you invite him. With that, Zhou Yongliang took out his phone, found Fang Zhou's stream, and entered it directly. Many of his viewers also followed to watch the commotion, even sending fight in the chat. Xingchen Xiaoliang, brother Fang, not giving any face. Inviting you to play a game requires 3 visits to the cottage, it seems we are not worthy. Zhou Yongliang's words were quite artful, both mocking Fang Zhou's arrogance and subtly hinting that Fang Zhou's popularity was not enough to be pretentious in front of him. This comment stood out, and Fang Zhou saw it immediately. Raising his eyebrows, Fang Zhou was not surprised by Zhou Yongliang's direct provocation in his stream. This guy had always been easily provoked, acting impulsively. If it weren't for his fucker brother Zhou backing him up, he wouldn't have lasted as a streamer. Since someone was delivering themselves for humiliation, Fang Zhou naturally wouldn't let the opportunity slip. He chuckled lightly while maneuvering his character to lie on the rooftop, observing the surroundings, and offhandedly replied, "You, Xiaoliang, are a busy man. Playing a game with you, I might have to queue for a week." This was something Zhou Yongliang had said before. At that time, Fang Zhou had simply wanted to team up with a few guild streamers to regain some popularity. But Zhou Yongliang had unhesitatingly refused, saying, "Playing a game with me? Not likely, you'd have to queue, probably for a week." Now, Fang Zhou returned the exact words. Zhou Yongliang, feeling even more annoyed, responded less courteously. "Xingchen Xiaoliang, are you afraid of losing face if you lose to me? If so, I can understand." Fang Zhou almost laughed, directly asking, "Who gave you the courage to say that?" Liang Jingguo. TLN, Taiwanese singer Liang Jingguo, who famous by singing Courage. Xingchen Xiaoliang, if that's not the case, why don't you dare to accept the challenge? Are you a man or not? The viewers in the stream had now shifted their attention from the game to the chat. They urged Fang Zhou, streamer, since he wants to humiliate himself, just agree. Yeah, I've had enough of this Xiaoliang. He curses throughout the game, worse than sewer water. Beat him? We support you? We'll send gifts? Go for it. Seeing these comments, Fang Zhou thought, I didn't want to bother with this troublemaker, but since he's delivered himself, why not? He cleared his throat, coldly replying, playing with you isn't an issue, but if it's a battle, there should be stakes. Xingchen Xiaoliang, what stakes do you want? Fang Zhou casually clicked his mouse, saying, simple, if you lose, you must hang a sign in your stream saying, Fang Zhou is better than me, for a week. Zhou Yongliang's pupils dilated, not expecting such a request. This would be akin to putting their faces on the ground to be trampled. For a game streamer to admit someone else is better, how could they continue? He was about to refuse, but Fang Zhou preempted him, saying, if you can't handle it, don't bark in my stream. There's no bone for you here. Unable to tolerate this, Zhou Yongliang agreed instantly. Xingchen Xiaoliang, fine. If you lose, you must do the same with my name. Seeing the provocation succeed, Fang Zhou chuckled softly. I won't lose. Such confident words, if said by someone else, might have been laughed at by the viewers. But coming from Fang Zhou, it seemed so reasonable. Most viewers tuning in at this time were from the gaming community and had heard of Fang Zhou's reputation. Many genuinely believed Fang Zhou wasn't being arrogant, he was simply stating a fact. Zhou Yongliang, watching the stream, coldly replied, don't speak too soon, it's a competitive game. Remember to bring your rich girl teammate. With that, he left the stream, not giving Fang Zhou or the viewers a chance to react. Zhou Yongliang knew that Mei Chuan couldn't play well, giving them an edge. If Fang Zhou didn't bring her, it would be his problem, not Zhou's. Imagining Fang Zhou being abandoned by his sponsor made Zhou Yongliang almost laugh out loud. Mei Chuan, witnessing the whole provocation, felt worried. Maybe I shouldn't go. You should find some strong teammates. She was concerned that the Xing Chen Guild members had some fame in the gaming scene and that she would be a burden. She didn't want to be a hindrance. Fang Zhou gently reassured her, it's okay. Have you played team competition mode before? I'll show you, it's quite fun. He comforted Mei Chuan, implying that even with only 3 people, they could still crush the opponents. Mei Chuan felt tempted again. Really? Then I'll just hide, at least I won't feed them kills, hehe. Fang Zhou laughed, dialing Li Siming's number. Hello? Get a friend online, we're going to beat some fallen dogs. At this moment, in a skyscraper roughly 60 to 70 kilometers away from Fang Zhou, someone was sitting at a desk, signing documents one by one. The person, dressed in a sharp business suit, had her long hair, usually flowing freely, neatly pinned up with a golden shark clip, adding to her elegance. This person was Han Shi. After 10 days on the romance show, she had accumulated too much work. She couldn't rest, nor did she want to. To her, work was life, and life was work. Knock, knock. Someone pushed the door open, it was her secretary, Xiao Song, bringing in some coffee. President Han, you've been working for a long time. Take a break and have some coffee. Since starting at 9 in the morning, Han Shi had already handled 7 or 8 tasks. If her secretary hadn't mentioned it, she wouldn't have felt tired. Hearing this, she did feel her hands aching a bit and decided it was time to take a break. Okay, leave it here. I'll drink it later. Secretary Xiao Song gently placed the coffee on the desk and left. After signing the last document, Han Shi put down her pen and took the coffee to the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the city below with a hint of confusion. She had grown used to seeing Fang Zhou every day on the romance show. Now that they were apart, she found it hard to adjust. Especially in the company, whenever she stopped working, memories of Fang Zhou working here would flood her mind. Back then, Fang Zhou had just joined the company as an intern, applying for a small assistant position in the planning department. Their first meeting was in the elevator, where Fang Zhou had accompanied her through a painful and oppressive 5 minutes. Later, she saw him delivering documents at a meeting, leaving a slight impression. Her deeper impression of Fang Zhou came one night at 11:30 when she was leaving after working late and found the planning department still lit. Walking over, she saw Fang Zhou asleep in front of the computer. On the screen was a newly completed plan. Han Shi initially wanted to wake him but noticed the dark circles under his eyes. Newcomers needed time to adapt. If they couldn't handle the fast pace, they had to leave. The workplace was never a child's play, and no one would sympathize with anyone. Hardworking and disciplined, that was Han Shi's evaluation of him. However, she immediately noticed flaws in the plan and decided to help him by making a few adjustments. The next day, she met him at the company entrance. Fang Zhou, holding a small cake, smiled brightly at her. "Thank you, President Han, for helping me with the plan yesterday. This is a small token of my gratitude." Han Shi figured he must have asked the company's security to find out who helped him. Though she rarely ate sweets, she accepted the delicate strawberry cake from Fang Zhou that day. She took it back to her office and ate it bit by bit. When the last bit of cream melted in her mouth, turning into a sweet taste, Han Shi felt that her life needed a change. From that moment on, she began to pay more attention to Fang Zhou. The coffee in her hand cooled, pulling her thoughts back. She took a sip, letting the bitterness spread in her mouth, clearing her mind. Han Shi never thought liking sweets was a sign of weakness. On the contrary, she loved sweet things. For example, she had a good impression of Chu Xinran, the sweet girl, until she found out she was Fang Zhou's ex-girlfriend. Even after knowing, her impression didn't worsen, but subconsciously, she saw her as a rival in love, unable to be as close as before. She kept drinking bitter coffee to stay clear-headed, not wanting to be deceived by some sugar-coated bullets. But she couldn't go against her heart's choice. Just like now, she desperately wanted to see Fang Zhou. Han Shi took 2 more sips of coffee, returned to her desk, picked up her phone, and opened a streaming platform. Sure enough, she saw Fang Zhou streaming. She only intended to check his status, but once she saw him, her hand moved on its own to enter his stream. His stream was as lively as ever, with countless comments scrolling by. Han Shi turned off the comments to see what he was doing. As expected, he was streaming a game. After the coach's training, Han Shi had basically understood the rules of the game Fang Zhou was streaming. He was playing a team competition mode. It was a mode where 2 teams of 4 competed, and the first team to reach 30 kills would win. Han Shi glanced at the score, 15:7. Fang Zhou's team had twice as many kills as the opposing team. Han Shi switched to watching the stream on her computer, idly observing the comments. Only then did she understand why Fang Zhou's team was so aggressive. It turned out to be a backstab by former colleagues. No wonder. Fang Zhou had teamed up with Li Siming and another friend, along with Mei Chuan, making 4. The game had been going for less than 10 minutes, and there was already a significant gap in kills. This match seemed almost certainly in the bag. Li Siming thought the same, shouting into the mic, "Is this worth my time? I thought they were tough, but they're nothing." Fang Zhou chuckled, about to speak, when bang! Mei Chuan was killed beside him. "Ah, how did they see me?" Mei Chuan responded and quickly hid, but as soon as her invincibility wore off, she was killed again. This repeated 3 times, making Fang Zhou and his teammates realize something was wrong. When they targeted Mei Chuan, her hiding spots were quite concealed, yet the enemy quickly relocated as soon as they fired. The score soon became 16-11. "They're targeting Mei Chuan, let's finish this quickly." Fang Zhou issued the order, and they stopped hiding, rushing to the high ground to find and kill the enemies. But this approach meant they were also quickly taken down. It didn't matter though, as their teammates quickly covered, giving Mei Chuan a breather. The score reached 25:22. Fang Zhou focused, aimed at the enemy, and fired. With a gunshot, the victory screen appeared. Final score, 30:26. Fang Zhou chuckled, "Clown." The entire stream erupted, celebrating their victory and Fang Zhou's contemptuous insult. He had the right to be arrogant. TLN 100.
Hello, everyone! As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500+ novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.